He just awakened his powers and can take out hundreds of goblins with ease.
I don't feel so good.
In the hunter exam, he farms aura among the competitors. He manages to eliminate an orc so easily that even the instructor wants him on the team. Against a boss, he's the only one who not only manages to defend the entire troop, but also solos the boss. He's worshipped as the new god of the rookies. Fame is only a matter of time for him. His power is immense, and his body is perfect. And the strangest thing of all is that he's the only one who can keep getting stronger with every battle by leveling up. All of this is to hunt down and eliminate the 12 hunters who declared themselves gods and massacred humanity. He will get revenge on every single one of them. But it wasn't always like this. In 2020, portals opened all over the world. Monsters quickly started taking over everything. The sponsors from the heavens chose humans to gain superpowers, and that's how hunters were born. Among all these hunters, there was one with an immortal army who was called the Demon King. He was the only one capable of evolving by hunting monsters. So 12 hunters who called themselves gods, fearing the Demon King's growth, made him disappear from history. After proclaiming themselves gods, they founded Eden. This was the new era of hunters, and those without powers became slaves, and so 100 years passed. Now in a distant village, a boy was training. His trainer wanted him to be noticed by one of the sponsors. That's because he sees potential in the boy and notices he has a good heart. The man can even open an inventory. That's something only hunters can do. According to his master, the boy's parents were killed by hunters, and he received from his master the book they used to read to him when he was a baby, telling about the atrocities committed by hunters. He wants to change this, but he's been training for years with the bald guy and nothing has happened. He even thinks that maybe only those chosen by the heavens can really become hunters. But then he gets slapped hard by his master, who says he guarantees he'll become a hunter. The bald master asks if he hasn't lost that book, and of course not, since it's the only memory of his parents, and also the autobiography of the Demon King. The world would be a better place if he were still alive. Suddenly, someone is watching them from afar. The person says they found what they were looking for, and immediately launches an attack. The bald master noticed that attack would hit both of them, but the master pushed the boy, who crashed into a tree, and he was hit directly. The woman descended to the ground and looked at the boy. It didn't make sense why a hunter would be there. She simply orders him to kneel, and he does. He can't control his own body. A blur came from the trees, and suddenly several hunters were there. All of them salute the ruler of Eden, Lady Athena. She is one of the most powerful in Eden. Why would one of the 12 founders of Eden be here? The order is to find the bald man, and they all go after him. She had been looking for the bald man for a long time, but who was this he was talking to? She can't sense even a trace of mana coming from him. The boy gets very scared that she might discover the Demon King's autobiography in his pocket, but calling him just a worm, she starts to leave. This begins to relieve the boy. He even thinks he's safe, but the girl is standing right in front of him, emanating a strong aura. She says there's a small amount of mana coming from his jacket pocket. Besides that, his heart is racing, and he can barely breathe. Is all of this fear of her discovering what he's hiding? Then using a divine word, she orders him to show it, and his body simply obeys. Taking out the object, he says it's just a book. The girl takes it. He knows he'll be wiped off the map along with his entire village.
What he's doing? Why you bullying me?
But suddenly, the book bursts into flames and flies at her. Even so, Athena's barrier blocks it, but the impact exposes what the book really is. Seeing that, she realizes it's the Demon King's autobiography. Though she doesn't get why a slave has it, she still tries to seize it. Just as she reaches for it, someone yells her name and slams into her. It's Seong-gu, almost completely unharmed. With that hit, he sends Athena flying and grabs the book. The moment the boy sees him, he breaks into tears, and Seong-gu asks why a grown man is crying. Even now, he tells the boy he did well holding out that long. But the boy can only ask who he really is, and how Seong-gu managed to strike Athena, one of the 12 so-called gods. But Seong-gu says there's no time to explain. He never expected Athena to track him down so fast, then hands the book back. He asks if the boy truly wants to change the world. Then he reveals that hunters are killing gods and ruling over humans. People without power, like the boy, live like livestock. With that, he asks him directly, if you had the power to change the world, power equal to the 12 sovereigns, would you really use it? Suddenly, Athena attacks again. Furious from being humiliated, she charges in at full strength, screaming for handle. Seong-gu tells the boy he has to choose now. He can't hold Athena off much longer. Faced with that danger, the boy finally speaks from the heart. Yes, I want to change the world if I can, he says. Hearing that, Seong-gu gives a faint smile and drives his sword into the boy's chest. The boy stares in shock as Seong-gu tells him, if you meet me there, be nice to me. After all, I just stabbed you in the heart. Then both the sword and the boy begin to shine. His body starts breaking apart and he cries out, handle, right as he's teleported. Then, everything turns white, and a message appears. The contract will be executed. It continues. According to the contract, the Sky of Apocalypse will sponsor you. Then the scene changes again, and the boy is taken somewhere else. He appears on a rocky mountainside, completely unharmed. There's no wound in his chest, even though he was stabbed, and he can't understand how. He also feels different, stronger. That strange voice said it would sponsor him, so he wonders if he's become a hunter. He looks around, trying to figure out where he is. The place feels filled with the same magic power now flowing through him. That makes him think he may be inside a gate dungeon when he suddenly hears footsteps. He quickly hides behind a rock to see what's coming. The one making the noise is a goblin. That confirms it. He really is inside a gate dungeon. Goblins may be the weakest monsters, but they're still deadly. People even call them beginner hunter killers because they have sharp smell and hearing, and they hunt in packs. Knowing he can't beat one easily, the boy stays hidden and hopes it passes by. But luck isn't on his side. The goblin catches his scent and starts tracking him. Now he has only two choices, fight or die. He remembers what Seong-gu taught him and wonders if those moves will really work. Still, he has to try, so he grabs a stone and throws it at the goblin. The hit distracts it for a moment. He rushes in, grabs the hand holding the weapon, and uses a quick chop to cut off the goblin's head. As the head flies away, the boy just stares in shock. He only meant to hit it and steal its weapon. That makes him question his new power. Did he really become a hunter? Then another message appears. The Sky of Apocalypse pays attention to you. That startles him because the Sky of Apocalypse was the same being that sponsored the Demon King. Suddenly, a whole horde of goblins appears. Armed and armored, they charge at him with bloodthirsty eyes. The sight alone leaves him shaken. And at the back stands a goblin chieftain, the dungeon boss. Seeing that, he blurts out that it's over. He just awakened, and there's no way he can beat all this. But before he gives in, he remembers something. He thinks back to the town where Athena attacked him, and the promise he made with Xiong Yu, along with the future his mentor trusted him with. That pushes him to survive. Grinding his teeth, he tells himself he can't die here. Not before changing this rotten world. He steadies himself and takes his stance. The Sky of Apocalypse is watching, and this is his one chance to prove he deserves a sponsor. Another message appears, saying the Sky of Apocalypse is stirred by his spirit. Then the battle begins. With his mind set, he charges straight into the mob and cuts them down one after another. The goblins swarm him from every side, but his skill with a blade tears through them just as fast. Before long, he levels up. He remembers Xiong Yu once praising his talent and calling him a genius. Meanwhile, the fight reaches its peak. He levels up again and again, and even badly hurt, he keeps standing and fighting. At last, only the goblin chieftain is left. But the boss gives him no time to breathe. Before he can finish speaking, the monster attacks with full force, and he barely blocks it. Even if it's just a goblin, it's still a boss monster, and hunters usually need to be at least C rank to handle one like this. A newly awakened hunter is only F rank, maybe E rank. So he wonders if he can really win like this. Just when his resolve starts to crack, he notices something nearby. A spear. He grabs it at once and says he's betting his life on this. His determination seems to reach his sponsor, and more messages appear. The Sky of Apocalypse applauds. The Sky of Apocalypse supports your decision. Then another one follows. The Sky of Apocalypse grants you authority over fire. His power rises again. The spear was the Demon King's weapon, and it also happens to be the one he knows best. Now that he has an authority, his fear starts to fade. Flames spread across the spear tip, and he launches himself at the boss with everything he has. The goblin chieftain charges too, but the boy lands a perfect strike and blasts a huge hole through its body. That makes him level up again, though the spear breaks in the process. Still, he survived. He gasps out that he did it, but a moment later, he collapses from exhaustion. Later, a group of hunters enters the area and finds a mountain of goblin corpses, wondering who could have killed so many, including a goblin chieftain. As they search the dungeon, they come across the boy, still barely alive. While they rush to help him, another message appears. The Sky of Apocalypse pays attention to you. Then the story cuts back to the hospital, where the boy finally wakes up after everything. He's hooked to a ventilator and healing potion IVs, which makes it clear none of it was a dream. He really was attacked by Athena, stabbed by Xiong Yu, and thrown into a gate dungeon, where he had to fight through a goblin army and its boss. He suddenly sits up, wondering if hunters rescued him after clearing the gate. A nurse quickly tells him not to move yet and asks how he's feeling. She explains that hunters from the Lee Guild found him and brought him to this hospital. Without them, he wouldn't have survived. But one detail throws him off. Lee Guild? The nurse confirms it and says his injuries were serious. She tells him to rest more since someone from the association will come see him soon. Then she heads for the door. Still uneasy, he stops her before she leaves. He asks one more thing. What year is it now? The nurse assumes his memory is still confused and answers plainly. It's 2022. That answer leaves him stunned. 2022, 100 years before he was even born. To him, 2020 was when the gates first appeared, and 2022 was when special hunters were just beginning to rise, the age of heroes. He remembers his last talk with Si Donggu, who said hunters would call themselves gods and treat normal humans like cattle. To him, this is a chance. So suddenly, he rips off the machines attached to him and gets out of bed. This era is different. Back then, people still needed Eden selection to become hunters. Now sponsors are most active, creating new players. Even when the nurse tells him not to move, he says he feels fine and asks where the bathroom is. Caught off guard, she points the way, and he goes in. There, he realizes he's in a different body. He's much taller now, with a more muscular build. Some of his old features remain, but he still thinks he looks like a completely different person. Then someone calls out to him from behind. It's Kim Soo-young from the association, here to question him. They sit down, and Kim says he needs to sort out what happened. He also asks about the boy's condition. After he was brought in, the association searched for information on him. But since he isn't from this timeline, there are no records of him at all. So he says his memory is hazy, which is easy to believe since the nurse already mentioned it. He only gives 2 details. He's 23 years old and his name is Lee Jong-young. It isn't his real name, but it's the one that came to mind. The Demon King's name seems to have mixed with his own, and he says he doesn't know why. He claims he remembers nothing else, so Kim asks what happened inside the gate. Lee Jong-young says he heard a Lee Jong-young states that I heard a Lee Jong-young says the only thing he remembers hearing inside the gate was, I will sponsor you. That shocks Kim. He says Lee Jong-young has probably awakened as a hunter and asks what he knows about them. Lee Jong-young answers that hunters are special people chosen by transcendent beings. Kim thanks him for cooperating and says the association will contact him again. Before leaving, Kim bows and tells him things must be confusing, but he's now someone important in this world. He also asks for Lee Jong-young's help in the future if possible. After Kim leaves, Lee Jong-young watches from the hospital room and thinks he seems like a good person. Once alone, he opens his status window. He explains this was the Demon King's greatest trait, the reason the 12 heroes feared him and why he became far stronger than other hunters. That's also why they tried to erase every trace of him from Eden. The Demon King wasn't a normal hunter, he was a player, someone who grows stronger by hunting with his own power. And now, Lee Jong-young says, I'm a player too. Later, the same nurse congratulates him on becoming a hunter. He thanks her, but asks if it's really such a big deal. She says of course it is. Becoming a hunter is like winning the lottery. Even low-rank F hunters can earn more money than normal people ever could, and they don't just fight monsters. They can work as blacksmiths, make powerful weapons, or serve as bodyguards for the rich. Lee Jong-young already knows that, and knows people who weren't chosen lost even the little rights they had. Still, he puts on a sad face and asks if there's really that much to celebrate. The nurse then gives him a bag Kim left behind since his old clothes were ruined. She congratulates him on being discharged, and he heads out. Once outside, he looks over the city. So this is the age of heroes. In his old time, a powerless person like him wouldn't even be allowed here. Now the city feels peaceful and full of life. Then Kim Soo-young walks up behind him and calls out. He asks Lee Jong-young to come to the association. Since he has no memories, he needs to be registered properly, and they can arrange a place for him to stay. Kim says cases like his are extremely rare. He also congratulates him. Lee Jong-young has been ranked C. Only a few people in Korea ever start their hunter life at C rank. Kim tells him to get in the car and says he'll explain the rest after registration. Lee Jong-young agrees and goes with him. They arrive at the Hunter Association. Most awakened hunters get ranked E or F, but people scored higher are treated as promising and managed more closely. That includes Lee Jong-young, and after the paperwork, they take him to his assigned lodging. Kim brings him to the place and opens the door. Lee Jong-young is stunned. He tears up, overwhelmed. Kim asks if he likes it, and Lee Jong-young quickly thanks him, saying he loves it. To him, this is a huge day. His only chance finally led him to becoming a hunter. It feels like owning a home for the first time. Then Kim says someone wants to meet him. That instantly sends a chill through Lee Jong-young. He has no connections here, so he grabs Kim and asks who it is. Startled by the reaction, Kim says it's the man who saved him, the guildmaster of the Lee Guild. Kim adds that the guildmaster is interested in meeting him, but he can refuse if he wants. Lee Jong-young agrees right away. Not long after, he meets the guildmaster, and it turns out to be Shonggu himself. Without meaning to, Lee Jong-young stares at his bald head. But the real shock is seeing him so early in this new life. He never expected to meet the person who truly valued him. Shonggu asks if they've met before, saying Lee Jong-young's face seems oddly familiar. To keep up the act, Lee Jong-young says he can't remember because he lost his memories when he awakened. Then he bows deeply and thanks Seonggu for saving his life. Seonggu isn't just any man. He's the hero destined to close countless gates and save people. The hero believed to be dead in Lee Jong-young's original timeline. That night, Lee Jong-young lies in bed getting used to his new body. So this is real. Still, something feels strange. Even though the body changed a lot, it still has the same marks in the same places as before. He opens his status window and reads it again. Forgotten hero. The strongest and most unique hunter. The Demon King. A player. How did I get this ability? He wonders. A player is a power sponsored by the Sky of Apocalypse. Now that he has become the chosen one, what happens to the real Demon King? Lee Jong-young has no answer. He still knows too little about what's going on. All he knows is that he returned to the past and gained a powerful trait. I gained power, he says. The power to change the world. A few days later, the Hunter Association holds a tutorial class for newly awakened hunters. Lee Jong-young is there too, sleeping in the corner. Then a man in a black suit walks in and introduces himself as Bae Sang-soo. He says he'll be leading the tutorial. The class immediately goes wild. Bae Sang-soo is a B-rank hunter, so everyone wonders why someone that important is handling a beginner class. Some start thinking the association must be watching one special rookie, and that person is obviously Lee Jong-young, but the others convince themselves it might be them. They figure this could be their chance to show off and get picked by a major guild or even the association. Bae Sang-soo explains the schedule. First a seminar on hunters, then a combat test where each beginner picks a weapon. He starts by asking how hunters are created. One rookie answers that hunters are made when they receive sponsorship from a transcendent being. Bae Sang-soo praises him and adds that a hunter's special trait is decided at awakening and can't be changed. Still, hunters can keep getting stronger. So he asks how that happens. A female hunter stands and says they can gain strong items or skills from their sponsor, either by closing gates or by earning the sponsor's favor through their actions. Bae Sang-soo praises her too, saying this class seems well-informed. Then his tone turns serious as he asks the real question, what do the sponsors actually want? This time no one answers. The room goes silent, and Bae Sang-soo isn't surprised. Every hunter wonders about that, but no one knows the truth. Then he notices one person in the corner who clearly doesn't care. It's Lee Jong-young, casually staring out the window. So Bae Sang-soo calls on him and asks him to guess. He says there's no confirmed answer. He just wants Lee Jong-young's honest thoughts. Lee Jong-young answers, entertainment. That shocks the whole class, including Bae Sang-soo, who asks him to explain. Lee Jong-young says sponsors pick their character, make them hunt monsters, and watch them grow stronger, just like a video game. Bae Sang-soo is thrown off by the idea. But to Lee Jong-young, this isn't just a guess. It's the Demon King's own theory. It might even be the sponsor's biggest secret, considering the Demon King was killed despite gaining overwhelming power. The seminar continues, and eventually they move on to the combat test. A female hunter steps up first with a sword. The fight starts, and the monster is released. It instantly goes wild and charges her. The girl rushes in too and swings hard, but the goblin dodges with crazy speed and counters, landing a hit. She drops to one knee, still hurt, and the goblin jumps down for another blow. Even Bae Sang-soo starts to worry, but she refuses to quit. Even from there, she catches the goblin off guard and wins the match, though she's left worn out and injured. Seeing that, Bae Sang-soo praises her and says she passed, then sends her on to the next round. Now the final test taker steps up, Lee Jong-young. With a spear and shield, he enters confidently. Even Bae Sang-soo finds that weapon choice interesting. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young reminds himself he needs to pass to join tomorrow's graduation exam, and if he performs well, his benefits will go up too. So he gets ready, but Bae Sang-soo has bad news. All the goblins are already dead. Of course they are. So the exam has to use a different monster. Bae Sang-soo repeats that Lee Jong-young doesn't need to kill it, he'll judge the result himself. He also says the monster has been brainwashed and won't deal fatal damage, and since he's a B-rank hunter, things will stay under control. Then he asks if Lee Jong-young is ready, and though a little unsure, he agrees, thinking it'll probably just be a kobold around goblin level. He is very wrong. As the duel begins, Bei Sang-soo tells Lee Jong-young that his idea about the sponsors was interesting and says he hopes he won't disappoint. Then Lee Jong-young's opponent appears, an orc. A huge green monster walks out. Normally, hunters need to be at least C rank to face one, since it has far more strength than a grown man and insane endurance. As it enters the arena, the other trainees watching from the back panic. An orc in a tutorial test is unheard of. But Bei Sang-soo says that's not entirely true. There was one similar case before. A hunter who awakened as B rank and fought an orc during training. That person rose like a comet and is now one of the strongest hunters in the world. Lee Jong-young is also a C rank who beat a goblin chieftain in a D rank gate alone. For a new hunter to do that, the association can't ignore him, Bei Sang-soo says, clearly eager to see what happens. Then a message appears. The Sky of Apocalypse pays attention to you. At that, Lee Jong-young gets serious. As he powers up, the orc rushes him head on. Instead, Lee attacks first, driving his spear forward fast and cleanly into the orc's shoulder. Seeing that hit land, Lee Jong-young gets a little overconfident. He figures the brainwashing made the orc dumb enough to charge straight in, making this easier than expected. But when he tries to pull the spear free, the monster won't let go. Instead, it grabs the weapon tight and starts punching with its free hand. Still, Lee Jong-young uses his shield to block, even though each hit sends a heavy shock through him. The other trainees start to panic and think the exam should be stopped. Bei Sang-soo thinks the same. Lee Jong-young's first strike was sharp and clean, but this is still a monster. He let his guard down, Bei Sang-soo realizes, and gets ready to step in. But just before he does, he notices something. In that critical moment, Lee Jong-young lets go of the spear and slips past the orc's punches. That gives him room to fire a fast hook kick into the orc's head, making it stagger back. Those few seconds are enough, and Lee Jong-young uses them to act. Calling on his authority over fire, he rushes in again. With his shield now burning, he smashes the orc in the head and crushes its skull in one hit. Everyone watching is stunned. Was that really a rookie hunter? They can barely process what they just saw. By beating an orc in training, Lee Jong-young instantly earns the others' respect. In the arena, Bei Sang-soo is just as shocked. Was that a skill? He wonders. A hunter learning one right after awakening is almost unheard of. On top of that, Lee Jong-young didn't even use a chant, making Bei Sang-soo suspect it might be a high-rank skill. He's never seen anything like this. Meanwhile, Lee's shield loses all its durability from the authority, just like his spear did against the goblin chieftain. As he picks up his spear, more messages appear. You have leveled up. Your skill rule over fire has increased to level 2. Seeing that, Bei Sang-soo decides he can't let this guy slip away. He has to bring him to the association. So he steps in, praises Lee Jong-young, and says he passed with flying colors. Lee Jong-young simply thanks him, but his mind is on his power. Rule over fire was the Demon King's basic power, tied to the player trait. It isn't a skill, it's an authority, he explains. Unlike skills, authorities can grow through sponsorship and personal training. But no matter how strong it is, it's useless if the weapon can't handle it. So he decides to find a metal weapon tough enough for that power. That night, after the exam, Lee Jong-young meets with Seong-gu and Kim. He invited the only two people close to him here to his room for a small housewarming party. Bai Seong-gu feels awkward and wonders if it's okay to visit the association housing, but Lee Jong-young tells him it's fine, they're just having a party. So the three of them eat delivery food and talk. They go over the tutorial and the final exam, and they also tell Lee Jong-young that Kim has officially been assigned as his agent for now. What's more, Kim is actually a girl. As they keep talking, Seong-gu asks Lee Jong-young to think about his offer again, saying he has a feeling letting him go would be a mistake. While Kim listens, she adds that this is a great chance for hunter Lee Jong-young. But Lee Jong-young still refuses. That clearly bothers Seong-gu, and he asks why, saying he doesn't get the decision. So Lee Jong-young says he doesn't want to join any group right now, but he'll help Seong-gu if he ever needs it. In truth, though, Lee Jong-young has another reason. To carry out his plan to improve the world, he has to be careful. If he gets too close to Seong-gu now, it could be dangerous. So Seong-gu lets it go and says he'll remember that. Then the two share a warm, friendly moment while Kim watches in confusion, wondering how a brand new hunter could ever help the famous A-rank guild master of the Lee Guild. That brings us to the tutorial graduation exam, where everyone who passed must enter a gate dungeon. Before it starts, Bei Sang-soo steps up and explains the graduation test. It will take place inside the gate, but they don't need to worry because the B-rank hunter will go in with them. He tells them directly, I'll be entering too. To calm them down, he releases part of his aura, sending a chill through everyone while showing they're in safe hands. Still, that kind of power is terrifying. There, Lee Jong-young is startled by the pressure and notes that Bei Sang-soo's magic power overwhelms everyone present. Bei Sang-soo then says they'll begin once the soldiers finish getting supplies, and soon after the beginners step into their first dungeon. As they enter, Lee Jong-young immediately feels something off and says the air feels nasty. Bei Sang-soo explains that this is because the air inside dungeons is packed with dense magic particles. Once everyone is inside, he starts the test and tells the rookies to follow his orders if monsters appear. Then they move deeper in. Before long, they run into a group of goblins that quickly notice them. Bei Sang-soo orders a counterattack and sends two beginners in first. They show what they can do and kill the goblins. Then he calls on two more, and they also cut through their targets easily. After that, he calls for Lee Jong-young, who jumps forward at incredible speed. Even the others are shocked, blurting out that he's fast. Lee Jong-young instantly rushes forward and cuts down several goblins with quick, clean strikes. It looks just like the dungeon he cleared before. Bodies hit the ground one after another. In seconds, he wipes out the whole group, leaving everyone stunned. The other participants start asking if Lee Jong-young is really a newly awakened hunter, and why someone like him is even in the tutorial. Bei Sang-soo says Lee Jong-young's weapon skills are incredible, good enough to match a B-rank hunter like him. He regrets that Iniv let a talent like this slip away, and now wants him on his side no matter what. At the same time, Lee Jong-young levels up again. When the fight ends, the group heads deeper into the dungeon. Soon, they reach the boss room. Before going in, Bei Sang-soo warns them that what comes next will be far more dangerous. This won't be like fighting goblins, so he tells them to stay sharp and move carefully. Until the boss appears, they should get organized, drink their potions, and check their weapons and armor. The group does exactly that. While everyone gets ready, Lee Jong-young stands still, thinking about the Demon King and his special trait, Player. Even before the Demon King could fully test that power, he was killed by the 12 heroes. Lee Jong-young thinks that if the Demon King had grown faster than them, that never would have happened. As those thoughts race through his mind, his resolve hardens. He vows to use everything he knows and surpass Eden's 12 heroes faster than anyone else. As he thinks that, he looks at his rule over fire authority, then quickly hides it before anyone notices. Not long after, the new hunters are finally ready to enter the boss room. Bei Sang-soo leads the way and tells everyone to stay close. But the moment they step inside, they realize something is wrong. A massive wave of magic crashes over them, and everyone is hit with fear and panic. Knowing their lives are in danger, Bei Sang-soo yells for everyone to retreat and run back to the gate, but the monster hiding there won't let them escape. Still in the dark, it fires a stream of fast-moving fireballs at the fleeing hunters. Unfortunately, Bei Sang-soo is right in the line of fire with the rookies behind him. The attack is about to hit, and if he dodges, the beginners will take it instead. In that split second, Bei Sang-soo proves why he's one of the association's top hunters. He plants his feet and unleashes his string skill, Viper's Fangs. With it, he deflects the attack and protects both himself and the hunters behind him. When the smoke clears, Bei Sang-soo is still standing with his daggers drawn. He admits the blast was so strong that even he couldn't block all of it. So he turns to check the others, and is relieved to see that Lee Jong-young blocked the rest of the attack that got past him. Bei Sang-soo praises him, but Lee Jong-young says it was only possible because Bei Sang-soo stopped most of it. Then a new message appears. The Sky of Apocalypse requests you to eliminate the Goblin Archmage. A goblin sorcerer appears floating in the air, its eyes glowing blood red. The rookies panic at once. An Archmage is said to be on the level of a B-rank hunter, they say. Realizing this was never supposed to happen and the gate was likely misjudged, they decide the only option is to run. Bei Sang-soo agrees, because even for a B-rank hunter like him, defeating a monster like that won't be easy. So he tells everyone to get out and contact the association. But Lee Jong-young steps in and says he wants to fight it himself. That shocks everyone again. This time even Bei tries to stop him, warning him not to get carried away. He knows Lee Jong-young beat goblins and even an orc, but this is completely different. The Archmage fights with magic, not brute force, and can cast spells strong enough to match B-rank hunters. But Lee Jong-young already knows that. In fact, he knows everything about the monster, its skills, abilities, and power level. That's why he knows how to beat it. He points out that monsters in the tutorial should be for new hunters and asks for the chance to face it. Seeing how sure he is, Bei Sang-soo reluctantly agrees, though he can't understand where that confidence comes from. Still, Lee Jong-young steps forward, and the fight begins. At once, the Archmage attacks and sends a barrage of fireballs at him, but they do nothing against Lee Jong-young, who handles them with ease. The others wonder how a rookie could stop attacks like that, but Bei Sang-soo explains he didn't block them. He absorbed them. That only confuses him even more. Meanwhile, in the middle of the fight, Lee Jong-young charges straight in, but the Archmage isn't easy to reach. Before he can get close, it throws up a huge wall of fire, cutting him off completely. The onlookers say it's hopeless for Lee Jong-young to get near it. They figure the goblin is keeping its distance with long-range magic, but the Archmage is the one underestimating him. As the monster watches from afar with a cruel grin, Lee Jong-young uses rule over fire to control the flames and order them to split apart. As soon as he does, the wall opens a path. Bei Sang-soo can hardly believe what he's seeing. While everyone stares in shock, Lee Jong-young moves in to finish it. Using his control over fire, he finally closes the gap, but the Archmage still tries to resist. In a last effort, it raises a barrier, but it doesn't help. Against Lee Jong-young's strength, the barrier breaks apart. He follows with a flurry of strikes and kills the Archmage. That ends the battle, and the others can only stare in shock. Did he really do it, they ask, before finally accepting it? They call him a super rookie as the fight comes to a close. A moment later, another message appears. The Sky of Apocalypse is impressed by your performance. For clearing the mission, the Sky of Apocalypse sponsors him. This catches Lee Jong-young off guard. Then the message says he has been given the chance to summon an avatar. So Lee Jong-young finally lets out a breath and says he got it at last, the other power that helped the Demon King become so strong. Later, at the Hunter Association, Bei Sang-soo meets the president, an old man with an eye patch. There, the president asks if this meeting is about the unusual incident Bei Sang-soo experienced. Bei Sang-soo confirms it. According to him, Lee Jong-young may be even more impressive than Chi-woo. Hearing him praise a rookie this much, the president realizes the boy must be special and asks how far Lee Jong-young's potential can go. Bei Sang-soo replies that maybe this boy can help the president achieve his goal, which clearly pleases him. Then he looks up at the moon and says he'd like to meet him soon. Earlier that day, as Lee Jong-young and the others leave the dungeon, he meets Seon-gu and Kim. Kim says she was worried when the gate jumped from E rank to B rank, but Lee Jong-young looks perfectly fine. Then Seon-gu asks if he got a recruitment offer from the association. Lee Jong-young just nods. In a flashback, while they were still inside the dungeon, Bei Sang-soo had asked him to join the association. Hearing that, the other rookies were shocked. But Lee Jong-young apologized and turned it down. He says he doesn't plan to join any group right now. After hearing that, Bei Sang-soo is confused, but accepts the answer. In his mind, Lee Jong-young explains why. Joining Bei Sang-soo would help him grow faster, but he wouldn't be able to keep his secret hidden. In addition, someone dangerous is in the association. He knows he can't get involved with that person and has to avoid meeting him no matter what. Then a picture of the president flashes through his mind. Back in the present, Seon-gu asks what kind of food he likes, and not knowing what to say, Lee Jong-young blurts out cup ramen, but Seon-gu immediately asks if he likes meat instead. At that, Lee Jong-young starts drooling and eagerly says yes, so he gets dragged off to celebrate with a meat feast. Later that night, Lee Jong-young returns to his room and takes a long shower, sorting through his thoughts. He thinks back on everything that happened today and reminds himself that he really is getting stronger, even faster than he expected. Then he opens his status window and sees he's already reached level 11. On top of that, the Sky of Apocalypse has allowed him to sponsor one avatar. Normal hunters can't summon avatars. Even among the 12 heroes, only a few ever could. Because of the Demon King's power, Lee Jongyang can summon monsters like the Bone Dragon, Balrog, and Cerberus. He also wonders if he'll get the same summons as the old Demon King, since everything else has matched so far. Still, he decides to call his avatar right away, and the system asks for confirmation again. It says the Sky of Apocalypse has given him one chance and asks if he'll use it. But Lee Jongyang already decided. Summon, he says, and blue light covers his body while his eyes shine red. Early the next morning, someone comes to see Lee Jongyang. It's Kim, and she's there to congratulate him. She shows him a news article about a new super rookie, a C rank who entered a B rank gate and beat the boss alone. The article makes Lee Jongyang uneasy. Even if it hides his name, he's sure the guild and association higher-ups already know it's him. Kim suddenly asks why he never told her or Xionggu about it. Hunters are bigger than celebrities now, but Lee Jongyang still doesn't care about that, so he brushes the question aside and says he needs a favor from his agent. He wants to start doing dungeon raids. Soon, Lee Jongyang is back inside a dungeon, cutting down goblins with ease. At this point, he's basically bullying them. Even the boss goblins that appear can't stop him. He wipes them out and gains a lot of levels. On top of that, he clears the dungeon, but Lee Jongyang still looks unhappy. Even after killing the boss and clearing the gate, nothing happens. He shouts, asking how he's supposed to use this. Then we finally see what he summoned, a soul-collecting skeleton. But for now, it can't be revived because it has no soul. Lee Jongyang explains that avatars can use strong and unique powers, but they don't have souls. He thought he just needed a monster soul, but it turns out it isn't that simple. After failing to finish his goal, he leaves the gate, where Chin greets him. Chin congratulates him on finishing his 4th dungeon raid and asks if he wants to sell any drops or items. If so, Chin can handle it. Lee Jongyang pulls out several swords from his inventory, and Chin says the money will be given to him once they sell. Then Lee Jongyang asks if Chin booked another dungeon, but Chin says there aren't any good ones available right now. He explains that one guild has been expanding fast and booked more than 20 low-ranked dungeons at once, causing the shortage. Hearing that, Lee Jongyang is shocked, and Chin goes on to say the association normally wouldn't allow that, but this time they made an exception because the gates had already been cleared. Then Lee Jongyang suddenly figures it out and grabs Chin, asking if the guild master is Kui Yang's son. Chin says yes. He runs the North Army Guild and used to be the super rookie before Lee Jongyang took that spot. That sends a chill through Lee Jongyang. He knows what's coming. That man will rise under the 12 heroes and become a ruthless killer and tyrant, the War King, Gunther. His eyes go blank as he says they'll finally meet. In a flashback on a rainy day, Gunther stands above a crowd protesting for their rights, clearly annoyed. One of his men says the protest is getting violent, but Gunther doesn't care. To him, normal people who aren't hunters are just ants who can move somewhere else after he takes their homes. He asks why anyone should care about such lowly ants. In his mind, they should be grateful he even lets them live. Then he gathers power into his sword and lightning magic and calls down a storm that wipes out the protesters. In the present, Lee Jongyang remembers that incident cut his village's population in half. Shaken by the memory, he keeps walking through the city when he hears someone cry for help. So he heads over to check it out and finds 2 young thugs bullying an old man. While the man begs for help, they keep harassing him and kicking his cart over. Lee Jongyang steps in. Seeing that, the thugs tell him to get lost and release some aura to scare him off. But Lee Jongyang doesn't budge. He lets out his own aura and makes it clear he's a hunter too. Then he asks what happened, and they claim the old man hit them with the cart and they're only asking for compensation. But the old man says that's a lie. They were the ones who kicked his cart and started threatening him. Lee Jongyang asks why they do something like that, but the thugs still refuse to leave. One smugly says that as a hunter, he treats anyone who bothers him as an enemy. So he broke the old man's cart and warns Lee Jongyang that he might decide Lee attacked him too. Basically, they're looking for a fight, but Lee Jongyang isn't scared. He says this has gone far enough and tells them to leave. If they go now, he'll let it slide since they haven't hurt the old man directly yet, he says, trying to pressure them, but it only makes things worse. One thug rushes in, asking who Lee Jongyang thinks he is to give orders. Lee Jongyang drops him in one move. Then the other pulls a dagger and tries to stab him. He even claims he's above Lee Jongyang, but he's no match for the super rookie. A moment later, both thugs are down and the whole mess is over. Later, Lee Jongyang calls Kim and has them arrested. Kim praises him for doing the right thing and says he handled it well. But he answers that it's only natural. Hurting a civilian is a felony for a hunter. Even so, Lee Jongyang still worries about the old man, thinking those punks or their group might come back for revenge. Kim assures him the association will watch over the old man so that won't happen. Then Lee Jongyang asks what guild those men belong to and learns they're from the North Army Guild. Hearing that, he starts condemning the North Army again. He thinks the guild must be tied to the association somehow if it could reserve 20 dungeons at once. 2 days later, Lee Jongyang says he got called to the association after being accused as the attacker, just like he expected. A few days after the incident, the old man he saved changed his statement, so the real attackers became the victims, and Lee Jongyang ended up as the culprit. As he heads to the association with Kim, he understands why the old man changed his story, but Kim tells him not to worry. The association isn't that corrupt yet. Still, Lee Jongyang came from the future, so he knows better. The association has been rotten from the start. Even so, they go to headquarters where Lee Jongyang meets a man in a black suit. The man starts reviewing the case and asks if Lee Jongyang threatened the old man, Lee Mun-soo, to falsely say the North Army hunters attacked first. But Lee Jongyang says that's wrong. He was the one protecting the old man. Still, the man doesn't believe him and says they'll do a cross-examination, so they bring in Lee Mun-soo himself, the old man Lee Jongyang saved. When he arrives, he can't even look Lee Jongyang in the eye. Seeing how uneasy he is, Lee Jongyang tells him to just speak honestly. Then the old man says it, Lee Jongyang threatened him. After giving his statement, he turns to leave, but Lee Jongyang notices the sorrow on his face. The man is in tears, helpless, and forced to betray the one who saved him. The man in the suit then looks back at Lee Jongyang and asks what he has to say. Lee Jongyang says nothing. He just throws his phone onto the table. On it, there's video proof showing he told the truth. truth. He had recorded the fight. That evidence gets him released, but on the way out, he realizes this will only bring even worse punishment down on the old man. He curses himself, grinding his teeth and thinking he still isn't strong enough. As he leaves the office, angry at the people behind this, he sees Seong-gu and Kim waiting for him. Then the old man suddenly appears. The old man drops to his knees and apologizes to Lee Jong-young. He says those men threatened his granddaughter, and he had no way to fight back. Kim snaps, asking why he waited until now to tell the truth. But the old man says his granddaughter was in danger, so he had no choice. Still, the guilt kept eating at him, so he came to apologize. Seong-gu tells him not to worry. He says to go home and promises, as guildmaster, to protect the granddaughter. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young stands there burning with anger. Recording the fight was a habit he picked up after dealing with so much unfair treatment. Then he feels a strong wave of magic and turns. He checks to see who it is, and finds someone important. Choi Yong-sung, leader of the North Army Guild. Walking over, Choi says he didn't know the Lee Guild master was close with the super rookie. Kim is startled. She didn't expect that to be known, and wonders if the association leaked Lee Jong-young's personal info. Choi offers Seong-gu a handshake and greets him. Seong-gu smiles and takes it back. Then the mood turns sharp, and Seong-gu gives a warning. If Choi doesn't want to make enemies of both him and the super rookie, he should stop drawing attention. Then Seong-gu tightens the handshake. The pressure makes Choi pull his hand back at once, but Seong-gu isn't done. He corrects himself, saying Choi isn't even worth calling an enemy, so he'd better behave if he wants to live. A few days later, Kim and Lee Jong-young meet at a coffee shop called Starcats. Kim is furious, asking how a hunter can hurt a regular civilian and get off with only a fine. To Lee Jong-young, though, that kind of thing used to be normal. In the future, hunters are almost never punished, but he still asks what happened to the old man. Kim explains that lying in testimony against a hunter is a serious crime. Still, because Lee Jong-young showed mercy, the old man only got a warning. She adds that the North Army Guild admitted fault after the video came out, which helped lessen the punishment too. Lee Jong-young realizes Seong-gu probably pulled strings to make that happen and asks how the North Army Guild reacted. So far, they've stayed quiet. But Lee Jong-young knows it won't end there. He knows Gunther's future, the cold, sneaky butcher who becomes the war king. Gunther always pays people back, so Lee Jong-young knows retaliation is coming. He asks Kim to keep watching the North Army Guild, and she agrees. Unlike her, Lee Jong-young isn't calm at all. He says paying people back is his rule too. Later, Lee Jong-young goes to Seong-gu for help. He asks him to join a raid, which surprises Seong-gu. Lee Jong-young says this gate is high rank and that he's looking forward to fighting together. Seong-gu thanks him in return. Then the rest of the team shows up, and Lee Jong-young recognizes them. Seong-gu introduces Choi Chol-yong and Lee Hang-soo, the ones who saved him after he arrived in this timeline. Meeting them again after all that time, Lee Jong-young introduces himself and exchanges greetings. As they get ready to enter the gate, he notices he doesn't recognize anyone else there. That makes sense. Heimdall and the Lee Guild were erased from history along with the Demon King. Soon Seong-gu announces the start of the C-rank raid, and everyone lines up. Elsewhere, at North Army Guild headquarters, Vice Guildmaster Choi Yang-soo is furious. He asks Gunther if they're really going to let Seong-gu and Lee Jong-young's disrespect slide, saying it could hurt their image just as their expansion is getting serious. But the other Vice Guildmaster, Jang Min-chang, disagrees. He says they should fix problems inside the guild first, since this happened because they failed to control their own members. Yang-soo won't hear it. He insists their members did nothing wrong and says normal people are just insects living off hunters like parasites. So why should they bow and apologize to trash like that? And Chang hears that and bristles, asking what exactly Yang-soo means. At least one sane person showed up in this pack of lunatics. But Yang-soo takes it as a challenge and stands up, ready to fight. And Chang rises too, and the two glare each other down. Before anything starts, Gunther orders them to stop. Worse, he sides with Yang-soo, saying Lee Jong-young must pay for getting in their guild's way. Even so, he seems curious about Lee Jong-young himself. Gunther says he'll set the stage soon, and tells the North Army Guild to wait, sharpen their skills, and not fail. And Chang is left speechless and confused. Maybe, Mr. Knight, you joined the wrong guild. You might want to switch sides. Back at the C-rank gate, Seong-gu and his team clear the traps and move ahead. Not long after, they run into a swarm of monsters, and the Lee Guild attacks. Watching the pros fight, Lee Jong-young is amazed by how much he can learn just from observing. In the end, Seong-gu finishes the battle with one powerful slash, and Lee Jong-young praises his skill. He also thanks Seong-gu for helping with his requests, but Seong-gu already knows what he really wanted. Lee Jong-young just wanted to see him and his guild in action. Then Choi Chol-yong cuts in. He says they want to see the super rookie fight too, and Lee Jong-young agrees. Since he doesn't need to hide his real power from Seong-gu, he powers up and gets ready for the incoming orcs. The moment he uses his authority over fire, Cheol-yong and Hang-soo are stunned. The super rookie already has a high-level skill, and he can use it without even saying its name. They can barely process what they're seeing. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young tears through the enemy. Watching him, Seong-gu quickly sees the truth. That burning shield and spear aren't skills, they're an authority. The boss falls, and a message appears. You have cleared the Goblin Mage Gate, but that's not all. Another message pops up. Sky of Apocalypse sponsors you. His stats rise a little, and with the raid over, the team leaves the gate. Outside, Cheol-yong and Hang-soo praise the super rookie, even saying he may already be close to the guild leader's level. Then some members complain to Seong-gu, asking why he still hasn't recruited someone this talented. Seong-gu only smirks. He says his offer still stands and tells Lee Jong-young that his guild is strong and can help him grow even more. He also gives him a warning. The road ahead will be dangerous, and having a powerful guild at his side would help a lot. Lee Jong-young thinks Seong-gu nailed it. For a second, he wonders if his savior somehow figured out his goals, but from what he knows of the future, Heimdall can't see the future. Seong-gu goes on, saying the North Army Guild won't stay quiet. They'll come after Lee Jong-young, but if he joins the Lee Guild, they won't be able to touch him. Then Seonggu raises the stakes, offering his hand and telling Lee Jong-young to join the Lee Guild. He even offers him the Vice Guild Master spot. The other members are shocked by that, especially Lee Jong-young. Even though he's grateful, he turns the offer down. He looks apologetic and can't meet Seonggu's eyes, but Seonggu tells him to stop that. He already knows Lee Jong-young is aiming for something much bigger. Just then, Lee Jong-young gets a message. He checks his phone and sees it's from the association, asking for support soon. They need 100 hunters outside the North Army Guild. Seeing the scale of it, Seonggu guesses other guilds must be joining too, not just the North Army. That makes Lee Jong-young wonder if Yong-soo has already gotten into the association and started pulling strings. That night, In-chong sits at guild headquarters, frustrated. He slams his fist onto the table, wondering when everything started going wrong. He thinks back to when his childhood friend Choi Yong-soo and his brother Choi Yong-sung, Gunther, started to change, and he knows exactly when it began, after they met that man. Yong-soo used to be rough but kind. Now he sees normal people as nothing more than cattle, and Gunther acts like everyone else, hunter or not, is beneath him. Now they've gone as far as murder, trying to kill Lee Jong-hyun just for standing up to the North Army Guild. To him, no sane person would act like that. He believes the North Army Guild is already falling apart, but he still can't leave his friends behind. Then the mobilization alert arrives, forcing him to face one question: justice or friendship? He already knows his choice. So in an empty warehouse, he calls Lee Jong-hyun and asks to meet alone. Lee Jong-hyun agrees. When Lee Jong-hyun introduces himself, In-chong doesn't bother giving his own name. What stands out more is Lee Jong-hyun's nerve. He noticed no one else was around and still came alone. Lee Jong-hyun confirms it too. He's by himself and there are no traps. In-chang gets right to it and tells him not to answer the mobilization call. Lee Jong-hyun asks why. In-chang explains that his guild is part of the operation. As a new hunter, Lee Jong-hyun may not know this, but many hunters are violent and cruel. Gunther is one of the worst, so dangerous that running into him on the street is bad enough. Inside a gate would be even worse. If he knows all that, why stay in a guild like this? But Lee Jong-hyun doesn't take warnings like that lightly, so he's supposed to skip the raid because Gunther might make a move. Repeating In-chang's words, he asks if the North Army Guild is a chaos guild. Most sponsors are good gods, but some are vicious and evil. The missions they give can involve murder, or even mass killing. Guilds formed by hunters serving those beings are called chaos guilds. In-chang tries to deny it, but it doesn't work. Lee Jong-hyun says that if it weren't true, In-chang would have no reason to warn him. And with how unfairly the guild has treated him, he's sure In-chang can't honestly deny what they are. After hearing his guild insulted again and again, In-chang snaps and draws his weapon. He warns Lee Jong-hyun not to mock the guild anymore. But Lee Jong-hyun answers by readying his own weapon, saying, In-chang knows better than anyone that the North Army Guild has been rotten since Choi Yong-soo and Yong-sung changed. Then he asks the real question: who is that man? In-chang is stunned by that. Soon after, he leaves the warehouse thinking about how fast Lee Jong-hyun has grown. The guy awakened only a month ago, yet he can already match an A-rank hunter. In-chang thought he knew all about Lee Jong-hyun, but somehow Lee Jong-hyun knew even more than he did. He even knows about that man. That leaves In-chang wondering, who exactly is Lee Jong-hyun? In the future, In-chang will be called the Dragon Slayer and Siegfried, but the name people remember most is Immortal Siegfried. According to Lee Jong-hyun, he killed the Demon King's avatar and the Bone Dragon. Because of that, the sponsors granted him an absurd power: immortality. But in the future war against the Demon King, while serving under Choi Yong-sung, he was betrayed by his childhood friend Yong-soo. Back in the present, Lee Jong-hyun is set on bringing In-chang to his side no matter what, partly because of his strength, but even more because of his heart. In a guild rotting from the inside, he's the one keeping it together. The next day, Lee Jong-hyun goes back to his usual raids and clears the land of the dead. But by the end, his spear loses all durability and crumbles to dust in his hand. This has been happening more and more since his authority leveled up. Normal weapons just can't handle his power. So before the mobilization starts, he has one more thing to do: get a new weapon. He heads into the city and visits a blacksmith shop. The place feels like stepping into the Middle Ages. Inside, he finds a red-haired young smith focused only on his work. The boy tells him to wait until he's done. Watching him hammer the metal, Lee Jong-hyun is amazed. He never expected to meet this man so soon. He's one of the hunters who became a dwarf, the future greatest blacksmith, Park Jae-hyun. 4 hours later, the future legend finally finishes. He notices his visitor and asks who he is. Lee Jong-hyun is a little caught off guard, but he explains that he came to commission a weapon, then asks if Park works alone here. That makes Park suspicious. Why would someone ask a nobody like him for a weapon? And why ask if he's the only smith here? Lee Jong-hyun points to a different hammer on the wall, figuring another blacksmith must share the workshop. Park praises his sharp eye and says someone else does use the space, though it's nothing important. Then he asks the real question: why come to him? Lee Jong-hyun answers that his sponsor told him to. That shocks Park. A sponsor directly guided him here? He can hardly believe it. But Lee Jong-hyun knows Park will have to, because according to the Demon King's autobiography, Park is also receiving direct guidance from his sponsor. It also says Park Jae-hyun once forged weapons for the Demon King. Later, when the 12 heroes chose sides, Park split from him and started making weapons for them instead. The book even said that if Park had stayed with the Demon King until the end, history might have changed. So Park decides trusting Lee Jong-hyun isn't that strange. Sponsors are strange enough already. Even so, he refuses the job. Lee Jong-hyun asks why. Park says the reason is simple. He's unhappy with the fire in this workshop, and because of that, he hasn't accepted any clients. Hearing that, Lee Jong-hyun smirks. He expected this. Then he holds out his hand and tells Park he can create the kind of fire he needs, showing a bit of his authority, control over fire. Park isn't convinced. A tiny flame in his hand means nothing, and Park says he's seen tricks like that before. He even says he can make a flame that small himself. Then he freezes. Lee Jong-hyun pushes his power further, producing a blue flame hot enough to change everything. Stunned, Park asks how he did it. Lee Jong-hyun says he doesn't just use fire, he rules it absolutely. That settles it. Park gladly accepts, and a week later, the weapon is ready. When Lee Jong-hyun returns, a massive, ominous spear is waiting for him. It looks like a weapon made for a demon king, and even he is impressed by its presence. Park says he couldn't make the shield Lee Jong-hyun wanted by himself, but he did forge the spear and gave it the fire-based abilities Lee Jong-hyun asked for as best he could. He adds that this is the limit of what he can do right now. Even that limit is far beyond what normal hunters can manage. Checking the status card, Lee Jong-hyun sees it's a unique rank weapon. Monsters usually only drop normal to rare gear, and even famous blacksmiths usually top out at super rare. Reaching unique is almost impossible unless a sponsor hands it over directly. On top of that, this spear can grow stronger, which means he may never need another weapon again. Just when the spear seems perfect, Park says it still isn't finished. His usual partner isn't with him right now, so he tells Lee Jong-hyun to come back later. If he brings the weapon in once in a while, Park can keep making the spear stronger. Lee Jong-hyun thanks him and bows, excited to work together again in the future. Then Park notices something else: the soul-collecting avatar. He asks if Lee Jong-hyun got that from his sponsor too, saying that sponsor clearly isn't normal. He adds that the avatar gives off a bad feeling, and says Lee Jong-hyun is probably using it all wrong. That makes Lee Jong-hyun check his bracelet. He says he already had a feeling, and if Park is right, then... Thinking over those words, he decides he probably won't be able to summon his avatar until the gate mobilization ends. Even so, he got something even better than expected: his new unique weapon. As he pulls it from his inventory, he starts thinking about his odds of winning this whole thing. He knows that if In Chang joins him, his chances go way up, but that won't happen yet. Still, if the autobiography was right, In Chang will become his aide in time. So he starts training harder, saying there are still 2 weeks before the gate mobilization. The only thing left is to grow stronger. Right then, a pack of monsters charges him. Lee Jong-hyun charges straight back. He knows hunting monsters will make him stronger, but 2 weeks is nowhere near enough, so he doesn't even have time to sleep. And just like that, the 2 weeks fly by. At the North Army Guild headquarters, Gunder addresses his people. As a message appears, the ruler of Riverside pays attention to you. He begins speaking. He says everything is ready, and after today, the North Army Guild will rise. From here, they will make their name known across Korea. No, the whole world. To fire everyone up, Gunder releases his aura. Sensing it, In Chang notes how powerful he is and says Gunder has finally reached peak A rank. On the other hand, Kui Youngsu is impressed too. He says everything is going just as that person planned. On top of that, they seem to have met the conditions to become a hero. Meanwhile, after showing off his power, Gunder shouts that today the world will tremble before the name of the North Army Guild. Hearing this, the crowd goes wild. Though they're covered in a blue glow and look strangely empty. They cheer for their leader, but inside his head, Gunder reveals what he really wants: the title of king. I may not like him, but he really does make a great villain. Meanwhile, Kim drives Lee Jong-hyun to the meeting spot. On the way, she asks if he's really going. She reminds him he could die and says the North Army are worse than he thinks. She brings up a recent case where a guild that entered a gate with the North Army was wiped out. Of course, since everyone died inside, there's no proof, but it's obvious what happened. Hearing that, Lee Jong-hyun says he's sure they did it. Kim slams the brakes and stops the car. Then she starts yelling at him. Even knowing all this, he's still going. She says the association values Lee Jong-hyun too much to punish him if he backs out. Nothing matters more than his life, and she begs him not to go. Seeing her like that, Lee Jong-hyun gives a faint smirk. He tells Kim he already knows nothing matters more than staying alive, and he didn't sign up for this carelessly. He has a plan, and he wants to teach those guys what a human life is worth. As their talk ends, they arrive, where the other hunters are already gathered. The press is there too, chasing a big story for this YouTube channels. But that's not all. Sung-gu is there as well. Seeing him, Lee Jong-hyun walks over to talk. He asks why Sung-gu came when the League Guild was already rejected from the raid. In response, Sung-gu says he already declared the North Army Guild his enemy and the super rookie his friend, so he can't just sit this out. Then he spots Gunder, who flashes him a nasty grin before walking away. Seeing that, Sung-gu tries to stop Lee Jong-hyun, but he knows it won't work. He warns him that Gunder is far stronger than people think. Even though the association lists him as B rank, he's actually reached A rank, but Lee Jong-hyun already knows that. So there isn't much Sung-gu can do. He praises Lee Jong-hyun's growth and sits on a bench saying, "I want to keep watching you grow. I'll wait here until you come back out." But to Lee Jong-hyun, that sounds like a huge waste of time, so he asks why. Seong-gu answers simply, "If you don't come out, I'm not letting the North Army Guild walk away." Gotta give the bald guy credit. He's badass. Hearing that, even Lee Jong-hyun is surprised. He says Seong-gu is insane for talking about wiping out a whole guild by himself. Soon, an announcement says the raid is about to begin, so everyone should do their final checks and gather. And with that, Lee Jong-hyun parts ways with Seong-gu and joins the line. As the hunters start entering the gate, Lee Jong-hyun remembers what was said about this place, the Lin River Gate, where Choi Yang-sung became a hero and where Gunder and countless hunters died. But this time, history won't repeat itself. It will change. As Lee Jong-hyun steps forward with firm resolve, he says the glory of this place will be his. But the moment everyone enters, something goes wrong. A strange beam of light appears near the gate, and Gunder breaks into a huge, twisted smile. "It's starting," he says. A message suddenly appears. Due to the gate's special trait, its magical value is changing. Seeing that, the hunters panic. No one was warned about this. Meanwhile, the man checking the gate's energy starts shouting too. He says the gate's difficulty has risen from B class to B+. To me, that doesn't sound too terrible, but the hunters know exactly what that means. Lee Jong-hyun, though, stays calm, like he expected it. Then a flood of messages appears. The gate's special trait is activating. The gate's exit has been blocked, and just like the message says, the exit changes color and seals shut. Seeing this, the hunters panic even more, wondering if they're trapped inside. But more messages appear. Countless incarnations have gathered in one place. The sponsor is paying attention to you. The magical density is increasing. With that, the hunters feel a huge surge of power, like their bodies are on fire. But it keeps going. Countless incarnations have entered the gate. The sponsor's interest has risen. The magical density is increasing. The man measuring the magic nearly collapses. He sees the number jump in an instant. The gate is A-class, he says, frozen in shock. Hearing that, everyone else is stunned. Apparently, you can't clear an A-class gate without a hero-class hunter. Because of that, many of them fall into pure despair, sure they're going to die. Lee Jong-young, though, still looks calm. He thinks this reaction makes sense. This place is about to become their graveyard. Harsh, but true. He also watches Gunder, Yongsu, and In Chang. They're calm too, which lets Lee Jong-young confirm they already knew this would happen. That isn't surprising, since this stage was made for them. At last, a message says the wave will begin soon. Gunder steps up and tells everyone to calm down. He says he understands their confusion and that he's shaken too by the sudden jump in difficulty. But of course, that's a lie. Even so, he says gates have always been unpredictable. Accidents can happen anytime, but the important thing is not giving in to despair. They have to survive. I, Choi Yongsun of the North Army Guild, will clear this gate with you, he declares. Then an ominous message appears. Ruler of the Riverside is attempting to dominate the Riverside. At once, the hunters glow blue again. Their eyes go dull, yet they still start shouting in support of Gunder's hollow speech. They say survival comes first and begin preparing for the attack. This is all caused by Gunder's authority, rule over Riverside. With it, his leadership and incitement become 3 times stronger in that area. Also, his forces are more likely to obey his orders. But then something happens Gunder didn't expect. The influence of the Sky of Apocalypse resists the forced incitement, that control. Because of the Sky of Apocalypse, Lee Jong-young keeps a clear head while everyone else falls for Gunther's manipulation. Even so, it's his first time seeing this authority, and he's shocked by how easily Gunther can stir up so many people at once. While Gunther and his close men stay on their mount, Yang Tzu asks if they should join the fight. Gunther says no. The mysterious ally helping him warned that this gate's waves will last a long time, so they need to save the North Army Guild's strength. Even Yang Tzu is stunned by what his brother says. But Gunther keeps going, saying they'll stick to the plan. They'll protect the guild's real strength and let the fools who joined the raid be sacrificed instead. That makes Yang Tzu uneasy. Does his brother really plan to let them all die? Not exactly. Gunther wants some survivors so they can spread the story once they get out. He repeats the order. The entire North Army Guild is to conserve its strength until he says otherwise. Yang Tzu still isn't convinced. He points out that Gunther's influence won't fool people forever. If the North Army Guild hangs back and never takes the front, the other hunters will catch on fast. Gunther says that's why he said, as much as possible. He plans to send the weakest members forward as a shield, just enough to avoid suspicion. Yang Tzu can barely believe what he's hearing. Then Gunther notices Lee Jong-young staring right at him. From that look alone, Gunther feels Lee Jong-young has already figured him out, so he decides he has to remove him quickly. He calls over In Chang, his loyal hound. Gunther has never told In Chang the full truth about his plans because In Chang is too soft-hearted, but his loyalty and skill still make him useful. So Gunther orders him to watch Lee Jong-young closely, and if the chance comes, kill him. In Chang is shocked, but Gunther insists it's for the good of the North Army Guild. In the end, In Chang agrees. Soon, the wave starts, and the hunters ready themselves. Then fish-like monsters called mermen rise from the river. The hunters relax a little. Mermen aren't supposed to be high-rank monsters, so they think this will be easy. They rush in carelessly, which immediately alarms Lee Jong-young. He warns that even weak monsters can be dangerous if you get reckless. They're fighting by a riverside, and that clearly matters here. A second later, the mermen fire high-pressure water blasts from their mouths and tear through the front line. Lee Jong-young tells them to pull the wounded back and hold their ground. Still, he decides not to jump in yet. He needs to read the battlefield first. Then something happens he didn't expect. Gunther orders his men to charge and wipe out the enemy. The North Army moves, leaving Lee Jong-young confused that Gunther is already using his own guild members. Under Gunther's boosted leadership, the North Army pushes ahead, and the other hunters follow. But even against low-rank mermen, they start getting overwhelmed. One hit is enough to badly injure North Army hunters and send them out for treatment. Watching from afar, Lee Jong-young quickly understands Gunther's plan. Gunther only sent in the guild's weakest fighters to calm the others and make them charge too. They're sacrificial lambs. Still, Lee Jong-young thinks this is better than what he feared, so he draws his weapon and gets ready to enter the fight. In Chang sees Lee Jong-young moving and remembers their last talk. He knows Lee Jong-young was right. The North Army Guild is rotten. He also knows that if this keeps up, a lot of hunters and guild members will die. Then he remembers Gunther's order and the trust placed in his loyalty, which makes him hesitate again. Maybe the guildmaster has some bigger plan. Before he can sort out his thoughts, a commotion breaks out on the battlefield. The other hunters stare in shock as Lee Jong-young steps in and starts tearing through the monsters with rule over fire. His blade cuts through mermen one after another and bodies start dropping fast. In moments, he wipes out countless enemies, and the hunters feel huge relief now that someone this strong is fighting with them. Most of them have no idea who he is since he still isn't well known. Even In Chang is stunned by what he's seeing. He thought Lee Jong-young was only around his level 10 days ago. So has he already broken past his limits? Before long, messages appear saying the wave has ended for now. A rest period begins. Some sponsors bless their hunters, while others help the enemy. Lee Jong-young gets a different message. The Sky of Apocalypse is extremely pleased with his performance. His stats triple. He gains a lot of levels, and he unlocks the title Merman Hunter. And that's not all. Even exhausted, he notices more sponsors taking interest in him. The Guardian of the Long Lance and the Symbol of the Spherical want to support him, while the King of the Drenched shows hostility. Lee Jong-young is surprised and wonders if he can gain multiple sponsors like the strongest heroes. But the Sky of Apocalypse hates that idea. It chases the others off at once, shattering Lee Jong-young's hopes. Then the other hunters run up and ask who he is, what guild he's from, and where he came from. He still keeps his identity hidden. Instead, he tells them this isn't over. There are still many waves left, and since this is an A-rank gate, they need to stay careful if they want to survive. The hunters accept that and use the break to recover as much as they can. As they head back to their groups, Lee Jong-young turns toward Gunther, who is glaring at him with pure rage. Lee Jong-young gives a small grin. He expected this. Gunther was trying to win the hunters over by stepping in at the perfect moment, but Lee Jong-young plans to ruin that. He'll wreck Gunther's scheme until the hunters choose him instead. Then he checks his status and sees he's already reached level 24. Even in this deadly gate, he's pleased, thinking it could push him to level 30 and become the base for his growth. And if he plays this right, the hunters may start following him too. Soon the waves start again, and by the fourth one, the hunters manage to clear it. But even Lee Jong-young looks worn out by then. The others are in rough shape too, and this time 4 people die. That makes everyone wonder if any of them will make it out alive. Lee Jong-young is upset. He wanted 0 deaths, but that was never realistic, so he turns his anger on Gunther and the North Army Guild. He demands to know why they still aren't fighting seriously. Their main force is just sitting in the back, saving energy, and the hunters aren't stupid. The others back him up. They point out that not one North Army member has died or even been injured. Lee Jong-young tells Gunther to start fighting for real, or admit he's just going to watch while others die for him. Gunther is furious as his whole plan starts falling apart. His idea of using disposable members to clear the waves has been exposed. Even his low-rank guild members have realized they were thrown out as bait, and now they're getting restless. Burning with anger, Gunther thinks the chance made for him is being stolen by this bastard. Even so, he decides to keep things going for now and see how they play out. From what he's seen, he still believes there's a big gap between him and Lee Jong-young has been carrying the battle the whole time, wearing himself down. Not long after the 5th wave begins, this time, a mid-boss rises from the water too. It's a massive water golem, and the hunters have no idea how to deal with something that big. Then the water golem launches its first attack. It fires a huge water cannon. Lee Jong-young yells for everyone to dodge, and they barely escape as the blast leaves a crater. Seeing that power, the hunters start to panic. Still, they try to fight back. The ranged hunters fire arrows, but they pass right through the water golem. The frontliners can't hurt it either. Now everyone is wondering how they're supposed to beat a monster that ignores physical attacks. Then Lee Jong-young steps in. With his spear and authority ready, he jumps up and slams the golem in the face. This time, it actually takes damage. The hunters are stunned that he can hurt something they can't even touch. They start wondering who he really is, but Lee Jong-young calmly explains the trick. He says the gate is overflowing with magic power, so instead of holding back, they need to pour that power into their weapons. One archer remembers that low-rank hunters normally can't do that, but she tries anyway. To her surprise, she gets the hang of it fast and fires at the water golem. This time her arrow deals damage, and the others start gaining confidence. Now that their attacks work, they rush in again. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young notices the golem is slowly taking damage, but he knows these attacks still won't be enough to kill a high-rank monster like this. Still, he has one last move. He channels flame into his spear and aims for the golem's chest. To kill it, he has to break the magic core inside, but the timing isn't right yet. So he waits for the perfect opening, and soon it comes. The water golem prepares another water cannon while everyone else scrambles to dodge. For Lee Jong-young, this is the perfect chance. Its core is exposed. This is his shot. He throws his spear with everything he has, and it reaches the golem in seconds. The monster is caught off guard as the spear pierces its chest and shatters the core. Lee Jong-young wins, and messages start flooding in. He defeated the mid-boss, and several sponsors take notice. A few are amazed, while others focus on one specific incarnation. Then Lee Jong-young calls back his spear, and it flies into his hand like a boomerang. He says it's a skill called Return, gained when his must-spell spear leveled up. He casually says it's useful, while the other hunters stare in shock. Then one of them remembers a rumor from the news. A strange hunter who fights with a long spear and shield. That hunter was the monstrous newbie called the Super Rookie, and he's standing right in front of them. The crowd erupts. Some say Lee Jong-young must be at least A rank, while others think he may already be hero class. For the first time, they feel relieved, convinced the Super Rookie can lead them to victory and get them all out alive. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young keeps checking the messages. He leveled up again, earned rewards for killing the golem, including a water gem, and got the achievement One Who Defeated the Water Golem. On top of that, the Sky of Apocalypse smiles on him, boosting his stats even more. Other sponsors start showing interest in Lee Jong-young too, and he gets excited, thinking he might become multi-sponsored like other heroes. But just like before, the Sky of Apocalypse shows its displeasure, and the others back off. Looks like someone's jealous. That makes Lee Jong-young furious. He says he'd ditch his current sponsor if not for how strong the special player trait is. Then he remembers Demon King 2 also refused multi-sponsors until the end, which makes him realize just how crazy strong the Demon King became under the same limit. That only makes him respect the Demon King even more. Meanwhile, Gunther is reaching his limit as he watches Lee Jong-young. He can't understand how Lee Jong-young got this strong so fast. Gunther thought he was only around B tier, but now he looks much closer to A rank. That thought drives Gunther mad, and he angrily shouts Lee Jong-young's name. Then In Chang walks up behind him and says they need to move now. He knows this wasn't part of Gunther's plan and says he can't keep standing around while more people die. Gunther turns on him with fury, but In Chang doesn't back down. If the plan failed, he says, then make a new one and act. He also tells Gunther to give up. Gunther knows what he means, give up on killing Lee Jong-young. He turns red with rage and says that's nonsense. He won't lose to some newbie. He built the North Army and will become a hunter who supports the world. Then he summons his weapon and orders his guild to use their full power to clear the gate. Under his authority, the guild members get fired up to fight, and Gunther declares that a king's pride never bends. But then he turns and sees something he never expected. In Chang has left his side and thrown away his helmet. In a flashback, we learn Gunther gave him that helmet himself. When In Chang became vice guild leader, Gunther thought his soft face would be a problem with the rougher members, so he gave him the helmet. Since then, it had stood for In Chang's loyalty to Gunther. Now Gunther thinks the dog is biting its owner and crushes the helmet under his foot. Then he looks back at the battlefield and sees his men marching toward death. On the battlefield, the North Army hunters finally try to show their strength. They charge in hard and quickly start cutting down the mermen, proudly showing off their power. But next to Lee Jong-young, they don't compare at all. Beside the super rookie, their attacks look tiny. Even they can tell Lee Jong-young is on a totally different level. The other hunters are just glad he's on their side, saying this wave should be easy with the super rookie here. Even so, the battle keeps going, and Lee Jong-young stays on a rampage. Then he gets another message saying he leveled up again. He smiles and explains that even if it looks like he's burning through stamina, he's actually recovering while growing stronger from each level up. Suddenly, a merman tries to ambush him from behind, but someone warns him in time. Lee Jong-young kills it right away, and then a white-haired girl walks up and tells him to watch his back. Lee Jong-young answers with sarcasm, and then reveals that this girl is actually the feared A-rank hunter Jang Hyojin himself, or rather, herself. After that, he quickly moves away from In Chang and goes back to fighting. That makes In Chang feel down, thinking Lee Jong-young is disappointed in her. Even so, she refuses to stand around any longer. She says she'll do what she can and jumps into the fight, wanting to show Lee Jong-young she left the guild to save people. Eventually, the 9th wave ends, but the cost is awful. There are many dead and wounded, and people beg for potions or healers while holding their injured friends. Even Lee Jong-young is shaken by the sight. He says it's hell. They came in with over 100 people, and now more than half are dead. From behind, In Chang asks if he's okay, and he says he is. But then some North Army members interrupt, calling In Chang a traitor and trash. They even threaten her, saying they'll see if she survives to the end of the raid. In Chang lowers her head, clearly hurt, and Lee Jong-young is surprised they treat her this badly, even though she used to be the vice guild master. A guild with no morals, one that kills without blinking, always saw In Chang's sense of justice as a problem. After those scumbags leave, Lee Jong-young asks if she regrets standing with him, now that she's fully turned her back on the North Army and the friends she grew up with. But In Chang says that's exactly why she left. Because she still cares about them, she can't keep watching them go down the wrong path. Lee Jong-young warns that Gunther won't let this slide, but she's already ready for that. Then, a message appears for everyone. The final wave is starting, and the boss of the Lin River Gate has arrived, the River Worm. The ground suddenly shakes, and every hunter turns toward the river in fear. Then a massive shape rises from the water. It's so huge they almost think the river itself is standing up. But it's the River Worm, a gigantic worm-like monster. Its size and pressure crush the hunters' nerves. Most of them freeze, unable to move or even speak. They can't imagine how anyone is supposed to kill something like that. Even Lee Jong-young is stunned by the boss's size. But In Chang, standing beside him, says the North Army, or more likely Guildmaster Choi Yong-sung, probably has a way to kill it. Lee Jong-young is surprised, and she explains that the mysterious person backing Gunther from the shadows likely gave him something for this mission. So Gunther must have a plan for dealing with the boss. But before they hunt the River Worm, the North Army has another goal. They plan to wipe out the other hunters first, so no one interferes while Gunther clears the gate alone. They turn and see the North Army forces with Choi Yong-sung. In Chang tells Lee Jong-young to get ready. The other hunters are shocked. At a time like this, are hunters really about to fight each other? Hearing that, In Chang speaks up. The North Army Guild uses everyone here for its own gain. They're trying to kill everyone except their own people, clear the gate alone, and take all the credit. She declares herself Zhang In-chang, former vice guildmaster of the North Army, and says they'll attack any second. If anyone doubts her, they can stand back and watch, because once she and Lee Jong-young fall, the rest will be next. Seeing her stand firm in a moment like this, Lee Jong-young is impressed. Just what you'd expect from the Dragon Slayer. She gets stronger when things get rough. In Chang takes her stance to face them. After hearing her out, the other hunters choose to help. If they're going to die anyway, they'd rather go down fighting. As both sides power up, Gunther just grins, calling it pointless resistance. He says nothing will change. The North Army Guild's plan will go on. Then, Gunther raises his weapon and shouts the monster's name. It works like a command, and the river worm starts sucking up the river water. After taking in enough, it blasts the water into the sky, and rain pours across the battlefield. Lee Jong-young immediately realizes what Gunther did. He used the river worm to reshape the battlefield in his favor, so he fixes his eyes on Gunther. He knows Gunther wants to become this raid's hero, the War King Gunther. As Lee Jong-young gets ready to fight, he wonders if all the power he gained today without rest will be enough. Gunther stares back and comments on Lee Jong-young's strange fire. Even in this rain, it won't go out. Lee Jong-young finally decides to charge. There's no choice but to face him head-on. But Gunther is no weak opponent. He blocks the attack, yet something is off. Lee Jong-young's rule over fire is hurting Gunther even without a direct hit. The moment he notices that, Lee Jong-young smiles. He finally sees the weakness and launches a relentless series of attacks. Gunther can only defend, and Lee Jong-young takes advantage of that, smashing him away with a heavy swing. As Gunther is sent flying, his body starts trembling. He can't understand what kind of trick this is. They're fighting by the riverside, where his A-rank powers should be boosted a lot, and yet this rookie is beating him. Lee Jong-young tells him that when he first entered the gate, he really was weaker. Gunther loses it, asking if a sponsor gave him some huge power-up in that short time. Lee Jong-young says no. While Gunther hid in the back with his men, he stayed on the front line and grew stronger by hunting monsters. That only confuses Gunther more, and he asks what he means. Lee Jong-young says even if he explained it, Gunther wouldn't get it, and it doesn't matter anyway. He's going to die here. Lee Jong-young raises his stance again, but Gunther knows he can't win in a direct fight. So, he orders the river worm to protect him, and it quickly moves between them. Gunther laughs, and says Lee Jong-young is getting cocky just because he was sponsored. But he also received power from that mysterious person. Power far beyond what Lee Jong-young can imagine. He swears he'll teach him a lesson and show that person's greatness. But the worm attacks so suddenly that Lee Jong-young is caught off guard. He notices the monster is protecting Gunther the same way it protects its offspring. As the worm comes up behind Gunther, Lee Jongyang sees his opening. Without wasting a second, he bursts forward at top speed and catches Gunther by surprise. Elsewhere on the battlefield, in the middle of the chaos, In Chang and Yang Tzu are fighting too. Neither side holds back. Both are trying to kill. When their clash kicks up a cloud of dust, Yang Tzu uses it to rush in close. He tells In Chang she can still drop to her knees and beg, and he'll spare her. He asks if she really thinks Lee Jongyang can beat Gunther, insisting the North Army Guild will be the one left standing. But In Chang won't bend. She asks what happened to him. Have he and his brother forgotten the oath they made to protect mankind together? She throws that question right at him as they keep fighting. Putting all their feelings into every strike, they clash again and again without giving each other room to breathe. Back at the mountain, the river worm stands still with its eyes glowing blue, while Lee Jongyang and Gunther are nowhere in sight. That's because Lee Jongyang made a desperate move and forced both himself and Gunther into the worm's stomach. Gunther, sweating badly, calls him insane for trying something like this. But Lee Jongyang cuts him off and says this was his plan all along. He was waiting for the river worm to swallow Gunther. When a river worm protects its offspring like that, it swallows them to keep them safe inside its body. And no matter the species, worms are dry on the inside. That weird bit of knowledge turns out to matter a lot. Lee Jongyang clearly came prepared for this. He drives his spear into the worm's inner flesh and releases his flames. He explains that inside the worm's stomach, the riverside power Gunther got from his sponsor is cut in half, while his own fire control becomes much stronger. Then system messages appear. Muspel's spear has absorbed the flame. Its fire resistance is temporarily increased. Its attack power rises as well. Because of that, the river worm starts burning from the inside, twisting in pain as flames burst from its mouth and body. The hunters outside are stunned by the sight and stop fighting to watch the monster instead. Back inside, Gunther is surrounded by fire. Cornered with nowhere to run, he falls into despair. In his mind, this can't be happening. He was meant to be king. Panic fills his face as he realizes all his plans, dreams, and hopes are falling apart. In a rage, he charges Lee Jongyang and demands to know who he really is. Lee Jongyang doesn't back down. He ends it there, driving his spear straight through Gunther's body, and burns him alive inside the worm. With the fight ending, Lee Jongyang finally thinks he can breathe again, but then his soul-collecting avatar suddenly activates. A message says it has taken in the soul of a hero, Gunther, and the bracelet starts to glow. That confirms what Lee Jongyang suspected. The avatar doesn't need monster souls. It needs human souls, and not just any humans. Only those who became strong again and again, the ones called heroes. Then more messages appear. The ruler of Riverside has fallen, and all support from that sponsor has been cut off. Lee Jongyang is stunned. Did Gunther's sponsor just die too? He wonders if killing the hunter also kills the sponsor, but the Demon King's book said sponsors never die. Then a black portal opens and a creepy crow with red eyes flies out. When Lee Jongyang notices it, the crow starts talking. The bird says he still hasn't answered Gunther's final question. That makes him pause. He realizes this is the first hunter he's ever killed, not a monster. He knows he's walking the path of a Demon King, not a peaceful man, but he has to go even further. So he makes up his mind. To change this world, he'll bear any shame or sin. He'll even go beyond the Demon King. Then he answers the crow, calling himself the Demon God. Hearing that, the Sky of Apocalypses accepts his choice, and the crow seems pleased. It says his answer was interesting and promises they'll meet again soon. Then it leaves. Lee Jongyang tells it to report everything to its master. Soon after, the river worm dies too. This triggers another flood of messages. Greatest contribution, essence of water, and the achievements for hunting the river worm and conquering the river. He levels up, then collapses as his body still burns. The hunters stop fighting and stare at the monster's corpse, waiting to see who survived. Then Lee Jongyang steps out of the mist as the winner, making the others go wild with praise. But not everyone is happy. Yinchang calls out to him because Yang-su is rushing over, furious that his brother lost. He jumps down and attacks Lee Jongyang in blind rage, blaming him for what happened to his brother and saying he ruined everything. He screams about all their plans and efforts. The blow is so heavy that Lee Jongyang even starts to give ground. But when Yang-su swings again, Lee Jongyang spots an opening and counters. He slams his shield into Yang-su's stomach and sends him flying. As a result, Yang-su crashes into a cliff wall, but he still tries to keep going. Once more, he forces himself back up to fight, but Lee Jongyang doesn't let him. In an instant, he closes in and aims his spear at Yang-su's head. Only then does Yang-su understand how close he is to death, and he finally goes still. As Lee Jongyang speaks, he says hunters were given power to protect humanity in this crisis. People like Yang-su and his brother who prey on weak civilians don't deserve to be called hunters at all. Yang-su burns with anger, but with the flaming spear at his neck, he can't move. Still, Lee Jongyang has seen enough killing today. He doesn't want more pointless bloodshed, so he turns away and tells Yang-su to live in regret. But Yang-su doesn't change. Seeing Lee Jongyang's back, he thinks this is his chance. The moment Lee Jongyang turns away, Yang-su looks up. With a cold look in his eyes, he pulls out a weapon from his inventory and tries to stab him in the back. Lee Jongyang is left wide open, but right before the strike lands, In-chang appears. She steps between them and cuts Yang-su down with one slash. At last, the evil brothers get what they deserve. Cut down by someone he once called a friend, Yang-su asks how she could do it, but before he can finish, he falls to the ground and bleeds out. The soul-collecting avatar absorbs another hero's soul. Lee Jongyang, meanwhile, asks In-chang if she's okay, but she clearly isn't. She blames herself for not stopping Gunther and Yang-su sooner and says this tragedy might have been avoided. But Lee Jongyang tells her she's not like those two, so their sins are not hers. Still, In-chang won't accept that. She believes she's finished. She vows never to hold a sword again and to live in repentance for the North Army Guild's sins. Then she turns and walks away. Lee Jongyang is troubled by her words. He wonders if she's really planning to quit, but in his mind, there's no way he'll let her stay broken forever. For now, though, all he can do is watch. And with everything over, the surviving hunters head to the gate exit, where a crowd of reporters and cameras is waiting. As the association guards hold them back, the reporters notice Gunther and Yang-su are missing. They also see the remaining North Army Guild members standing in the back, which makes it clear the man at the front must have led the raid. And since his face and name are still unknown, it's huge news. So everyone starts shouting questions about what happened inside and who led them to victory. Then Seong-gu walks up behind Lee Jong-young and puts a hand on his shoulder. He tells the reporters this man is the rumored C-rank super rookie. Hearing that, the reporters explode. Not only is this the super rookie's first public reveal, but Seong-gu, leader of the famous Lee Guild, clearly knows him too. Still, Seong-gu isn't done. He says the hunters just came back from a hellish gate and need time to recover. According to him, everyone should honor the survivors and mourn the brave people who didn't return. His words make the crowd applaud, giving the hunters a small moment of comfort. But there's nothing to celebrate. This was a gate where 110 people entered, yet only 39 survived that special gate. That loss puts a sad look on Lee Jong-young's face. Elsewhere, the black crow he saw inside the gate appears on Earth. As a result, it returns to its master, an eye patch-wearing man who's pleased to see his crow Hyo-jin return. Then the crow reports everything it learned about Lee Jong-young. It says he already knew the river worm was being controlled, and that he also knew about the plan to turn Gunther into a hero. It adds that Lee Jong-young grows stronger by hunting monsters and even called himself the demon god. After hearing that, the eye patch man decides to meet the Lin River Gate survivors himself to learn exactly what happened, and he tells his assistant to arrange it. But that's not all. He also says the North Army Guild is no longer useful and needs to be erased right away. The assistant agrees and says he'll handle it through the media. Later, In Chang visits the North Army Guild headquarters, or what used to be. As she walks in, old memories hit her. She remembers the place full of people and Gunther's voice, and the emptiness now makes her visibly sad. She admits she's tired of being a hunter. Then she is approached by some former guild members. They tell her she did nothing wrong. Yang-soo and Gunther simply paid for their sins. But they don't stop there. They bow to her and beg her not to give up. One member says that as a father he wants to live honestly, and he's ready to pay for the crimes their guild committed. However, In-cheon tells them this isn't their burden. As the guild's last captain, she says the punishment is hers alone, not theirs. But the former members push back. They say there's something she still doesn't know. One of them admits they're murderers, and In-cheon is stunned. Somewhere else, Seong-gu meets Lee Jong-young, and while they drink soda, he asks if exposing him to reporters after the raid was a mistake. Lee Jong-young says no. If anything, it helped by making him famous. Since that incident, Lee Jong-young has become a superstar. That makes sense. A rookie clearing a special gate that jumped from B rank to A rank is unheard of. Now he's the top story across newspapers and TV. The news about this former C-rank hunter becoming A-rank spreads everywhere and people start calling him an underdog. But Seong-gu doesn't think that title fits. To him, that name should go to someone who truly represents the people. Lee Jong-young doesn't take offense. He says that kind of title may not suit a hunter like him, especially without a faction. Even so, Seong-gu is relieved his meddling didn't cause trouble for his friend. Then the mood shifts. Lee Jong-young decides it's time to talk about his next move, so he asks how Seong-gu knew. Seong-gu is confused and asks what he means. Lee Jong-young clarifies, how did Seong-gu know he planned to use hero-making to his advantage? Apparently, that term doesn't even exist in this era. People here think heroes rise from a sponsor's will, luck, and timing. But Lee Jong-young, coming from the future, knows better. Seong-gu can hardly believe it. He asks if Lee Jong-young is saying heroes can be made, but that act doesn't fool him. Lee Jong-young says Seong-gu already knows what he means, because he's part of Asgard. The moment he says that, Seong-gu erupts with anger. His eyes glow, and a golden aura wraps around him. The pressure pouring off him is so strong even the nearby swings start moving, and even Mr. Eyepatch feels it. He's caught off guard by the aura and realizes something interesting is happening. Back with Lee Jong-young, he's shocked too by the sudden pressure. Seong-gu tells him to calm down, then demands to know how he found out. Lee Jong-young explains that from the moment they met, he already believed Seong-gu was with Asgard. So he asks why Seong-gu kept acting like he understood the plan and even helped him anyway. Seong-gu says he had his suspicions. Lee Jong-young's growth is too fast, and the way he thinks makes it clear he knows things others don't. Still, Lee Jong-young is the one who let him see through the plan on purpose. He asks why he thinks he did that, but Seong-gu has no answer. So Lee Jong-young reveals the truth. He wants to join Asgard, the hidden group of powerful hunters. That leaves Seong-gu speechless, while Lee Jong-young smiles, thinking the real war starts now. Later that night, Lee Jong-young calls In-cheon out to talk. She comes and asks why he wanted to meet. He skips the small talk and asks her to join his side, but In-cheon hesitates. She says her role ended at Lin River Gate. Now she's lost the North Army Guild, the family she believed in, and with it, her purpose. She also says she's not capable enough to do anything important. Lee Jong-young cuts her off and tells her she has real value. He knows what lies ahead for her. In-cheon refuses to hear it. Angry, she starts trembling, saying he talks like he already knows everything. Then she admits he was right before. The North Army Guild was trash, and she was just one more piece in that pile. Lee Jong-young realizes something serious must have happened to change her this much, so he asks. That's when she reveals what she recently learned. Deep inside the guild, things were even worse than she imagined. Following their leader's orders, the members had been murdering countless people, even powerless civilians. That chills Lee Jong-young, while In-cheon drops to the ground like her whole world is falling apart. She remembers how the guild once threatened an innocent civilian to lie about Lee Jong-young. But it went far beyond that. They had secretly been killing ordinary people tied to those incidents, proving Guildmaster Choi Yong-sun really saw normal people as bugs. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young realizes the situation is worse than he thought. For someone as upright as In-cheon, this truth is far too brutal. If this keeps up, he could lose the future Dragon Slayer before she ever rises. She's already breaking down. So he quickly comes up with a plan and asks what she'll do if something like this happens again. Gates appeared, hunters awakened, and monsters followed. Compared to people with that kind of power, normal humans can't fight back. If this kind of abuse happened in a small guild like North Army, then it must be happening elsewhere too. He says these crimes are probably everywhere, and asks if she plans to ignore them all. That makes the shaken and Cheon open her eyes and stand, but Lee Jongyang keeps going. He says he wants to stop this and fix what's wrong with the world. He doesn't want anyone else to suffer what she's suffering now. Still, Cheon isn't convinced. She asks if he really thinks he can stop all of it. Even after seeing his strength and character for herself, she says he knows nothing about the hidden power ruling this world. She brings up Mr. Eyepatch, saying that before a monster like him, other hunters are like insects. And she admits she isn't strong enough to face someone like that, asking if Lee Jongyang truly knows a way to oppose him and change the world. At that critical moment, Lee Jongyang realizes it's now or never, so he tells her his deepest secret. He's from the future. She's left stunned, but he keeps speaking like that wasn't insane at all. He says something huge is coming, a cataclysm that will kill many people and destroy countless things. When that day comes, they'll need the power of the North Army Guild's former vice guild leader. He reminds her the association will call them soon, tells her to meet him there and think about everything until then. With that, he leaves, and both of them head home. The next morning, Lee Jongyang watches the news and learns that all of the North Army Guild's crimes have been exposed. But what surprises him is how detailed the report is. It makes him wonder if it was prepared in advance, ready to discard useful pawns the moment they became a problem. As he keeps watching, something strange happens. His soul-collecting skeleton starts to glow. The avatar has finally activated and is about to be born for real. Lee Jongyang gets excited. The bracelet has absorbed the souls of Gunther and Yongsu along with the water golem's gem and the river worm's water essence. Then a message tells him to call the avatar's name to summon it. So, full of expectation, he calls out to Yeonmu, and a floating skull appears before him. This is the avatar itself, and it asks its master if he called. But instead of getting hyped, Lee Jongyang is a little disappointed, wondering if this is really all he got. He was expecting a bone dragon, while Yeonmu wonders what's wrong. As the day goes on, Lee Jongyang keeps training his abilities. According to the autobiography of the Demon King, magic power is like the atmosphere. Many heroes have asked themselves whether they were truly using all of that power. They searched for ways to draw out the full force of magic, the mana stream, but Lee Jongyang still can't do that yet. According to him, the method the Demon King's way to pull out the most power is hard to copy because the notes are too vague. Even so, a disaster he can't stop is coming. When it hits, today's A-rank hunters will drop to around C+. To survive it, Lee Jongyang needs to get stronger, but that's been harder than he expected. Then he gets a text from Kim saying she's outside and will take him to the association. That makes Lee Jongyang freeze up. They're finally going to meet. Stressed out, he heads down, and Kim drives him to association headquarters. On the way, she points out she's never seen him this nervous before, not even when he entered the Lin River Gate and might have died. She can't remember him ever looking like this, so for a second she thought he wasn't even human, but seeing him now changed her mind. Then again, meeting the head of Korea's association is enough to shake anyone. Kim tells him to relax. She thinks the president just wants to meet him and the other Lin River Gate survivors to talk about what they achieved, not because Lee Jongyang did anything wrong, but he knows that's not it. More than 50 people died in the Lin River Gate, including the North Army Guild leaders. He's sure this isn't some reward meeting. There's another reason the president called them in. To him, it's really an interrogation in disguise. Once she gets what he means, Kim admits she was being naive, and they keep driving. On the way, Lee Jongyang remembers his last talk with Seonggu, who told him joining Asgard wasn't something he could choose on his own. Seonggu, Heimdall among the 12 heroes, was unhappy with what Asgard had become. It started as a group meant to help humanity, but it quickly went downhill. When the Demon King first met Seonggu, he already opposed Asgard but had no way out. So the Demon King joined for a while, then left with Heimdall. That's why Lee Jongyang plans to enter the group earlier than the Demon King did, and use its resources to grow stronger until he no longer needs them. Soon they arrive, and Lee Jongyang heads into the president's office. And the president turns out to be Mr. Eyepatch. He's the same man the North Army Guild answered to, the one who told them to cause chaos, and the same man mentioned again and again in the Demon King's diary, Jang Hyo-jin. He's someone Lee Jongyang can't ignore. In fact, Lee Jongyang isn't even sure he could beat him right now. So they greet each other, and the president introduces himself as Jang Hyo-jin, holding out his hand. Lee Jongyang shakes it and gives his name too, but the president quickly drops the act and asks who he really is. With a dark look, Jang Hyo-jin says Lee Jongyang already knows everything, so there's no point pretending. He openly admits he was the one who gave the North Army Guild that power. Then Lee Jongyang remembers a line from the book. Do not trust anything about Odin. Everything about him is a lie. Even so, he already knew Jang Hyo-jin was behind it, so he barely reacts. Seeing that, Jang Hyo-jin looks disappointed and reviews Lee Jongyang's file again. He says the man before him is unusual. Right after awakening, he killed dozens of goblins and even the goblin chieftain alone. After being rescued, he was rated C rank, but in only 2 months he rose to A rank, killed the river worm, and cleared the Lin River Gate by himself. That kind of growth is unheard of, which is why Jang Hyo-jin is so interested in him. But he still has one question. Why did Lee Jongyang kill Gunther? He says Gunther was a tool he'd been raising, and he's clearly angry that all that effort. Hearing that, Lee Jongyang realizes Jang Hyo-jin saw everything through his crow. He answers that he only killed a hunter who attacked him, and asks if that's a problem. Of course it is. Lee Jongyang destroyed one of Jang Hyo-jin's pieces without permission, but to Lee Jongyang, that's no huge loss. Gunther was just a pawn, wasn't he? Then he stops circling around the issue and tells the association president he wants to join Asgard. That catches Jang Hyo-jin off guard, and he says Lee Jongyang really is interesting. Still, he wonders if Lee Jongyang knows what Asgard actually is. Lee Jongyang says Asgard is a group made by the first hunters to save humanity. He also states that Jang Hyo-jin is Odin, king of Asgard and leader of the secret group. After that, Lee Jongyang repeats his request. He wants in. He's not giving up, and that only makes Jang Hyo-jin more curious. According to the Demon King's autobiography, Odin, Jang Hyo-jin, had a terrible personality. His kind image was fake. Deep down, he was more petty and cruel than almost anyone. But even he has a weakness, his curiosity. Odin's hunger for knowledge was endless. He'd even deal with his enemies if it meant learning something new. Suddenly, Jang Hyojin starts laughing. He asks how Lee Jong-young knows all this. About Hyojin, about the river worm being controlled, and why he seems to know everything. He even knows Lee Jong-young got stronger so fast by hunting monsters. Watching him get excited, Lee Jong-young realizes his dangerous gamble worked. Just like the book said, Jang Hyojin can't turn him down because his curiosity won't let him. And there's another reason Lee Jong-young had better odds. Jang Hyojin's Eye of Truth had no effect on him. That made Odin even more interested. But at the same time, the Sky of Apocalypse doesn't like anyone tampering with its player's mind and sends a warning to the Explorer of Truth, Jang Hyojin's sponsor. That's enough for Jang Hyojin, and he agrees to let Lee Jong-young join Asgard. But he says it won't be easy. First, Lee Jong-young will have to pass a few entrance tests. Those tests were supposed to go to Gunther after he became a hero. But Jang Hyojin says if Lee Jong-young passes, he'll be accepted as an official member. There's just one condition. Lee Jong-young must take a mental restriction so he can't tell anyone about this meeting, and Asgard stays hidden. Without delay, the restriction is placed. After that, Lee Jong-young leaves and sorts through his thoughts at a coffee shop. There he reveals the Sky of Apocalypse not only blocked Odin's eye, but also canceled the mental restriction. Luckily, Odin didn't notice. That makes Lee Jong-young wonder if his sponsor can block all mental attacks. Then In Chang shows up and the two talk for a bit. Lee Jong-young asks if the president requested anything unusual, but she says no. He only claimed to feel sorry about the North Army Guild and what happened. Even so, In Chang is angry that she didn't have the courage to ask Jang Hyojin why he did something so awful to her friends. Lee Jong-young says the president originally planned to deal with In Chang too, since she also knows what kind of person he is, but for some reason he let her go. He asks why she thinks that is, and she says she has no idea, because someone as powerful as the association president could pin a crime on even an innocent person like her. So Lee Jong-young explains the reason. She has no value to him. Dead or alive, the president sees In Chang as no threat, and that's why she's still here. He also says the North Army Guild was destroyed to warn the other guilds he supports. That makes In Chang break down in tears, realizing she truly means nothing to him. But that's exactly why she should work with him, Lee Jong-young says. He tells her he's going to change the world, and for someone who's already hit rock bottom, joining him can only help. Hearing that, In Chang blushes and finally decides to join Lee Jong-young. Later that night, they meet at their usual abandoned factory, and In Chang asks what the plan is. So Lee Jong-young brings up that she got a sponsor inside the Lin River Gate and asks what reward she received. In Chang takes out an orb and says her sponsor, Prince Charming, gave her a dragon bloodstone. Lee Jong-young is pleased. This turned out just like he expected. The dragon bloodstone is insanely rare. Only 3 were ever mentioned in the Demon King's diary. It was also the key item that completed the immortal Siegfried. Then In Chang offers the dragon bloodstone to Lee Jong-young, which catches him off guard. He asks if she understands how valuable it is, but she shyly admits he clearly knows more about it than she does. So she keeps pushing him to take it, and he finally accepts, though it still feels strange to get the very item he wanted so badly. He asks if she's really okay giving up a sponsor item that could help her later, but In Chang says it's a gift for the person who believed in her and saw her worth. Lee Jong-young accepts, though honestly this is not a smart choice for In Chang. The whole thing leaves him confused. Maybe In Chang isn't who he thought. Maybe she's just way too trusting. A terrible move, but still. The Sky of Apocalypse just smirks as it watches its sponsor. After that, Lee Jong-young heads to see Park Jae-hyun again. Once greetings are out of the way, Jae-hyun asks why he came. Before answering, Lee Jong-young checks Jae-hyun's items with his status bar. He scans the weapons on display and is impressed by how strong and skillfully made they are. Still, Jae-hyun says they're all unfinished. The fire issue in his workshop got a little better thanks to Lee Jong-young, but getting good materials is still a huge problem. Lee Jong-young knows that's unavoidable. Skill matters, but materials matter just as much. Before the cataclysm, there simply weren't enough quality materials for a master smith like Jae-hyun. Then Lee Jong-young reveals why he came, pulling out the dragon bloodstone In Chang gave him. The moment it shines, Jae-hyun stares at it, then slams the table and shouts, asking what the hell this thing is. He's never seen a mineral like it before, and he's completely stunned. Lee Jong-young quickly reminds him that this isn't a gift. Jae-hyun snorts that only a complete idiot would give away something that valuable. Lee Jong-young can only think of one person who actually would. Anyway, he asks to borrow Jae-hyun's hammer and walks to the anvil. Jae-hyun seems to guess what he's about to do, but Lee Jong-young stays calm. He places the dragon bloodstone on the anvil and tells him to watch closely. Then he raises the hammer and boosts the strike with his authority. Jae-hyun panics and yells for him to stop, but Lee Jong-young brings it down anyway, splitting the bloodstone in 2. Jae-hyun is so shocked he looks spiritually destroyed. But Lee Jong-young quickly explains what he did. According to him, this is the proper way to use the stone. The Demon King's book says dragon bloodstones regenerate after absorbing enough blood. In other words, they can be duplicated. So Lee Jong-young asks Jae-hyun to attach one half to Muspel's spear with strict instructions not to refine or alter the stone at all. The other half will go into a greatsword. He chose one modeled after the immortal Siegfried's magic sword, and Jae-hyun is so excited he wants to start right away. He even offers to do it for free, just for the chance to work with such a rare material. Later, inside a gate, In Chang and Lee Jong-young hunt monsters together. Their upgraded weapons work perfectly. The stones inside them absorb orc blood and start regenerating. In Chang is happy with her new weapon, saying she's never used a greatsword before, yet it feels completely natural in her hands. Lee Jong-young asks how much her stone has recovered, and she says it reached 2. He guesses stronger monsters will raise the regen rate even more. And Chang is still amazed there was a way to use the bloodstone like this. They can keep multiplying it, making her glad she handed it to Lee after all. Their nice moment is cut short by heavy footsteps. A giant orc, the ogre warrior, the boss of this gate. It attacks at once, and Lee Jongyang barely dodges in time. Then he realizes In Chang isn't beside him. He calls her name, and as the dust clears, he sees In Chang blocking the hit by herself. She even knocks the blow aside and sends the monster flying back, leaving the gate boss shocked by her strength. That makes sense. The immortal Siegfried's great sword once blocked countless dragon attacks. In Chang doesn't stop there and rushes in, cutting the monster down. She finishes with a downward slash that splits the ogre warrior in half. When the raid ends, they rest outside the gate. Lee Jongyang says it's reassuring to have someone like In Chang with him, which makes her blush hard. Then he adds that the time is almost here. They have to go in 2 days. Since the deadline is so close, he wants to keep hunting non-stop until then and sharpen their teamwork. That's their best shot at surviving, and In Chang agrees. In his heart, Lee Jongyang steels himself for Odin's test. Then the night before finally arrives. Lee Jongyang rests in his room, thinking about tomorrow. He believes he and In Chang have prepared as much as they could in such little time, but In Chang still hasn't gained the title Siegfried. Maybe hoping she'd get it this early was too much. Just then, the doorbell rings, and he goes to check. Waiting for him is Seong-gu. He gets straight to the point and tells Lee Jongyang not to go tomorrow. If he does, he could die. The risk is far worse than the Lin River Gate. Hearing that, Lee Jongyang realizes Seong-gu is being completely honest, and Seong-gu goes on. He says he spent a long time thinking about how Lee Jongyang knows about Asgard, why he wants in, and what he's really after. In the end, though, he says none of that matters much. I trust you. That leaves Lee Jongyang confused. How can someone he met by chance trust him this much? Seong-gu doesn't know either. It's just his gut, and he's choosing to follow it. Even so, he warns him again not to go tomorrow. Odin already has his eye on Lee Jongyang, so he'll get into Asgard sooner or later even without this test. He asks if Lee Jongyang has an alias yet, saying that without one he may not come back alive. But Lee Jongyang refuses to back down. He thanks Seong-gu for caring, but says it's not needed. No matter what, he'll return alive. He still has too much left to do. And then the day finally comes. Lee Jongyang and In Chang arrive at what looks like an airport, both dressed in black suits. There, Kim greets them and leads them forward. Seeing her, Lee Jongyang congratulates her on her promotion, but she says it's thanks to him. Because he's doing so well, she was rewarded by being put in charge of him. She's also proud to manage a hunter chosen for an international expedition to represent their country. She bows, says the gate will open soon, and hopes they both return safely before leaving. Even In Chang is impressed by how cool Kim acts. Still, Lee Jongyang and In Chang soon reach the gate to London, where an association member tells them to enter. They arrive in London and are welcomed by the event's hosts. What's more, it turns out Lee Jongyang speaks English really well. That makes In Chang trust him even more. But the reason is dark. In the future, if you can't speak English, people barely treat you like a person, so he had to learn. The hosts show them to their rooms and tell them to rest. They also mention a party for the hunters gathered for the gate expedition and suggest the Korean team should attend. So that night, they go. In Chang grumbles that not knowing English is annoying. She wants to know what people are saying about them. Lee Jongyang answers honestly. Some welcome them, but others are making racist comments. Then a huge man bumps into someone. His size alone scares the room. He stares at the Korean hunters and asks if these are the two guys. He expected Chinmu from Korea, not these two kids. Right away, he starts insulting In Chang and Lee Jongyang, and even they freeze for a moment at his build. Lee Jongyang then explains that besides Asgard, there are other secret groups hidden all over the world. They fight over things like gate rights, and that led to the Battle of the Great Warriors. What was meant to protect humanity has turned into rival groups trying to outdo each other. This round of the Battle of Heroes was supposed to have Gunther, who earned the hero title at the Lin River Gate, but Lee Jongyang was sent instead. And from what he knows, even Gunther isn't on this giant's level, making him wonder if history has changed again. Back at the party, the giant gets angrier when Lee Jongyang stays silent, but a well-dressed man behind him tells him to stop. He offers a handshake and says it's an honor to meet the underdog. After apologizing for his partner, he introduces himself as George, alias Odysseus. That shocks Lee Jongyang even more. This is Odysseus? Even in the Demon King's autobiography, George was someone feared. He then tells his partner to apologize too. The man does, introducing himself as Demetrius, alias Hercules, the same man who kills Odysseus in the future, and reaches out with a nasty grin. It looks like he plans to crush Lee Jongyang's hand with that handshake. But In Chang steps in first and grabs Hercules' hand. She tells him to back off. Lee Jongyang won't be taking that apology. Demetrius is amused. He didn't expect anyone to challenge him head-on, and the two lock into a test of strength. Watching this, George is stunned that In Chang is standing against the strongest hunter. But Demetrius soon overpowers her and throws her back. When she steadies herself, she realizes her hand is broken. Demetrius laughs, thrilled, and says someone here may be even more promising than the underdog. Then he says he wants to meet the Korean hunters again. George apologizes once more and promises they'll speak another time. Then the two leave the party. Lee Jongyang sees In Chang is in bad shape and asks if she's okay. She clearly isn't. While drinking a potion, she asks if they really have to beat someone like Demetrius. With his face darkened, Lee Jongyang says yes. Still, he knows they can't win by normal means. According to the book, Hercules was an unstoppable monster. But he also had one major weakness that kept him from ruling the world. The days pass, and every day the secret groups hold meetings to size each other up. But Lee Jongyang and In Chang skip the parties and keep clearing raids instead. A man in a suit leads them to another gate, praising their drive but warning them to save energy for what's ahead. Even so, they go in while he waits outside. Soon they enter the Ogre Tribe gate. Inside, Lee Jongyang says they'll keep doing this until they get what they need, and In Chang agrees. He lays out the plan. They'll train like they did in Korea, focused on defense. Because even with all his skills, he can't take a single hit from Hercules. That's why Chang is so important. So Lee Jongyang heads deeper into the gate and tells her to wait there. Left alone, Chang thinks about how guilt used to make her feel restless. Now she feels much calmer, and even her sponsor's messages have gotten better. They used to be full of anger and disapproval, and she knows that's thanks to Lee Jongyang. A little later, he comes running back fast. The reason is obvious. Dozens of ogres are chasing him, including the twin-headed boss. Seeing that horde, Chang panics, and both of them start to run. But that wasn't the plan. Lee Jongyang tells her not to dodge, even with all the monsters locked onto her. He trusts her and says she can take their hits. Choosing to believe him, Chang turns and charges straight into the ogres. To support her, Lee Jongyang summons his avatar, Yunmu, and orders him to use potions if she gets in real danger. With that handled, Lee Jongyang goes after the real reason he came. The hidden piece that can help him beat Hercules. Using his authority as the gang's leader, he tears through the other ogres. Then through the flames, he finds it at last. The hidden piece found in B-rank ogre tribe gates. It's a terrifying ogre that even hero-level hunters fear. This monster can ignore fire authority just by pushing through it. It can't use magic, but its brutal nature and power earned it the future name Red-Eyed Ogre Mage. Meanwhile, in Korea, Seonggu storms into the president's office and slams the door open. The second he arrives, he shouts at Jang Hyo-jin, asking what he's trying to do. The assistant tries to calm Seonggu down and says he can't act like this here. But Jang Hyo-jin says it's fine and sends the assistant outside so they can talk alone. Once they're by themselves, his real mood shows. Angry, he asks Seonggu what he thinks he's doing. But instead of answering, Seonggu fires back with a question. Did you know all along? Jang Hyo-jin plays dumb and says he has no idea what the guildmaster is talking about. That only makes Seonggu press harder, asking what he's really thinking. With a deep sigh, the president sets up a barrier around them and says now they can talk properly. He adds that this isn't Asgard's meeting room and asks if Seonggu plans to ignore the rules. Seonggu doesn't back down. He asks why Jang Hyo-jin cares about side rules when Asgard's first rule, helping humanity survive, has been ignored for so long. That sets Jang Hyo-jin off, and he demands to know if Seonggu is trying to lecture the leader of Asgard. Seonggu says he might have tried if lectures could change him, but it looks like the president has no interest in listening. Those words push Hyo-jin over the edge, and he shoots to his feet in anger. Still, Seonggu stops him with one line. It's Hercules. That leaves Hyo-jin confused, and he asks what he means. Seonggu explains that Hercules is taking part in this round of the Battle of the Great Warriors. Hyo-jin is stunned. This is the first he's hearing of it. As far as he knew, Asgard had already been promised victory in this round, so now he wonders if Olympus is breaking that promise. Seeing his reaction, Seonggu realizes things are worse than he thought. He assumed Lee Jongyang was sent there knowing Hercules would join, but Jang Hyo-jin clearly didn't know either. Even so, Seonggu keeps pressing. He asks if Jang Hyo-jin is really going to let Lee Jongyang die like this, and whether he even cares about him. Trying to save him, Seonggu offers to go there himself and handle the ogre. But Hyo-jin says there is no need to panic. He has no plan to let Lee Jongyang die, even if this was never part of his original plan. Hyo-jin explains that he already placed a mental restriction on Lee Jongyang, so if he's ever in danger, the signal reaches him right away. And he adds that Olympus has now broken their deal, giving him the perfect reason to start a war. That catches Cyan-gu off guard. He starts thinking maybe Hyo-jin saw this coming. He also notes that putting that restriction on Lee Jongyang was foolish, but now it may end up helping. Still, he can't shake the feeling that something is wrong, and he's right. What Odin and Handel don't know is the mental restriction on Lee Jongyang had already been erased by the Sky of Apocalypse. Back inside the gate, the red-eyed ogre mage frantically searches through the flames. Meanwhile, Lee Jongyang hides behind rocks, thinking luring it with fire was the right move. Soon he finds a glowing red ore, the thing he was really after. To him, this stone is what let the ogre evolve into an ogre mage. He says this ore will be a key piece in his fight against Hercules, but he gets no time to breathe. The ogre mage suddenly appears behind him. As the monster towers over him in rage, Lee Jongyang realizes he messed up. Luckily, he uses a smokescreen to open some distance, but the ogre mage quickly catches up, leaving him desperate. He wonders if he can really beat a monster said to rival Hercules. Then the ogre leaps up and slams down hard. Now Lee Jongyang has no choice but to face it head-on. He says he wanted to avoid wasting strength before fighting Hercules, but now he has to commit. The ogre mage throws a heavy punch while Lee Jongyang pulls out his spear and charges too. But right before they collide, a message appears. Someone has cleared the gate. Luckily, the ogre turns into a blue ghostly shape and vanishes, making Lee Jongyang realize how close that was. He says getting hurt there would have put him in serious trouble, even with potions. Thankfully, it seems Incheon defeated the boss just in time. Back in London, the waiting continues. There, Hercules and Odysseus stand together. Hercules points out that the Korean hunters haven't shown up since day one, and Odysseus says they're probably preparing on their own. But Hercules is getting restless. He wants to visit a gate and blow off steam, yet Odysseus shuts that down. He doesn't want another headache because of him. Then he reveals something important. Hercules came here against Olympus's orders. Still, Hercules says he had no choice. He was told to throw a fight he could have won, and as a warrior, he couldn't accept that. Because of what happened, Theseus, the one meant to come with Odysseus, ended up hospitalized. Odysseus has been hiding him, and so far they have managed because Hercules appeared on the first day. Soon someone from Olympus should arrive to punish both Hercules for disobeying and Odysseus for helping him. But Hercules says not to worry. He'll protect his friend no matter who comes. Then he brings up Incheon, saying she looks somewhat capable, but Hercules respects very few fighters. So the fact that he's excited to face the underdog and his partner makes Odysseus feel like something huge is coming. The next day at the hotel, Lee Jongyang and Incheon sit in their room. Incheon asks if he's going out hunting again and whether she should come too, but Lee Jongyang tells her no. She still hasn't fully recovered from yesterday's fight. Of course, she blames him for that. Because of Lee Jongyang's antics, she gained a rare trait that boosts her constitution growth and physical resistance. He even jokes about doing it one more time. That makes Incheon flustered, and she tries to act busy instead of answering. Her reaction only makes things more suspicious. So what really happened last night? Lee Jongyang says he was only joking, tells her to rest, and leaves alone. Inchan finally agrees, but tells him to call if anything happens. Lee Jong-young heads into the city and arrives at Alchemy Street. He's looking for someone specific, but since he can't find them directly, he decides to follow the strongest magic presence nearby. That leads him to the exact shop he wanted, and he walks inside, where an orange-haired girl greets him. She looks oddly familiar. Seeing her, Lee Jong-young smiles, sure he found the right place. The shopkeeper warmly asks what brought him all the way from Korea. A special potion maybe, or some weapon. But instead, Lee Jong-young asks if she is a certain person. Hearing her name from a total stranger, the girl freezes and her tone changes. She asks who he is, saying he can't be good news when she just opened shop here. Lee Jong-young answers with sarcasm. He reveals she's the younger sister of Brock, also known as Park Jae-hyun, the greatest blacksmith. Her skills are on Jae-hyun's level, and she's also an excellent alchemist. In the future, she earns the title of blacksmith. Lee Jong-young asks her to modify his weapon, and a week later she finishes. He had her melt the red ore from the Obra tribe gate and coat Muspel's spear with it. But after handling both the spear and the ore, Yoo-jin grows more suspicious. She says she left Korea, and her useless brother, and came to London hoping to find materials this good. Yet she has never seen anything like what Lee Jong-young brought her. Not even Olympus had materials on this level, making her wonder who he really is and how he got them. Even so, Lee Jong-young simply tells her to come back to Korea. He says if rare minerals are what she wants, Korea will help her far more than England, especially while he's there. That leaves her stunned. In his mind, Lee Jong-young thinks that once these runes come together, they'll make him stronger. But Yoo-jin still doesn't trust this stranger. She asks if he's really saying he can get materials even Olympus can't, and calls him arrogant. But his confidence is exactly what sparks her interest. Soon, the fateful day arrives. As soon as the gate opens, the whole world gets ready. There, Inchan asks if they'll have to fight every hunter present, but that isn't how it works. Some people don't care about winning, and clearing the gate first also counts. That eases Inchan a little, since it should mean fewer pointless deaths. But Lee Jong-young isn't so sure. Not everyone is as kind as she is. Then, Hercules and Odysseus arrive. Just Hercules' presence makes everyone tense and stare at him. That annoys him, and he starts snapping at the other participants. But Odysseus calms him down. Then he redirects Hercules' anger toward Lee Jong-young, who is staring right back. Seeing that look, Hercules gets excited about what's coming. After a brief greeting with Lee Jong-young, the hunters enter the gate. Still, something feels wrong. Before going in, Lee Jong-young tells Inchan to run the moment they enter, which catches her off guard. Even so, after giving that warning, Lee Jong-young steps into the Katahdin mountain gate. The second they enter, a huge explosion greets them. Inchan, though not hit directly, starts wondering what is happening, but chooses to follow Lee Jong-young's order. So she sprints away at full speed, only to stop when she finds a badly wounded hunter near death. Unable to ignore him, she tries to save him with a potion, but it's too late. The hunter dies right in front of her, and then another fierce attack suddenly comes at her. She barely blocks it in time, but the impact makes her hands shake. That terrifying strike came from Hercules, who was impressed by her strength. "I'm glad I joined," he says as he faces Inchan. And just like that, chaos breaks loose. As the fight starts, Inchan and Hercules go all out. Then Hercules throws a brutal punch, but Inchan barely dodges. When she looks back, the area behind her has been blown apart. Hercules keeps pressing, throwing more attacks and mocking her. This time, Inchan stops the blow with her greatsword. This is the result of all her hard work. Even with Hercules' insane strength shaking her whole body, Inchan still blocks it through pure training. Then she lowers her stance, ready to rush in. Now it's her turn, but Hercules won't let her. He's amazed someone this strong still has no title. To him, that means she's earned the right to face a special move he only uses on worthy foes. He powers up and starts Savage Beast, but a fireball suddenly slams into him mid-charge. Inchan freezes and turns to see who did it, then smiles when she realizes it was Lee Jong-young. He runs up from behind and tells her they need to retreat for now, so the two of them leave the fight at once and run. Hercules steps out of the flames mostly unharmed, just annoyed. Later, Lee Jong-young and Inchan hide out and talk about what happened after they entered. Inchan says the moment they got inside, an explosion went off and many hunters died on the spot. She still can't make sense of it until Lee Jong-young explains the truth. It was an ambush, but not from who she thought. Hercules didn't cause the blast. Hunters set it off to ambush him as soon as he entered. Of course, they never stood a chance against the so-called strongest hunter, and Hercules went wild after that. Lee Jong-young had already guessed this might happen, which is why he told Inchan to run. Even so, it looks like a third of the hunters are already dead. Hearing that, Inchan asks what they do next. She admits there's no way she could have survived Hercules' last attack head-on. Lee Jong-young says their first goal is simple: survive this A-rank gate. Then he draws his weapons and turns to find a pack of Katatan lions, all A-rank monsters behind them. Demetrius isn't their only problem. They wipe out the pack, and after that, Lee Jong-young sends Yunmu out to scout. Yunmu returns with no sign of other hunters nearby. Meanwhile, Inchan starts burying the monsters they killed. Watching her, Lee Jong-young thinks she's a strange person, maybe just plain crazy. After finishing, Inchan asks about the plan. Like Lee Jong-young said before, there are two ways to win: clear the gate or kill the other hunters. She asks which one they'll choose, but even he hesitates. The A-rank boss might be too much for just the two of them. Then again, Hercules may be even worse. Still, the demon god already has a plan. He says they'll take down both. That leaves Inchan speechless. Then Yunmu appears and reports 3 hunters nearby with skull tattoos. They're the ones who started this whole mess. Lee Jong-young says those are the people who ambushed Hercules, and he tells Inchan to get ready. Elsewhere, Odysseus and Hercules have already caught those 3 tattooed hunters while following Lee Jong-young's flame trail. Odysseus explains they belong to Borgen, a brutal North African group involved in drugs, child trafficking, and other crimes. They were also the ones behind the ambush on Hercules. That makes Hercules furious, and the hunters start begging for mercy. But Hercules says something odd. He doesn't hate people who do anything to win. In fact, he likes that. But even people like that have to follow the rules, and these men broke them with their ambush. So Hercules kills them without mercy, telling them to follow the rules in their next life. His sponsor approves the kill. Hercules looks at the spot where the men used to be when George starts complaining, saying Hercules has no room to talk about rules after going against Olympus and beating Theseus so badly he ended up in the hospital. Hercules ignores that and starts talking about Lee Jong-young, excited to crush him next. But their conversation is cut off when another group of hunters shows up. They surround Hercules and George, glaring at them like they're ready to attack. Thinking they must be allies of the men he just killed, Hercules steps forward to meet them. He releases a terrifying aura, says he loves this kind of thing, and jumps in. In an instant, it's over. All that remains is a pile of mangled corpses and torn limbs. Looking at the carnage, George says Hercules has a terrible hobby and tells him to at least use a weapon when he goes berserk. Hercules refuses. He says you need your hands to really enjoy the hunt. George doesn't dislike Demetrius just because he's strong. The man isn't some simple lunatic. He's a warrior obsessed with battle and victory. Once the fight starts, though, he turns into a killer who loses all reason. Even now, Hercules still wants more and decides to find Lee Jong-young. That's exactly what George fears, the clash between Demetrius and the underdog. Elsewhere, Lee Jong-young and Incheon approach the boss area. They sense huge magic power, and Yunmu rushes back to report hunters nearby. But there's no bloodlust, so they seem friendly. When Lee Jong-young and Incheon approach, the hunters say they've been waiting for the Korean team. Of course, Lee Jong-young has no idea what they mean. Confused, one of them asks if Asgard sent him here, and he says yes. The group talks it over, then Inev steps forward and introduces himself as a member of Nihil, a secret global group like Asgard and Olympus. He says they were assigned to help the underdog. Since Lee Jong-young knows nothing about the plan, Inev explains the Great War was already arranged for Asgard to win, but Olympus ran into problems, and Hercules showing up made things messy, so Nihil is here to make sure Lee Jong-young and Incheon still come out on top. Hearing that, Lee Jong-young finally understands part of the real setup. Then Inev offers to help them beat the boss, since 2 people won't be enough. But Lee Jong-young wants something else. He says he'll bring down Demetrius. That shocks everyone, but to him, only beating the boss would make him look like Odin's puppet. Incheon, still confused, asks him to explain, so he tells her the higher-ups already planned for Asgard to win, while his choice to fight Hercules goes against that. Even so, he wonders if she'll oppose him, but she doesn't. Instead, Incheon says she's willing to follow his lead and go with his plan. Lee Jong-young smiles back, then the mood breaks. One by one, the other hunters lose their nerve. None of them want to face the strongest hunter in the world, so they walk away while mocking Lee Jong-young for dreaming too big. Even the Nihil hunters back out, leaving the Korean pair alone again, just the 2 of them against their first target, the Catalan Mountain Gate boss. Later, one of Inev's teammates asks what he thinks will happen. Inev says it'll be hard, but Lee Jong-young is strangely strong for everything he's been through. Based on his potential, Inev believes Lee Jong-young is already on the level of underground leaders. That stuns his teammate, but Inev continues, saying he and the others stayed back to judge Lee Jong-young's true ability for themselves. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young and Incheon finally reach the boss and come face to face with the Catalan. The beast instantly releases a heavy aura that lowers the hunter's abilities. Lee Jong-young resists it, and his stats return to normal moments later. He even gains another achievement, and the fight begins. Lee Jong-young charges in, tells Incheon to take the right while he takes the left, and reminds her to save her strength. Incheon follows the plan and rushes in, while Yunmu covers them from the sides. The 3 get into position, and Incheon attacks first, but the Catalan dodges and slaps her away with one paw. A pretty brutal answer. Lee Jong-young moves next, using his fire authority to burn the monster, but it does no damage. The boss comes out fine and swings back. Yunmu cuts in and helps Lee Jong-young get clear. The 2 hunters regroup, and after just that short exchange, both Incheon and Lee Jong-young are already breathing hard. Lee Jong-young tells Incheon not to overdo it. Their job is just to push the boss into phase 2 before Demetrius arrives. Elsewhere, bodies are scattered everywhere. Hercules stands there with blood on his fists. On his way to Lee Jong-young, he got stopped again and again by hunter groups attacking him. The constant cat-and-mouse chase is making Demetrius furious, but George doesn't see it as a problem. Soon, Hercules will finally meet the enemy he fight. But Hercules snaps at George to be quiet, making George think Demetrius is starting to lose himself. The more Demetrius kills, the deeper he sinks into a frenzy. George even wonders if the underdog knew this and left hunters behind on purpose to drag him further into it. Still, that should be impossible. That secret is hidden even inside Olympus. Odin doesn't know it. Of course, George has no clue about our boy's book, so he calmly walks up to Demetrius. Hearing George's voice, the bloodlust in Hercules starts to fade, and he asks what he wants. George asks if he's really sure he can stay sane in this state. Demetrius tells him not to worry. He says his control is much better than before, and promises he won't lose himself again. Then the shockwave from the Korean hunters' battle reaches them. Feeling that pressure, Hercules grins and asks if the main event has started. George decides to trust Hercules, one of the few S-class hunters in the world, and says it's time to move. Back at the battlefield, the boss suddenly stops moving. That means the Korean hunters succeeded. They forced it into phase 2, but it doesn't end there. While transforming, the boss releases a huge demonic aura and shifts into its final form. It also summons its minions, and a pack of monster lions appears beside it. From a safe distance, the Nile hunters keep watching, amazed that only 2 people pushed the Catalan this far. Still, something feels off. Inev knows that when a gate boss freezes like this, hunters usually rush in and deal as much damage as they can. So why did the underdog stop? Back to Lee Jong-young. He tells Incheon they pulled it off, and right on cue, the protagonist arrives. Hercules crashes into the arena, with George right behind him. But the second they appear, one of the lion minions jumps at Hercules. He destroys it with one punch, then turns toward Lee Jong-young. Without knowing, Lee Jong-young has no plan to fight him yet. Instead, Lee Jong-young immediately runs, taking Incheon with him. That only makes Hercules even madder, so he charges after them, but the Catalan won't let him go. It starts chasing Hercules too. Actually, both Hercules and the boss are chasing the Korean hunters, making Incheon doubt Lee Jong-young's plan. He explains it's because they were the ones hurting the boss, so its aggro is locked on them, not Demetrius. Still, the beast will wear itself out soon because it's burning through demonic energy nonstop. If they stall long enough, it'll weaken and collapse. The real problem is how to keep that up. Confused, Incheon asks Lee Jong-young, but he already has another idea. While running, he leads Hercules and the boss straight toward a group of stunned hunters. Because of that, the boss dives into their ranks, dragging them into the fight and injuring them as collateral. Seeing the boss swallowed by demonic power and acting on pure instinct, the hunters realize they have no choice but to fight back if they want to live. Even Hercules joins the slaughter, laughing like a madman. In the end, Lee Jong-young's plan works. After starting the chaos, they slip away from the battlefield and hide near a cliff. But they can't avoid this forever, so Lee Jong-young uses his final backup plan. He saved his AC for this moment and summons a glass vial, then coats his spear with the liquid inside. Seeing that, Incheon asks what he's doing. Lee Jong-young says this is his secret weapon for Hercules. The vial contains the red magic crystal Park Yu-jin prepared earlier. As he spreads it over Muspel's spear, the weapon starts to shine. A message appears. Its stats have been boosted for a short time. And more than that, the Dragon Bloodstone is now covered by the red magic stone. Even Lee Jong-young doesn't know what this will cause, but once again, the plan works. Muspel's spear begins giving off a dangerous glow. Yoon Incheon says it looks insanely risky. But this is their only chance to beat Hercules, so Lee Jong-young takes aim. Meanwhile, in the middle of the fight, the monster fires a powerful blast, but Hercules isn't going down that easily. He answers with Roar of the Beast of Prey, and his attack crushes the Catellion's blast and even wounds the boss. Seeing that, Lee Jong-young realizes this is the perfect moment. Hercules is open. At the same time, Hercules boasts about the power of his fists and techniques. But while taunting the monster, he senses something flying at him. He notices the danger too late. The spear is already rushing in at full speed, but George saves him at the last second, knocking it away with his sword. He notes the spear looked different than usual, and that the force behind it could rival Hercules' Roar of the Beast of Prey. Hercules refuses to admit that. To him, Lee Jong-young is no longer a worthy rival, just an annoying insect. So he tells George to handle the fly. He says he'll hunt the real beast instead. Then he leaves George behind and goes after the boss. The second he does, George laughs, turns with a fierce aura around him, and says he's been underestimated. Waiting for him is In Chang, ready to fight. She swings first, but George dodges. He answers with a flurry of attacks, but In Chang blocks or avoids everyone while backing away. Then she gathers ki into her sword for a full power strike. George sees that and thinks she's still an amateur. Certain this is his chance to finish it, he declares it's over. But he's wrong. Out of nowhere, Yunmu appears and fires a blast at George. Caught off guard by the flying skull, George barely dodges, and that leaves him open for In Chang's attack. She finally brings her strike down, but when the dust clears, George steps out almost untouched and asks if it ran away. Staying calm, he wonders why the skull aimed at the ground instead of going for a killing blow. Then he notices the sticky, sweet-smelling stuff it fired out. As he checks the thick liquid, he realizes what In Chang and Yunmu did. They covered him in Monster Pheromone, a potion that attracts mobs. Seconds later, he's surrounded by monsters. The hunter Odysseus definitely didn't expect that. Who would have thought Yunmu would use a mobbing potion like this? Even George admits it got him. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young has problems of his own. From the sidelines, he watches the brutal fight between Hercules and the Cattellion. To him, it looks like Hercules is taking on the high-rank boss alone on even terms. And this is the boss's second stage, with demonic energy at full power. Lee Jong-young can't help wondering if anyone can really fight a monster in that state. But Hercules is doing it right in front of him, leaving him to wonder just how insane Hercules' stats really are. Then In Chang appears behind him, showing up right on time. That means their plan worked, and Odysseus is tied down for now. In Chang confirms it and says Yeonmu helped a lot. Still, Lee Jong-young reminds her they need to end this before Odysseus gets back or their odds will drop. She agrees. Meanwhile, Hercules looks like he's enjoying himself against the high-rank boss. As his bloodlust grows, he gets deeper into the fight. Then his eyes suddenly change, and that is exactly what Lee Jong-young was waiting for. Taking it as his signal, he says Hercules may look fine now, but this will break his mind and finally bring down Berserker Hercules. He tells In Chang to face the Cattellion like they planned while he goes after Demetrius alone. He doesn't need to beat Hercules, just land one clean hit while escaping. With that, he sends her off. In the arena, Hercules punches the Cattellion and sends it flying. He mocks the monster, asking if that's all it has. Then he rushes after it, but as he closes in, he spots a flash of fire. At the same time, In Chang and Lee Jong-young move to the next step, and thanks to his sharp instincts, he stops just before a wall of flames rises in front of him. Then Lee Jong-young steps out and challenges Hercules, asking him to play with him too. Hercules is a little annoyed since the Cattellion was finally making things fun, but he's still happy to switch targets and fight the underdog instead. He starts powering up, and Lee Jong-young is pleased to see his plan is working. He pours Kai into his shield, but Hercules calls it pointless. He says he'll show Lee Jong-young how foolish this choice is, then powers up again and readies his technique. Nearby, Inev watches nervously. Even he says trying to stop Hercules is hopeless. No matter how much mana Lee Jong-young puts into his shield, it won't compare to Hercules' attack. Still, Hercules charges in. In an instant, he closes the gap and slams a punch into the shield. The shield breaks apart, but to his surprise, Lee Jong-young is gone. Hercules is confused for a second, then senses danger and turns. Lee Jong-young is above him. With his spear aimed down, Lee Jong-young drives it into Hercules' shoulder with all his strength and lands the hit. But Hercules also strikes back, sending Lee Jong-young flying. Hercules then starts walking toward him, now understanding the trick. But instead of angering him, it only makes him more excited. He tells Lee Jong-young to get up and keep entertaining him. Lee Jong-young blocks the next hit, though some damage still gets through, and he stumbles back. Even so, his plan is already in motion. He asks Demetrius if he's okay, but Hercules takes it as smug trash talk and mind games. To him, the wound is just a scratch that should heal soon. But that's not what happens. His body suddenly starts cramping, and a black liquid spills from the wound. Hercules thinks it might be poison, but it isn't. This wasn't some cheap trick. Lee Jong-young had coated the spear with the red crystal that created an ogre mage. That crystal has two names in the future: Liberation and Madness, the very thing Hercules is now suffering from. Lee Jong-young explains that this red ore could let an ordinary ogre surpass even a boss monster. It was the kind of power humanity wanted badly. Animals exposed to it became monsters, and monsters grew to boss-level strength. That's why the red ore was called Liberation. Because of its power, scientists started studying it, and before long, hunters were used as test subjects too. That's when the real horror began. The crystal could massively boost a hunter's power, but it also drove them completely insane. It pulled out the madness inside them and made them lose themselves. That is why it earned another name, Madness. And soon, its use was banned because of the terrible results. After taking in the mix of dragon bloodstone and red crystal, Hercules releases so much magic power that even Lee Jong-young starts shaking, saying it feels like the whole Catalian mountain gate is trembling. Then he hears a voice behind him asking what he has done. It's George, who somehow made it through the lion horde. He's badly hurt and torn up, but still storms in, furious at Lee Jong-young for doing something so awful. Lee Jong-young warns that if he comes closer, he'll die, but George doesn't care. He throws himself forward to help his friend, but Lee Jong-young cuts him off at the last second, saying history will repeat if he lets George pass. According to the Demon King's autobiography, this is exactly how Odysseus dies in the future. Hercules loses himself to bloodlust, and George rushes in trying to save him, only to be killed by his own comrade. So the two hunters clash head-on. Desperate to save his partner, Odysseus tells Lee Jong-young to move. He says it hasn't been long since Hercules went mad, so he should still be able to bring him back. But Lee Jong-young says that's impossible, even for Odysseus, and he won't let him try. Odysseus keeps attacking, trying to force his way past, but he can't. Then all of a sudden, Lee Jong-young says he has a plan. That catches Odysseus off guard, and he steps back to hear him out. He still doesn't trust Lee Jong-young, but he's desperate to save his friend, so he asks what the plan is. Lee Jong-young says he only needs 5 minutes. They just have to hold Demetrius off that long. To Odysseus, that sounds impossible. How could anyone stop a crazed Demetrius for 5 full minutes? But before he can argue more, Demetrius comes flying in to attack. Seeing that, Lee Jong-young calls out for Incheon and jumps aside, with Odysseus moving too. In their place, the Catalian charges in and clashes with Demetrius. Lee Jong-young is glad Incheon did her part perfectly. He tells Odysseus that even the Catalian is on their side now, so surviving 5 minutes should be possible. Odysseus still isn't fully convinced, but he has no better option, so he follows Lee Jong-young's lead. Now with another strong fighter on their side, Lee Jong-young gets fired up. He explains that future research showed the red crystal's effects last only about 5 minutes. If they can endure until then, Demetrius will return to normal. If that happens, the battle is over, and Lee Jong-young wins. Elsewhere, the hunters cleaning up the Catalian's minions finally finish off the weaker monsters when they suddenly feel a crushing demonic energy. Alarmed, they look around and realize it isn't coming from the Catalian's second phase, it's coming from Hercules. That alone leaves them shaking. Back on the front line, Hercules starts attacking anything that moves, including his own partner, George. But George isn't weak, and he fights back, using his skills to deflect the attack. Still, against a monster like Demetrius, his efforts mean little. Hercules crushes Odysseus' attack with one punch, but he forgot Odysseus isn't fighting alone. Incheon appears from nowhere and joins in with a flurry of slashes, but they do no real damage. The other hunters can hardly believe what they're seeing. Most decide they're better off running before they get dragged into a fight like this and die for nothing. Even the Nihil soldiers on the cliff are stunned by the scene. A female hunter asks Inev what they should do next, but his mind is on something else. The power inside Hercules feels similar to the red aura their comrade Seth carried. So Inev tells his partner to get ready. They're joining the fight too. And so Lee Jong-yang, Incheon, George, and the Catalian Mountain Gate boss all attack together to bring Hercules down. Even then, Hercules overpowers all of them by himself. First, he crushes the Catalian boss with brutal punches and drops it fast. Then he turns to Incheon, who tries her best to slow him down, but it doesn't work. He sends her flying with a quick kick, even though she softens some of it with her greatsword. Next up is Odysseus, who dives in from above and charges at his friend, yelling for him to pull himself together. But Demetrius has gone mad and won't listen. Odysseus still charges in with his sword. Hercules doesn't try to dodge or block. Instead, he chooses the craziest option. He meets the blade with his bare fists. His fists slam right into the sword, and somehow he takes almost no damage. Instead, the impact sends a huge shockwave through the blade and into George, badly injuring him. Even the sword gets damaged, and Hercules still isn't done. He knocks George into the air, charges up, then fires off another deadly move, Savage Beast's Roar, before rushing in at insane speed with a flaming punch. At the last second, Lee Jong-yoon appears and pulls George out of the way. Even while hurt, George asks how much longer they need to hold on. When will the 5 minutes end? That makes Lee Jong-yoon think back. The future experiment showed that 5 minutes was the limit for an incomplete red core. So why isn't Hercules slowing down? He doesn't get time to figure it out. Hercules rushes him again and gets ready to strike, but a blast of water suddenly sends him flying. It came from Inev. The Nile hunters arrive too, saying they'll support Lee Jong-yoon and the others from the rear. That gives Lee Jong-yoon enough time to check on his fallen teammate. In-chang tries to act tough, but she's clearly near her limit. Seeing that, Lee Jong-yoon blames himself for being too weak. He thinks he could win if he just had a little more power. And then, in the worst way possible, that wish seems to come true. A message appears. The blood swallowed by the dragon's bloodstone has reversed its flow. Regeneration minus 0.3. That message is clearly bad news. Almost at once, Lee Jong-yoon starts coughing up blood. In-chang asks if he's okay, but more messages keep appearing. The blood swallowed by the dragon's bloodstone has reversed its flow. Then a huge surge of power tears through Lee Jong-yoon's body. His eyes glow blood red, just like Hercules's. He screams in pain, and the pressure alone creates a massive shockwave. The Nile hunters realize he's entered the same state Demetrius is in, and it gets worse. Another message appears. Regeneration minus 2. That is when Lee Jong-un finally loses himself. He steps out through fire looking completely monstrous. Even now, the question of why Hercules hasn't changed back keeps spinning in his head. Then he sees Hercules charging at him, and this time he notices tiny points all over his body. He realizes it's a mana stream, understands it, and tries to use it himself. By pushing that stream into his feet, he launches himself forward to attack. But on the way, the Catalian boss gets back up and tries to sneak in and devour him. It doesn't work. In this powered-up state, Lee Jong-un handles the weakened boss with ease and cuts it in half, only getting a pure water of the forest. He also levels up, and his stats rise a little. But this power comes with a cost. The Dragon Bloodstone has blocked the messages from Lee Jong-un's sponsor. Worse, the demonic energy inside him is wrecking his body. He's close to breaking down, and if he wants to live, he needs to release that demonic energy. But Lee Jong-un isn't in any state to make smart choices. He screams again, and flames burst around him. Those flames keep spreading like they're about to swallow the entire Catalian mountain gate. On the other side, the hunters trying to escape freeze when Lee Jong-un's flames reach them. One hunter says the fire feels like it's draining the magic power from his body. As they grow weaker by the second, panic spreads. They have no idea what is happening inside this gate. Back at the front, the crazed Hercules and insane Lee Jong-un keep fighting. For some reason, both of them are shirtless. Even with their bodies falling apart, neither stops. Lee Jong-un rushes in hard, Hercules answers with a counter, and the two keep smashing into each other. Then they both decide to finish it here and unleash their strongest attacks at the same time. Their clash triggers a massive explosion that destroys the whole area. When the dust settles, both silhouettes appear, and somehow Lee Jong-un has stabbed Hercules and gained the upper hand. Then he blasts himself off Hercules with his flames and tears off his arm in the process. George loses it and screams, begging Hercules to come back to his senses and stop this fight. But Hercules doesn't even react to losing an arm. He simply grows it back almost right away. George explains that Demetrius pulled that off by burning through a huge amount of mana. If Demetrius can do that, then what can Lee Jong-un do? He looks over at the underdog and sees him healing too, even though his wounds are far worse than Demetrius's. Everyone watching is stunned. George realizes it must be because of the blue flame spread across the gate. There has to be no other reason. But the fight still isn't over. Even half-dead Hercules is ready for more, and he starts charging one of his strongest techniques, the roar of the beast of prey. George panics, noticing Hercules' arm still hasn't fully healed. Lee Jong-un decides the best move is to intercept, so he throws himself forward using the mana stream skill. Hercules fires, and just like George feared, his arm is completely destroyed. But Lee Jong-un easily knocks the attack aside with his spear. Everyone watching falls silent. No way, the underdog actually won. Hercules drops to his knees looking lifeless, but Lee Jong-un doesn't care. He moves in to cut off Hercules' head. George rushes to stop him, but it's too late. Lee Jong-un's will is already gone. Because of the Dragon Bloodstone and the Red Crystal, all he has left are the instincts to survive and to kill. But fate interrupts. A bolt of blue lightning suddenly drops from the sky. Right as Lee Jong-un swings to finish it, a human figure appears in front of Hercules and blocks the strike with a barrier. Then the stranger orders the crazed Lee Jong-un to kneel. The moment she speaks, his body moves on its own, and he drops to his knees before her. Seeing this, In Chang and the Nile hunters freeze, while George steps forward, bows, and greets her, Athena. Athena, though, is clearly not pleased. She says this whole situation is a mess, and because of her subordinates, she now owes Zeus. Before anything else, she asks who the man kneeling before her is. A hunter who beat Hercules, the strongest hunter, has caught her interest. George answers that this man is the underdog. Athena studies Lee Jong-un closely. She starts wondering if he's the one who caused all the changes in this gate. After all, Catalian Mountain was covered in the blue flames he made, flames that drain magic from living beings. Even her barriers couldn't fully stop his attack. Until now, Athena thought Lee Jong-un only got sent to Asgard as a rookie because he was lucky, but this battle proves otherwise. This rookie overpowered Hercules alone. That leaves her with one conclusion: he's dangerous, so he has to die here. And with that, Athena summons her weapon and aims it at Lee Jong-un. Athena has Lee Jong-un completely helpless under her command. But right before she strikes, a voice tells her to stop. A man steps out behind her, Seong-gu, also known as Heimdall. Athena demands to know why he's here, but Seong-gu throws the same question back at her. She figures he followed her lightning and came after her. Seong-gu walks straight to Lee Jong-un and stands in front of him, shielding him. That only makes Athena angrier. She yells for him to move, saying Lee Jong-un has to die now before he becomes a bigger threat. Seong-gu disagrees and warns that if she kills his friend, he'll treat it as a declaration of war between Olympus and Asgard. Athena is furious and glares at him. She asks if Lee Jong-un really matters that much to him, saying she thought nothing in the world did. Seong-gu doesn't answer. Then Iniv steps forward and tries to get Athena's attention, introducing himself as part of Nihil. But Athena already knows who he is. Grateful that she recognizes him, he asks her, on Nihil's behalf, to spare the underdog and stop trying to kill him. He shows her the Osiris Eye, making it clear that he is Nihil's current representative and pressing her to accept. Athena is left speechless, but for now she has no choice except to back down. And with that, the clash ends, for the moment. Soon the gate collapses and the hunters escape. While Lee Jong-un is still unconscious, his sponsor starts sending messages again. A Sky of the Apocalypse grants him magic resistance and purification. He also gets the skill Mana Stream, along with the shocking achievement, one who exploits the way on his own. After some time passes in a huge manner, Incheon sits in a chair looking down when suddenly she notices movement beside her. Lee Jong-yoon is finally opening his eyes after being unconscious for days. Seeing him awake, Incheon bursts into tears. Lee Jong-yoon tries to speak, but no sound comes out. His body is clearly wrecked, so Incheon runs to get someone. After she leaves for the doctor, Lee Jong-yoon notices a shield and 2 swords above the door. He recognizes it as the symbol of the Round Table. Not every strong hunter built an underground group. Some joined together in a secret guild with noble goals. The Round Table was one of them. Still, he says they never truly helped. They stayed hidden, protecting themselves even when England was close to collapse. For all their power and influence, they did nothing to change things. Still, his first concern is his own condition. Once he checks himself, he realizes just how bad it is. His whole body aches, he can't speak, and his legs barely move. Even Yoon-moo is asleep right now, though there doesn't seem to be any urgent need for him. Lee Jong-yoon opens his status window and sees he's past level 50. Some stats have dropped, which he assumes is because of the red crystal. Still, he's gained many powerful skills that rival his unique ability. He thanks his sponsor and says he'll keep seeking its favor. Later, he meets with Xiong-yu, who asks about his condition. Xiong-yu explains that Lee Jong-yoon was suffering from magical energy encroachment, a very rare case with no real cure. Still, he says there isn't much to worry about. Thanks to Lee Jong-yoon's sponsor and monostream, he should be able to push the demonic energy out safely. Xiong-yu tells him to focus on recovering and says the questioning about the incident can wait until he's healed. After that, he leaves and heads to the Den of the Lions, entering a meeting room where several top hunters are waiting, including Athena. Athena opens by saying Lee Jong-yoon showed power that is too dangerous and abnormal, and she wants a full investigation into it. But Xiong-yu refuses. He says there's no reason Asgard should hand over details about one of its members, and that Olympus should be the one explaining itself. Asgard had been promised victory in this round of the Great War, so it sent hunters based on that. But Olympus broke the agreement. If Hercules had been joining, Lee Jong-yoon would never have been sent. In that situation, Asgard's hunter was only doing his duty. So Xiong-yu demands an explanation from Olympus. Athena refuses to back down. She says Lee Jong-yoon's power is far too dangerous. His blue flames covered the whole gate and even drained energy from living beings. Because of that, she demands Asgard hand him over without resistance. She adds that if they refuse, Olympus is ready to go to war with Asgard. Xiong-yu barely reacts to the threat. He says Asgard already knows all this. It knows Lee Jong-yoon's flames can steal magical energy and are terrifying. And yes, it's a skill no one has ever seen before. But hasn't that always been true? Aren't hunters themselves dangerous beings? His words hit everyone in the room. That gives him room to press on, saying all of them are unknown existences that only appeared recently. Their powers are frightening to ordinary people too. So if Olympus talks about war over dangerous powers, then it must answer for showing contempt toward other hunters. That pushes Athena over the edge. She snaps that everything is his fault, blaming Xiong-yu for interfering. She says dealing with the legend Heimdall always irritates her and ruins her focus. Xiong-yu tries to smooth things over between them, but Athena is too angry to listen and says she hopes they never meet again after this. That stings Xiong-yu, but it also ends the dispute. Later that day, back in his room, Lee Jong-yoon uses monostream to read the flow of mana and turn it to his advantage. As he meditates, he tries to copy the mana flow Demetrius used in their fight inside the Catalian Gate. Demetrius had shown him how to boost strength by pulling magic through the body, and the same idea can be used for defense. That's the core of his new skill, but first he needs it to heal. Once he starts getting the hang of it, his recovery speeds up. Then suddenly he coughs up a pool of blood. He realizes these are impurities that spread through his body from the dragon bloodstone. Luckily, those come out easily. Now he just needs to heal the damaged spots with mana stream. But that turns out to be harder because he senses something inside him blocking the flow of mana. When he feels around, he realizes a black marble in his neck is causing it. So Lee Jong-yoon quickly understands this method won't work for now, and instead he adjusts the flow as best he can. The next day at the manor's training ground, In-chang and George are sparring. George keeps driving her back and tells her she's too slow. That makes In-chang snap and finally go all out. She throws a flurry of attacks to distract him and quickly closes the distance. But when she swings again, George dodges easily. He barely seems serious and keeps giving her advice while they fight. He explains that fighting humans is completely different from fighting monsters, but In-chang can't keep up with his long lectures. Even so, she keeps pressing forward, and so does George. Soon he finds an opening and nearly catches her, but stops with his blade right by her face. Feeling the cold steel, she instinctively steps back. George asks if they should call it a day, but In-chang stays silent. Deep down, she feels useless. She couldn't help at Catalian Mountain, and even her sponsor seemed disappointed. She failed to protect her comrade, and the sponsor looked at her with pity. She thought she and Lee Jong-yoon had started at the same level, but now he's far ahead, while she feels like she's gone nowhere and isn't worthy of standing beside him. She blames herself, thinking Lee Jong-yoon almost died because she was too weak. So while George wipes away his sweat, In-chang comes up behind him and asks for one more match. Seeing her expression, George is reminded of his old self, the look of someone who couldn't protect another person and still regrets it. He knows that if she keeps that fire, she'll grow a lot stronger, so he agrees to spar again. Meanwhile, In-chang steels herself and vows, "I'll get stronger too." After training ends, George changes and goes to see Hercules. There, his friend is covered in IVs and medicine. Still, George starts talking, saying he noticed In-chang's potential back at the Catalam Gate, and she really is the real deal. She gets stronger every time they cross swords, just like George used to. He also says Demetrius would have liked seeing her improve. Then he mentions that the underdog is awake too, and tells Hercules to wake up soon because seeing him stuck in bed just doesn't fit him. But Hercules still doesn't respond. Elsewhere, after the meeting, Seonggu goes to see Lee Jong-yeon, who is recovering much faster than expected. He is already stretching and asks if Seonggu came for something. The bald man is glad to see him moving again and says he's full of surprises. Then Seonggu asks what he knows about lightning, and Lee Jong-yeon answers that it is Olympus's divine item and Zeus's authority. Seonggu says that's right. He adds that very few powers in this world can match Zeus's lightning. These abilities are rare and heavily studied. So Lee Jong-yeon points out that Bifrost, Seonggu's divine item, is on that same level. That shocks Seonggu, and he demands to know how he knows that. Before he can finish, Lee Jong-yeon cuts in, saying he has something important to discuss. Seonggu agrees, but not here. So he tells Lee Jong-yeon to follow him and brings him somewhere special. They use a portal gate and arrive at a huge mansion. Even Lee Jong-yeon is impressed, and Seonggu reveals this is his domain, Bifrost. The mood shifts the moment they arrive. Still confused by what he heard, Seonggu asks, "Are you a prophet?" Then he starts to understand, and Lee Jong-yeon says it's something like that. He says he needs to tell Seonggu about a book he once read, a book about Handel and his friend, and about the Demon King. Hearing that, Seonggu gets chills. Then Lee Jong-yeon starts explaining his story and how he was sent here from the past. But Seonggu can't accept it. "You're saying I killed you?" he asks. Lee Jong-yeon says that's not quite it. In the future, Seonggu already knew this would happen. Then a message appears, telling Seonggu it isn't a lie. On top of that, Lee Jong-yeon even knows he and Athena were once together. Seonggu had already felt something strange, so he has no choice but to believe this crazy story. Still, there are problems. The book wasn't complete, and it only covered the start. Everything after that is what Lee Jong-yeon figured out himself. What he knows is only part of the full truth, and much of Seonggu's story was missing too. Another message from his sponsor says it's true. So after hearing him out, Seonggu asks what Lee Jong-yeon wants, and learns that his friend wants to change the hellish future he lived through, swearing many things will be different this time. But now no message appears to confirm whether that is true. It turns out Bifrost doesn't judge simple truth or lies. Instead, it only reacts when someone means to harm its hunter, Seonggu. And that matters because Lee Jong-yeon still hasn't told him everything. He decides to keep some things hidden, saying changing the future isn't fully his role. With that, their talk ends. Later that night, In Hyuk from the Nile sneaks into the Roundtable Council to see Lee Jong-yeon. He's glad the news about him waking up was true. There, Lee Jong-yeon asks why he's here, since this place is heavily guarded. In Hyuk apologizes for barging in and says he risked a lot to meet the underdog and ask for a favor. Lee Jong-yeon remembers that In Hyuk was the one who argued for his protection, but as far as he knows, their interests shouldn't overlap. Still, he lets him speak. Then In Hyuk bows and humbly asks him to come to the Nile. This catches Lee Jong-yeon off guard. Why is the Nile's leader kneeling to him? To him, their meeting was just chance, so this makes no sense. But before he can press further, their private talk is cut short when a guard tracks In Hyuk down. Not wanting to get caught, In Hyuk quickly runs off, shouting that it's about the red ore. This leaves Lee Jong-yeon deep in thought. There, he guesses In Hyuk wants to discuss the madness the red crystal causes in its users. He wonders if Egypt has already found it, though as far as he knows, hunters weren't supposed to know about it yet. Then, after thinking more, he realizes Nile hunters joined the fight against Hercules right after they saw him transform. Suddenly, Inchin rushes into Lee Jong-yeon's room and asks if he's alright. She thought the intruder came to kill him, but Lee Jong-yeon says it's nothing to worry about, for now. That throws Inchin off, but he goes on, saying he's just climbed one cliff and feels an even bigger one is coming. Eventually, the roundtable conference ends. The result was obvious. Olympus had broken the agreement, so it had to take responsibility for the incident and for nearly starting a war between two underground factions. Athena's move was a bad one. At last, the Korean hunters are cleared to return home. But out of nowhere, someone calls out to Lee Jong-yeon. Hearing the voice, Inchin tenses up at once. It is George. She draws her weapon, tells Lee Jong-yeon to stay back, and asks George what he wants. Meanwhile, George stands on the stairs, staring them down. His face is full of mixed emotions, and the tension keeps rising. Inchin's hostility is obvious, so Lee Jong-yeon tells her to calm down. He notes that George may look aggressive, but he seems to want to talk. At Lee Jong-yeon's urging, Inchin reluctantly lowers her guard. Lee Jong-yeon walks up to George, who still looks unhappy. George can't ignore the truth. Lee Jong-yeon is awake and standing while Demetrius is still unconscious. That means Lee Jong-yeon won. George admits it and thanks him for what he learned from that fight, but he follows it with a warning. Next time, he won't lose. In response, Lee Jong-yeon stays calm and answers with his usual confidence. He says he doesn't dwell on the past. That only annoys George more, and he starts throwing insults at Lee Jong-yeon. When that gets no reaction, George makes his real point. He tells Lee Jong-yeon to pass a message to Inchin. She has far more potential than she realizes and can become much stronger. He also sees that she wants to build a name for herself, but fame isn't enough. Top hunters need to truly understand their sponsors. He tells her to seriously think about who her sponsor is, though it's clear Inchin doesn't fully get what he means. Even Lee Jong-yeon tries to lighten the mood, joking that Inchin should become the prince on the white horse, a playful nod to her sponsor's name. She clearly doesn't like that. As George turns to leave and gives the Korean hunters his back, just as he starts walking off, Lee Jong-yeon calls after him. He says Hercules will come back even stronger than before and will rise again. George is caught off guard, but Lee Jong-yeon goes on, saying he hopes that if they meet again, they will fight on the same side instead of against each other. With that, the Korean hunters leave, and George is left thinking over the meeting. He is clearly frustrated and unsure. Clenching his fist, he thinks about Demetrius's dangerous condition. After being taken back to Olympus because of the injuries from his fight with Lee Jong-yeon, Demetrius remains in critical care, and that uncertain future weighs heavily on George. The hunter world keeps shifting. Later that day, Lee Jong-yeon sat alone at the Roundtable Manor, deep in thought. He kept tossing stones into the moat until a voice suddenly broke the silence. How sneaky. Startled, Li Zhongyang looked up, and a woman appeared right in front of him as if out of nowhere. Now in human form, she scolded him for using such a strange way to call her out. She said whoever taught him that method had terrible manners. Li Zhongyang didn't care much. He was just glad to see her, and called her by name, Merlin. Merlin was surprised he knew who she was, and noted he clearly wasn't ordinary. Li Zhongyang then said she was the real power behind the Round Table Council. Curious, Merlin asked who he was. Li Zhongyang confidently said there was no way she didn't already know. That annoyed Merlin, and she demanded to know why he came to provoke her. Especially after beating Hercules, the hunter everyone thought stood above the rest. As they kept talking, Merlin changed forms again, this time into a young boy, catching Li Zhongyang off guard. He couldn't hide his disappointment. Merlin warned that if he knew so much, then he should also know no one from the Round Table goes easy on people who irritate them. The sudden change left Li Zhongyang confused, but he only smiled, his eyes glowing red, and said he knew where Excalibur was. That instantly got Merlin's attention. Later, after finishing with Merlin, Li Zhongyang met In Chang at the airport. She quickly noticed he looked different, more dressed up than usual, and the necklace around his neck made her even more suspicious. Curious and a little worried, she pressed him for answers. Li Zhongyang simply said he had gone to meet someone special. That only made In Chang more suspicious, especially with how he was dressed. She asked if he had gone to see another woman again. "What were you doing?" Caught off guard, Li Zhongyang hesitated, and In Chang took that as guilt. She looked clearly disappointed, thinking he'd been meeting other women while they were apart. That left Li Zhongyang struggling to explain his meeting with Merlin. Luckily, Xianggu showed up and asked if they were ready to leave. Not knowing what he had interrupted, Li Zhongyang quickly changed the subject and asked if everything on his side was done. Xianggu said yes, though he also noticed Li Zhongyang seemed unusually happy. It was a big change from his normal serious attitude. With all three together, they headed for the plane. But on the way, a man in a suit called out to them from behind. Li Zhongyang turned, and the stranger addressed him directly. He said Merlin had sent him and that she would be waiting for Li Zhongyang. He also reminded him to bring the promised price for the necklace. Then the man left as suddenly as he came. After that, Xianggu asked how Li Zhongyang even knew Merlin. Li Zhongyang answered plainly, they made a deal. He pointed to the necklace, making Xianggu even more curious. When asked if it was Merlin's, Li Zhongyang said yes, and added that he nearly died getting it. In a flashback, Merlin angrily rushed at him and demanded he talk. Back in the present, Li Zhongyang said he really needed that necklace, so he pushed himself a little too hard. Xianggu just sighed and smiled. Soon after, the Korean hunters boarded their flight home. They even had the whole plane to themselves. While in the air, In Chang brought up something still bothering her. George. Even though his partner had been beaten badly and was still unconscious, George still trained her and gave her useful advice. She admitted that if things were reversed, she would have hated him. But George had still helped her, didn't act openly hostile toward Li Zhongyang. To her, that made no sense. Li Zhongyang had a simple intuition. He guessed George already knew Li Zhongyang never meant to destroy Hercules. As they talked, the plane finally approached Korea. When they arrived, they were met by a flood of cameras and reporters, all there for the hunter who defeated Hercules, Li Zhongyang, the underdog. The cheers caught him completely off guard. Xianggu explained that everyone already knew what happened. They just heard Hercules challenged him and got crushed. He told Li Zhongyang to greet the crowd, but Li Zhongyang, still stunned, asked why nobody warned him. Xianggu just said it was a surprise and asked if fame wasn't what he wanted. So Li Zhongyang smiled and started playing to the crowd, waving at the cameras while reporters eagerly snapped photos. Just like that, a new hero was born in the public eye. News of his victory over Hercules spread fast. As the Age of Heroes began, the hunter getting the most attention was the underdog himself. Later that night, Li Zhongyang went with In Chang to their usual abandoned factory. She asked what he planned to do next. The list was long. He needed to repair his weapons. He also had to remove the black marble blocking his mana, wake his sleeping avatar Yunmu, and handle some business in the Nile. But first, he wanted to move out of the association dorm. Owning a house had been one of his dreams since he was little. In Chang found that a bit odd, but agreed, and then said she had something important too. For now, she wouldn't be working with him anymore. She planned to move on her own. That surprised Li Zhongyang, but she explained that after hearing George's words, there was something she wanted to do by herself. Then she left the factory, and Li Zhongyang watched her go, glad she had finally found her own direction. He smiled, saying In Chang would soon become much stronger. But that happy moment ended with a phone call. It was from the association. President Zhang Hyojin, also known as Odin, wanted to see him, and an escort would arrive tomorrow morning. The call ended, and so did his smile. He muttered that he'd almost forgotten the most important thing, Odin. Meanwhile, back at Olympus, George ran through headquarters in a panic. When he arrived, he saw Hercules, awake and completely fine. George feared how Hercules would take his first defeat, but he seemed strangely calm. George could tell something had changed. Before, Hercules always carried a kind of restless aggression, but now he looked almost peaceful. So George asked what happened. Hercules said Li Zhongyang never meant to be their enemy in the first place. Then George saw Hercules' eyes shift like they did during his madness and panicked. But Hercules told him to relax. There was nothing to fear. He said he now had complete control over that madness and could even use its power. It felt like Li Zhongyang had given him a gift. Hearing that, George remembered Li Zhongyang's last words, that Hercules would rise again, stronger than before. George finally. Sometime later, at an Obra gate, In Chang was raiding alone. Many Obra lay dead around her. She was still being pushed back by a powerful enemy. Even so, she steadied herself and took her stance again. She's exhausted, but the ogre mage has to be at its limit too. This is the turning point. Then the ogre suddenly throws a heavy swing. In Chang barely avoids it and fires back with a shallow cut. But she's not done. Using that opening, she leaps up and while shouting about saving the princess, drives her blade down with everything she has. The sword sinks into the ogre mage, but not all the way through. Even with a fatal wound, the monster lands one last punch as it falls, blasting In Chang away. Both are left near death, unable to move or finish the fight. They both end up sprawled on the ground, helpless and close to dying. At that moment, In-chang realizes she's out of potions, and even if she had one, she can't move enough to use it. She wonders if this is how she dies. Then a full-body Yunmu appears in front of her and offers a potion. Seeing Yunmu, In-chang is stunned, but thanks to that, she survives. That ends the battle with In-chang as the winner, since she's the only one who can get back up. With that, messages start flooding in, and her sponsor, thrilled by what she showed, finally gives her the alias Siegfried. After a short rest, In-chang wakes up and finds even Lee Jong-young is there. She asks where they are, still confused, and Lee Jong-young plainly says they're still inside the gate. She says her body feels strangely better than before. What exactly did you do, you sketchy guy? Still, Lee Jong-young, while returning Yunmu to his bracelet, congratulates her on getting an alias, something she didn't even know happened. Meanwhile, she's more worried that her sword is missing. With this, Lee Jong-young says it didn't feel right to steal her kill, and reveals he left the ogre mage alive. So she goes to get her sword back, thanking him for letting her earn the alias herself. However, the moment she pulls the blade free, more messages pop up. For some reason, the ogre prince Siegfried, In-chang's sponsor, takes the ogre mage and turns it into a small, portable version of itself. While In-chang just stands there speechless, Lee Jong-young explains the ogre has become her avatar, just like Yunmu. He congratulates her again for becoming a real hero. Then her new avatar cheers. Hearing that, In-chang instantly starts thinking about how cute it is right after it almost killed her. She tries to think of a name, but can't come up with one. Then the ogre names itself, Gongs, which literally means princess. Watching all this, the prince on the white horse smiles in satisfaction, while the Sky of Apocalypse laughs at how weird this is. Anyway, Lee Jong-young is thrilled that his partner finally beat an ogre mage head-on all by herself. But In-chang asks the important question, how did he even get here? To that, Lee Jong-young says she usually clears a gate in a day or two, so he got worried when she still hadn't come back after 3 days. Hearing this, In-chang starts blushing, realizing how much he cares about her. But Lee Jong-young says he has something important to tell her. First, they need to deal with the gate boss that has come up behind them, looking ready to attack. Since In-chang cleared this gate on her own, he tells her to finish the boss too, and she agrees. So she starts drawing on the heroic power that comes with her alias. Mana overflows through her body as she prepares to take down the twin-headed ogre boss. A perfect target to test her new power, she thinks with a grin. And then she charges in for the first hit. She jumps high and gets ready for a downward slash. But before she can do it, her new avatar Gooms decides he wants in too. As a result, he rushes straight at the twin-headed ogre and rips off both heads with his bare hands. So yeah, he's absurdly strong. With that, the gate boss is dead, a little anticlimactically, and the gate is cleared. Seeing how strong Gooms is, Lee Jong-young blurts out that this princess doesn't need a prince, and In-chang just laughs awkwardly. The sponsors react again, while In-chang is still stunned by Gooms' strength. Still, she asks why Lee Jong-young was looking for her, and he says he's going to China and wants her to come with him. Hearing that, In-chang looks clearly shaken. It turns out that after they got back to Korea, Lee Jong-young was summoned by Odin. There wasn't much trouble. He passed Odin's test, and things ended well. Odin did press him about why his mental restriction didn't activate, but Lee Jong-young managed to fool him with the necklace Merlin gave him. Just like that, Lee Jong-young officially joined Asgard, the shadow group controlling things behind the scenes. And while that happened, Yunmu got stronger and fully restored his body. Even if he's still far below the Demon King's undead army, he can now make 7 more skeletons. On top of that, another skull appeared on the bracelet. Muspel's spear was also rebuilt and improved by Park Jae-yoon, but now it has the demonic spear trait, meaning it drains the user's life force. Now that he's handled a few things, Lee Jong-young has to go to China, the most dangerous place in the world. He explains that China couldn't stop the gates that suddenly opened, so now the whole country has become a land of monsters. Even so, that's where someone important is living, someone who can purify the black marble inside Lee Jong-young and fix his mana flow. But there's another reason too. China is also the center of the cataclysm coming for the world. This takes us to Korea's northern front line, where snow orcs are charging a group of hunters. Even after 3 straight hours of fighting, the humans still raise their weapons and prepare to survive one more wave. But what they don't know is that reinforcements are already here. Out of nowhere, a wall of flame rises in front of them, shielding the hunters and burning the snow orcs to ash. Seeing this, the hunters search for who did it, and find that Lee Jong-young and In-chang have come to help. Xionggu is with them too, and the 3 walk over together. Their leader thanks Lee Jong-young but worries about his plan to enter China. Lee Jong-young says he should be thanking them instead for fighting off monsters every day to protect Korea. Still, he says this is something he has to do, so he's going into China. The hunter's leader understands, but he's still uneasy. Even knowing Lee Jong-young beat Hercules, he warns that some kind of barrier surrounds China, and humans can't pass through it. But Lee Jong-young says he's already prepared a way in, and that way is Xionggu. Bald or not, he's useful. And so the 3 head to the edge of the barrier, where Xionggu finally understands how Lee Jong-young planned to travel without Bifrost. Seeing it, In-chang asks what this thing even is, and Lee Jong-young explains that all of China has turned into one giant gate. But that only confuses In-chang more, so he tells her she'll understand once she sees it herself. First though, Xionggu walks up to the barrier and tells them to stand back. He puts his hand on it and tells the 2 he won't be able to help them if something goes wrong in there. To make sure they're not stranded, he says he'll come back in a month. If they still can't get out, then he'll keep returning every month until they do. But Lee Jong-young tells him not to worry. If things go well inside, he should be able to come back out on his own. And Xionggu can only hope that's true. With that, he uses his power and opens the barrier, revealing the gate portal inside. And then In-chang and Lee Jong-young step through. On the other side, Xionggu watches Lee Jong-young's back and thinks about how hard his friend is working to save people, just like he said. So he'll do what he can to lighten that burden. As those thoughts fill his mind, Xionggu heads back. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-young and In-chang successfully enter Gate China, but the 2 quickly realize it's even colder than expected. To Lee Jong-young, that means things are moving faster than in his original timeline, but his thoughts are cut off by a commotion from approaching snow orcs. In-chang says she'll handle them first. She wants to warm up anyway. She rushes in and cuts them down, but Lee Jong-young quickly notices they aren't attacking on purpose. They're running from something. That something is a horde of ice trolls. Each one is about as strong as a B-rank hunter. Seeing them, Lee Jong-young warns In-chang to be careful and draws his weapon to face the beasts. The two jump in at once and tear through the ice trolls. They wipe them out in seconds, but In-chang is left confused. She didn't expect this place to be so extreme. She says there are way too many strong monsters here. On top of that, both of them are having trouble controlling their mana, and the monsters fight almost like humans. Lee Jong-young agrees. This means the gatification is moving faster than he thought. Still, his first goal is to move somewhere safer. So the two hunters keep traveling through the frozen wasteland. Before long, In-chang is freezing and asks how much farther they need to go. Lee Jong-young tells her that on foot, the trip would take about a month. That makes In-chang panic at the thought of walking that far. But he says they won't be doing that. Since they don't have time, they need to find something to ride. Their first stop is Heaven Lake on Baekdu Mountain. Then they keep moving, cutting down every monster that gets in their way. Later, they stop for camp and light a small fire. As In-chang and Gongs rest by the flames, Lee Jong-young goes out to scout. He comes back with 2 monster elks he somehow tamed in that short time. With them, the hunters cross the wasteland much faster and reach Baekdu Mountain without trouble. At the base, In-chang notes that they're climbing higher, but instead of getting colder, the area feels warmer. Also, they haven't seen any monsters on the way, which makes her suspicious. Lee Jong-young says there's no need to worry. The master of the mountain is protecting it. That only confuses her more. She asks if this master is a person, but Lee Jong-young says no, so she guesses it might be a monster or an animal, and he admits he's not sure what to call it. Still, they'll meet the master and its disciples soon. He tells In-chang to leave the elks behind. From here on, they need to break through a barrier. Back in Korea, Odin stands high above the city, looking down as he reflects on his past. When the agents first appeared, they brought chaos. During that time, Odin awakened a power greater than anyone else's and chose to seek Asgard, believing he could protect humanity. But after using that power to save people, he realized something. In a world this cruel, those who can't use magic fall behind. That twisted his thinking. He started believing the only people worth protecting were the hunters who survived. Then he thinks about Lee Jong-young going to China. China disappointed him. The freezing weather and endless monsters still weren't enough. But Lee Jong-young is different. He beat Hercules, the strongest hero, without even having a hero's power. Odin thinks Lee Jong-young may find what he couldn't. That thought makes him grin. He calls it interesting and licks his lips, then catches himself. He says he can't devour Lee Jong-young too fast. He wants to savor him slowly. To Odin, Lee Jong-young is the perfect meal. Back in frozen China, the hunters climb to the top of Baekdu Mountain. The summit feels completely different from the base. The sky is open and the weather is actually pleasant. As they take it In-chang asks if they've arrived, and Lee Jong-young says yes. This is Heaven Lake. But their talk is interrupted when a group of humans suddenly appears. Shocked to find people here, In-chang asks if Lee Jong-young knew anyone was living on the mountain, and he says he did. He also reveals that these people are survivors from old North Korea. Hearing that, the others are stunned and wonder how he knows about them. So Lee Jong-young tells them he came to meet the master of the mountain, but that only makes them more hostile. They see the two hunters as dangerous intruders, and everyone gets ready to fight. Lee Jong-young says he'd rather avoid bloodshed, but it's starting to look unavoidable. And both sides brace for battle, until a small girl suddenly appears. The child stops the men from attacking and says the Mountain King ordered her to bring the guests in. It turns out North Korea vanished long ago. After its failed nuclear experiments, the country became a wasteland even before the gates appeared. Because of that, many survivors fled toward China or South Korea. Back at the standoff, the Mountain King's order still doesn't calm the North Korean survivors. One of them asks Lee Jong-young how he knows about them and their leader, a question that's hard to answer. Still, the little girl cuts in again. She scolds the man, saying this is no way to treat the Mountain King Sangun's guests. If Lee Jong-young knows Sangun, of course he'd know about them too. But the men still don't trust him. They worry Lee Jong-young and In-chang might be working with their enemies, and they fear for Sangun. As the men argue over what to do, the girl turns to Lee Jong-young and asks him not to take it personally. Long ago, outsiders came here and tried to kill Sangun. The survivors beat them back, but ever since then, they've feared strangers. Lee Jong-young barely reacts and fixes the girl with a hard stare, which clearly scares her. Still, Sangun's order lets them into the survivors' town. The people watch from a distance, whispering about how long it's been since outsiders came, and guessing from their clothes that these visitors are from the world beyond the mountain. Lee Jong-young and In-chang stay alert. In-chang counts around 200 people, most of them hunters tough enough to survive this place. But as they near Sangun, someone blocks their path. This man steps in front of them and says they can't go any farther. He even levels his spear at the two intruders. Lee Jong-young isn't amused. He asks if this is how they treat guests when the Mountain King himself ordered them brought in. The man still refuses and takes a fighting stance, but the little girl rushes in and tries to stop him. It doesn't work. He insists they cannot meet Sangun and tells her she already knows Sangun's condition. Hearing that, Lee Jong-young realizes something happened to Sangun and powers up. He gets ready to fight, saying this man's opinion means nothing to him. Not backing down, the man tells Lee Jong-young to come at him. But right before the clash starts, the girl cries out. She declares that the mayor of Cheonjichuan orders them to stand down. A powerful aura rises around her as she demands an end to the conflict. The man bows and finally obeys. At last, she leads Lee Jong-young and In-chang to Sangun, and they enter a hidden cave. On the way, Lee Jong-young asks In-chang if she knows the Dangan myth, but she has no idea. So he explains that it's an old national myth about a deity named Hwaneng who came down and founded Korea, but she still doesn't get why he's bringing it up. He says the people here may know the story. At last, they reach the Mountain King's chamber and find a huge white tiger resting inside. Lee Jong-young steps forward and asks if this beast is Sangun. The tiger answers, confirming that he is Sangun, guardian of Baekdu Mountain, and asks why these outsiders have come. There, Incheon is shaken by the White Tiger's pressure, but Lee Jong-yeom reacts very differently. He says it's a mess and tells Sang-gun that his power to protect Baekdu Mountain will soon disappear. He reveals the beast is dying because Baekdu Mountain, the source of its magic, is slowly being destroyed. Hearing that, Sang-gun asks who this man even is. Lee Jong-yeom says he's someone who can help. He adds that he didn't come all this way to see the White Tiger. He came to meet the true owner of this mountain. But those words anger Sang-gun, who roars back. Lee Jong-yeom keeps going, saying that even if Sang-gun trapped the intruder, a dying cat can't be this mountain's real master. He tells Sang-gun to take him to the invader, and in return, he'll save both Sang-gun and Shin Ji-chan. Hearing that, Sang-gun glares at Lee Jong-yeom. Even after that disrespect, he still lets them leave. Outside, Incheon asks what Sang-gun really is, so her partner explains that Sang-gun isn't a monster. He's closer to the elk they rode earlier. In simple terms, animals changed after absorbing mana from the land because of the gates. Their minds and bodies evolved, but even that shouldn't be enough to let one speak like a human and hold so much power. Lee Jong-yeom says Sang-gun is more than a normal animal. Even before taking in mana, he was different. He was an alpha, bigger, stronger, and smarter than others of his kind. But even that isn't all. On top of that, Sang-gun is also a sponsored hunter, just like Lee Jong-yeom and Incheon, and he was hurt fighting the intruder in Baekdu Mountain. That leaves Incheon stunned, but Lee Jong-yeom says Sang-gun isn't their target. The intruder who wounded him is. After that, he and Incheon follow the lowly mayor to a remote spot in the mountains where she opens a gate with her power as a beam of light spreads into the sky. A gate appears and the Korean hunters jump in with Lee Jong-yeom dropping in awkwardly. As soon as they enter, the chief closes the gate and the light vanishes. With that, the lowly pray for their safe return. Meanwhile, a message tells Lee Jong-yeom and Incheon they entered an instant gate called Sealed Grounds. Inside, Incheon asks what an instant gate is, and Lee Jong-yeom says it's a gate inside another gate. According to him, since North Korea and China have basically become gates, every gate inside them counts as an instant gate. Incheon also points out that it was freezing outside, but in here it's burning hot. So Lee Jong-yeom tells her to think of it as training, a passive way to get stronger. All of a sudden, her sponsor gives her heat tolerance, but she's still not happy and says cold tolerance would have helped too. Anyway, now that they're inside, they find a bloody battlefield filled with dead monsters. Then Lee Jong-yeom gets a message saying his fire control has increased and he's leveled up. Just as he thought, a flame-heavy instant gate is perfect for leveling. But Incheon still has a question. She asks who that lowly really is and whether she made this sealed ground. Lee Jong-yeom says not exactly, she didn't create it, but she did trap the invader who hurt Sang-gun here. This place is the heart of Baekdu Mountain, where its power gathers, and it's also where Sang-gun's power comes from. He adds that the lowly mayor, An Mi-yo, can control the mountain's energy. Thanks to that power, she can pass its strength to Sang-gun. This only confuses Incheon more. She starts wondering if An Mi-yo is actually stronger than Sang-gun, but before she can finish, Lee Jong-yeom cuts in and says the invader is deeper inside these sealed grounds. He warns that their target is probably stronger than any boss they've fought before. But Incheon is still stuck on the name, saying An Mi-yo sounds really weird. Lee Jong-yeom tells her it's not a real name, it's a pseudonym. He reveals the lowly chief is a hero, which makes Incheon doubtful since that title is supposed to be rare, yet they keep meeting them. Even so, they move on and continue clearing the gate. Lee Jong-yeom remembers the book saying Shin Ji-chan was the best place to grow, and it was right. Places like this are hard to find, so he decides to raise his skills as much as he can before the future changes again. With that in mind, he goes on another rampage, cutting down every monster he sees one after another. Because of that, he levels up again and improves his flame control too. Watching him grow so fast, Incheon says Lee Jong-yeom's sponsor must be amazing to make him this strong this quickly. But Lee Jong-yeom says Incheon's sponsor is better, since his own growth comes from the player trait. That seems to annoy the Sky of Apocalypse, who gives him extra stat points right after. That sparks a short, oddly wholesome exchange between the two sponsors. In the meantime, back at Sang-gun's cave, the lowly chief tries to comfort the White Tiger and asks how he's been lately. Sang-gun says he's about the same. It turns out he's dying because he's using his power to protect Baekdu Mountain and Shin Ji-chan while also sealing the invader. Because of that, his life force keeps fading. Hearing this, the lowly chief says this crisis should have been hers to handle, yet Sang-gun was the one who got hurt. So she asks if she should take the power back, but Sang-gun tells her not to think that way. He says the Korean hunters are strong, but the invader is far stronger. But this makes the lowly ask why he sent them into the sealed ground anyway. Sang-gun explains that what he sensed from Lee Jong-yeom wasn't just his power, it was the force behind him, and that force felt similar to what he sensed behind the invader. Back in the instant gate, the hunters reach their destination, and In-chang is shocked to see the invader looks like a young, innocent boy. She voices her concern, but Lee Jong-yeom tells her not to be fooled. He says that's no human, and looks mean nothing. Then, as his warning sinks in, a wolf spirit appears behind the child. Its massive aura sends a chill through In-chang, and she wonders if they can really beat it. However, the child already looks eager to fight, showing clear hostility toward the people in his territory. Without hesitation, the demonic child lunges at Lee Jong-yeom and In-chang, trying to strike first. Before they can react, Gunjas jumps in, wanting in on the fight. Using his great strength, he blocks the incoming attack, but not completely. The force is so overwhelming that Gunjas gets slammed to the ground and pinned there. Seeing her avatar getting crushed, In-chang joins in too. She powers up, gathers mana into her weapon, and attacks, but her strike is easily dodged and knocked aside by the demonic child, who then sends In-chang flying with raw power. Even she can't understand what kind of strength this is. Without wasting a second, Lee Jong-yeom attacks from a blind spot. Using his weapon and authority, rule over fire, he swings down at the enemy, who still dodges it. The child immediately counters and starts unleashing a barrage. Seeing that, Lee Jong-yeom braces himself and parries every strike. As the battle continues, the Sky of Apocalypse watches his sponsored hunter in silence. Their clash sets off huge explosions that shake all of Baekdu Mountain, so hard that the hidden village starts to quake. As a result, the lowly chief orders the children and the weak to be evacuated to safety. The soldiers move out at once to carry out her command. Then Gal, the man who almost fought Lee Jong-yeom earlier, appears. He asks the chief if everything will really be okay. She tells him not to worry. Even if Lee Jong-yeon dies, she and Sanboon will step in and finish it. Then she orders Gal to help with the evacuation, and he obeys and rushes off. But what she said isn't true. She knows that if the Korean hunters lose, she and Sanboon won't be enough to stop the demon child alone. Because of that, the fate of their village now rests in the hands of someone they only met a few hours ago. So she prays again for the hunters to come back alive, not for their sake, but for her own. On the other side, inside the instant gate, Wang's is down, In-chong is clearly at her limit, and Lee Jong-yeon is being choked. Seeing how desperate things have become, In-chong screams to distract the child, but it does nothing. The child only cares about killing Lee Jong-yeon and keeps trying to get a better grip on his. Meanwhile, Lee Jong-yeon struggles to stay alive, but he starts losing strength. Claws get closer. At this point, he can barely do anything. Suddenly, thought flashes. He remembers learning before the battle. Magic growth had even after Mana Stream is still only level. His authority does still. They're in the middle of this. Jong-yeon starts pushing. Finally breaks free. Shocking those. He realizes Mana Stream activates. System messages appear, showing he gained this skill without help from his sponsor, and his stats rise again because of it. In-chong can only stare in shock. Lee Jong-yeon compresses his mana so hard that space around him starts warping. Once he's ready, he throws his spear at the child, who charges in to meet it head-on. Their strongest moves collide, causing a huge blast, and when it clears, the demon child comes out badly torn up. That pushes Lee Jong-yeon's authority to level 10, and he earns the title Fire Monarch. But before the dust even settles, the child's wolf spirit appears inside the sea of flames, glaring down at Lee Jong-yeon. In-chong watches in suspense. Even so, Lee Jong-yeon walks toward his wounded enemy. The child growls, but it can't do anything else. From the Demon King's book, Lee Jong-yeon already knows the beast can't disobey him because of where it came from. As the wolf keeps staring at him, its eyes slowly change from rage and pain to sadness. After a long stare, the wolf finally submits to Lee Jong-yeon. It walks up to him and lets him pet it. Then a message says the Sky of Apocalypse has sponsored a bond. Lee Jong-yeon explains that even though the beast is calm now, it was once a demon that threw the whole world into chaos beside the Demon King. It had served the strongest hunter, who treated it like his own child. In the future, this beast would be known by many names, including Snowy King, Monarch of the Beast, and Godjaws. So Lee Jong-yeon names his new pet Fenrir. The bond then changes into submission, and the Sky of Apocalypse asks if he wants to activate it. With that, the whole ordeal ends. Back on the surface, the lowly chief notices the shaking has stopped and wonders if it's over. Then she hears footsteps. The Korean hunters have returned safely. But she freezes when she notices Lee Jong-yeon is carrying the demon child back into the village. Panicked, she quickly calls for Sanboon, who arrives at once. She demands an explanation, but Lee Jong-yeon says he kept his promise. Sanboon isn't convinced. He accuses Lee Jong-yeon of tricking him, saying he promised to kill the intruder. But Lee Jong-yeon says that's wrong. He only promised to save Sanboon and Cheonji-chon. This child is no longer dangerous. Then the child wakes up, slips from Lee Jong-yeon's arms, and glares at Sanboon and the chief while letting out his power. Both leaders are terrified, but after getting his owner's permission, the child suddenly bows to them in apology. The chief is even more confused, but it proves the child's hostility is gone, and so is this whole crazy arc. After things calm down, Lee Jong-yeon tries teaching his new pet how to say his name, but Fenrir keeps saying Jugyo, which literally means kill. Honestly, that fits a little too well. It also proves the child still can't really talk. Then In-chong walks up and calls to her partner. Fenrir doesn't like the interruption and shows hostility toward her, and she clearly doesn't want her avatar getting killed. To Lee Jong-yeon, though, this is just kids being kids. In-chong probably wouldn't agree. The sponsors watch the scene and share a warm moment. Later, Lee Jong-yeon calls the chief to the edge of the barrier, and she asks why. He says he made a promise with Sanboon. If he handled the intruder and helped Sanboon recover, then Sanboon said he could take the chief with him. Confused, she looks to Lee Jong-yeon for more. He says now isn't the time. He still has business in China, but once it's done, he'll come back for her. He tells her to be ready when that day comes. Then he summons a sword and throws it into the lake. As it sinks, he asks the chief to guard it until he returns. He also wants her to use her power and perform a ritual on it, like the one used to seal Fenrir. That only confuses her more. So Lee Jong-yeon explains the weapon is important, and he needs to give it to someone later. The next day, the Korean hunters prepare to leave. As they head out, the people of Cheonji-chon gather around them, apologizing for how harshly they treated them. They blame the outsiders before them who tried to rob the village, and Lee Jong-yeon says he understands why they were wary. Then the lowly chief arrives and asks if he's already leaving. Lee Jong-yeon says yes, he has no time to waste, but promises to come back for her. The chief has no idea what he means. Hearing that, Lee Jong-yeon realizes she forgot their talk from yesterday and wonders if her side effects got worse. Still, he tells her to ask Sangun about it. At last, the Korean hunters say goodbye to the villagers and Sangun, then continue their journey. Meanwhile, deep in his cave, Sangun urges Lee Jong-yeon to hurry. So the Korean hunters, now with a new companion, start making their way down Baekdu Mountain. Partway down, In-chong suddenly stops. Lee Jong-yeon turns back and sees she's upset. She says it feels heavy leaving Cheonji-chon behind like this, but Lee Jong-yeon tells her he plans to return. After they finish their business in China, they'll visit Cheonji-chon again. Hearing that, In-chong starts joking that once he fixes his whole gate problem, they'll be able to come back easily by plane or portal or something. That makes Lee Jong-yeon uneasy, since he never actually said he could do that. But In-chong has total faith in him. To her, Lee Jong-yeon has already done one impossible thing after another. Smiling, she brags about him. He brought down Hercules and even tamed the demon child Fenrir. So shouldn't a man like that be able to deal with the gates in China too? But Lee Jong-yeon says, I can't. The answer surprises her, and he explains that he can't stop the gates by himself. In fact, no one in the world can stop what's coming in China. The mood drops fast, and even In-chong looks down. Trying to lighten things up, she asks if they're really going to keep walking, saying she's gotten used to Baekdu Mountain's warmth. Lee Jong-yeon says no. The whole reason he went to Cheonjicheon was to find something to make travel easier. But In-chong points out the elk they rode before are long gone. Lee Jong-yeon says nobody mentioned elk and tells Fenrir to give them a ride. Fenrir obeys, takes on his wolf form, and the two hunters climb onto his back. Fenrir takes off at full speed, covering a lot of ground before stopping at a small battlefield. There, the hunters find snow orcs fighting ice trolls. Lee Jong-yeon quickly understands why Fenrir stopped. He tells Fenrir to eat them, and Fenrir instantly dives in, killing and devouring the monsters. Incheon can only stare in shock. Lee Jong-yeon says Fenrir must have been starving for a while. Then he says he has something to teach Incheon. In the meantime, he wants to show her something important. That instantly gets Incheon excited. She wonders if he's finally going to explain the secret behind his crazy growth and strange power. She has wanted to know for a long time, but held back because she believed he'd tell her when the time was right. And now he finally does. Lee Jong-yeon says he'll teach her about the mana stream, a skill that can let her grow on her own as a hunter. Incheon is confused. A hunter who can grow without a sponsor. Could that really exist? It can, and it's the secret to Lee Jong-yeon's strength. That fires her up. Then Lee Jong-yeon says she's already gained part of the mana stream. To show it, he gathers mana in his hand and asks if she can see it. Incheon focuses and uses her power, and she clearly sees the mana in his hand. Lee Jong-yeon is thrilled and says he knew she had talent. She says she can see mana when she concentrates, and asks if that's why he meditates so often. He corrects her, saying they're not just seeing mana. They're sensing its flow, like feeling it inside the body. It's hard for Incheon to grasp right away, but that's not what matters. Lee Jong-yeon tells her she doesn't need to fully understand it. This isn't learned by thinking, you get used to it through practice, so he plans to force the mana flow into her, though he warns it'll hurt like hell. Incheon doesn't back down. She accepts right away, saying that's fine. She wants to grow stronger. She refuses to stay a burden and wants to keep up with Lee Jong-yeon. By nightfall, the hunters stop to rest and Incheon is completely passed out. In a flashback, Lee Jong-yeon remembers just how tough she is. She endured the painful mana imprinting without crying out once, but even she was exhausted by it. Then he notices Fenrir and Tedley staring at something. Curious, he walks over to look and sees a huge lizard monster behind the cliff, a drake, a high-level predator that appears as the boss of A-rank gates. Fenrir starts drooling and licking his lips, ready for dinner. Lee Jong-yeon asks if his pets want to hunt the drake, and Fenrir says yes. The Demon King's autobiography says drake is Fenrir's favorite food, but Lee Jong-yeon knows Fenrir still isn't at full strength. He wasn't even at his peak on Baekdu Mountain, and after submitting, he's even weaker now. That makes Lee Jong-yeon wonder if Fenrir can really take down such a strong enemy. Still, he needs to know his new pet's true level if he wants things to go smoothly later. So he decides, it's time to hunt a drake. The hunt starts at once. Fenrir leaps off the cliff at the drake and, at the last second, shifts into his wolf form. But the drake isn't caught off guard. It notices Fenrir and strikes first before he can get close. It doesn't matter. The drake fires a powerful blast, but Fenrir destroys it with his own attack. Even against that force, Fenrir kills the drake in a single hit. After that, the starving wolf happily tears into the drake's flesh. Lee Jong-yeon is left speechless. He expected a longer, more even fight. But Fenrir was much stronger than he thought. He even wonders if Fenrir really got weaker, since beating a drake that easily is not normal. Still, after seeing that much of Fenrir's power, Lee Jong-yeon has what he needs to move on. The next day, the hunters continue traveling, and later they come across a grim sight. They find several human corpses, frozen solid in an instant. Seeing this, In-chong starts crying and asks if the calamity Lee Jong-yeon mentioned will leave the whole world like this. He says yes, though not exactly like this. He says the calamity may actually be less cruel than this. And now, with their new strength and allies, they can save more people. There are other hunters, heroes, and groups like Asgard outside. They'll all fight to survive the disaster, and Lee Jong-yeon says he'll do the same, so she shouldn't worry too much. That helps In-chong calm down, and she says she feels a little better. She also promises to do her best and save as many people as she can. Soon they reach a frozen river, and Lee Jong-yeon says they should cross it since it's solid. He says their destination lies beyond it. In-chong realizes she still doesn't know where they're going, and he tells her they're looking for someone in Guangdong province. Even so, In-chong isn't sure. She wonders if anyone could still be alive in a place this harsh, but Lee Jong-yeon says he's sure someone is. Inside, though, he's growing desperate. Even after suppressing the black marble with his mammoth stream skill, he can feel the foreign object in his body getting stronger, and he starts to wonder if he's reaching his limit. So he decides they need to cross fast and find that person quickly. Thanks to Fenrir, they get across the frozen river quickly. But after crossing, they get off him. Lee Jong-yeon says that from here on, they should stop riding Fenrir so they can stay hidden and avoid attention. The land ahead is a little less frozen, and In-chong notices the air is warmer. She also sees no monsters nearby. Lee Jong-yeon smiles and says that's a good sign. They're going the right way. As they keep moving, Fenrir suddenly points ahead. Lee Jong-yeon follows his gaze and sees a humanoid figure in the distance. In-chong lights up, thinking it might be a person, but Lee Jong-yeon stays careful and tells her to get her weapon ready. He warns that in a place like this, they can't trust what they see. When they get closer, they realize the figure is actually a giant. The fight starts fast, and In-chong handles the huge enemy well. But after winning, she feels uneasy, saying the giant acted more like a starving animal than a thinking being. Lee Jong-yeon explains that it may have been thrown out by its group for being sick or weak. Giants cast out like that often go mad and become violent on their own. He adds this one was likely weaker than the rest. They don't get much time to rest. Before they can recover, more giants appear in the distance, riding ice streaks. The sight of them freezes In-chong in fear. The giant leader demands to know who these humans are and why they're in his territory. But after looking closer, the leader suddenly seems surprised by something. Meanwhile, Fenrir gets excited at the sight of the ice streaks. He starts drooling, clearly hoping to eat one. But that hope doesn't last long because the giant leader suddenly throws a net at them. Chang gets ready to fight back, but Lee Jongyang stops her. He says he doesn't sense any killing intent from the giants and thinks it's smarter to let themselves be captured for now. So the giants trap the hunters in a cage and take them back to their base. On the way, the giant who captured them asks if they're from this land, but Lee Jongyang says they came from far away. The giant says not to worry, they were captured with someone important. From what Lee Jongyang has seen, these giants aren't mindless monsters from the old stories. They're smart, more like humans. So Lee Jongyang asks if they're heading to Utgard. The giant says yes and is surprised an outsider knows their city. Still, he assures them they don't plan to hurt the humans for now. Then he introduces himself as Saki, a warrior of the Great Frost Giant tribe. Lee Jongyang introduces himself too, and the group keeps moving. Along the way, other tribes attack them, but Saki cuts them all down with ease. Even with all that strength, Saki seems kind. After the fight, he turns to Lee Jongyang with a few questions. He even says the humans can leave later if they want, which sounds a little too generous. Lee Jongyang figures the giants are hiding something. He believes there are survivors inside the giant city. Still, Saki swears on his honor that the humans can choose freely and leave safely. For Lee Jongyang, that works perfectly. This twist makes reaching their goal much easier, and the man Lee Jongyang is searching for should be there too. Before long, they reach the city border. Chang is shocked, while Saki proudly welcomes them to Utgard. Soon they arrive at the gate, where Saki is quickly recognized and welcomed back. From inside the cage, the humans look around and comment that the place feels like the Middle Ages. Chang jokes that maybe they've traveled through time too. But she's cut off when townspeople gather around Saki and notice the caged humans, clearly confused by the sight. They whisper about why the humans are locked up and what they did wrong. Then Fenrir starts acting up and the giants point out the special one among them, the Banargand. Even so, Saki says nothing is wrong and orders everyone to clear the way so he can meet the city chief. Inside the cage, Fenrir clearly sees the giants as enemies and wants to attack. Still, they reach the chief's manor and Saki is allowed in. The moment they enter, Fenrir gets restless again. That makes Lee Jongyang think this is the enemy Fenrir sensed earlier. He suspects this is the one Fenrir injured before fleeing to Baekdu Mountain. Saki reports that he captured a Banargand along with its companions. But he explains the Banargand was found apart from the others. The chief looks confused and angry. He orders Saki to leave the intruders and return, but Saki reminds him he promised the humans safe passage. On his honor, they would not be harmed and would be allowed to go home. He asks the chief to respect his word as a warrior, then quietly leaves. After that, the humans are locked in a strangely comfortable prison cell. Chang checks the bars and confirms they're trapped. She could cut through them with her sword, but Lee Jongyang tells her not to. They're deep in giant territory, and escaping would mean fighting everyone. So Chang asks if they're in real danger. The chief didn't look trustworthy, especially when he saw Fenrir. He seemed pressured, which makes her ask what they should do. Lee Jongyang tells her to relax. They can leave whenever they choose, so for now, he says they should treat this like a rare chance to rest. It looks like they'll be here a while. In their temporary room, Lee Jongyang remembers how the Demon King's autobiography called the Giant War the worst of all. But what he's seen so far doesn't match that at all. Something feels wrong. Even if the Giant King is unbelievably strong, the other giants seem weaker than humans in attack power. If that's true, how did they corner mankind? While he's thinking, someone knocks on the cell door. A little girl walks in with tea for them. As she serves it, Lee Jongyang decides to ask a few questions. He asks if all captured humans are treated this well, and she says no. When he presses for more, she hesitates. Lee Jongyang tells her not to worry. No one is listening. That surprises her, so she looks back and spots the magic tool hidden in the room. Lee Jongyang says it's used to spy on them, and without Merlin's necklace, he never would have noticed it. He moves closer to the girl, now introduced as Xian, and tells her she can speak freely. Xian says she's been here about a year, and most others for around a year and a half. Lee Jongyang guesses Utgard was built around the same time the giants started taking humans. Then he asks why his group gets special treatment. Xian says it's because they're strong and because they're with someone special. She explains that when the giants fought Fenrir, he changed into his wolf form and killed many of them. As a result, the king and several warrior giants fought back and forced Fenrir to retreat. That's why Fenrir ended up back at Baekdu Mountain. After hearing all this, Lee Jongyang forms a plan. He asks Xian for a favor and tries bribing her with candy and chocolate, but she doesn't care. Instead, she asks for iron so she can sell it and buy medicine for her mother. Lee Jongyang agrees. In return, he wants her to find someone named Manhwa. Xian is startled and cuts him off, asking if he means Huada. He says yes. Several days pass after the hunters arrive at the castle. They do little, get regular meals, and are even allowed to walk around sometimes. But Chang is getting fed up. She says if they have nothing to do, they should just be let go. Lee Jongyang stays positive, saying at least they've had time to train. Chang is still bored, but he has an idea. Show their strength inside the castle as he summons his weapon. Seeing that, Chang gets ready too, and asks if they're finally going to wreck the place. That catches Lee Jongyang off guard. He asks why someone so righteous wants to destroy everything, and Chang admits she really hates this place. More than that, something about the king feels wrong. To test that feeling, Lee Jongyang decides they should put on a display of power. Chang worries a little, but he needles her until she takes the bait. The two start fighting seriously, and they agree the loser owes the winner a favor. Just like that, their fierce match begins and ends with the castle garden completely wrecked. Later, Saki hears what happened and bursts out laughing. It's also revealed that after joining with another tribe, the chief started changing. He wanted to be called king and began gathering iron and soldiers, though no one knows who he plans to fight. For Saki, an honorable warrior, his leader's actions are hard to understand. Then another giant rushes up and tells him the Naras are attacking. At once, the giants get ready to head out and deal with them. Elsewhere in the castle, Chang meets an administrative giant who says damaging the castle garden is a serious offense. But somehow, she convinces them they also share blame for not teaching the humans their rules. Chang apologizes for the damage she and Li Zhongyang caused, but says her people train by running through forests. As the giant tries to understand, Chang says she truly regrets it and wants to make up for the damage. So she asks what he wants as compensation. After thinking it over, the giant says he wants to learn more about humans, since they know so little. Chang agrees to tell him. Back in her fight with Li Zhongyang, Chang is being pushed back. Even with all her power, she can't find an opening and decides to go all out. Li Zhongyang answers with more power, and when the fight peaks, Chang thinks she spots an opening, but it's a trap. Li Zhongyang baited her on purpose, then slipped around behind her and took the win. So as the winner, Li Zhongyang tells Chang to act friendly with the giants and gather information. He's also planning something else. Soon the giant guards rush over and find Chang standing above an apparently badly hurt Li Zhongyang. They call a medic and carry him off. At the treatment room, a human doctor checks him while he lies on a bed, but the doctor quickly sees the injuries aren't serious. There's blood, but nothing dangerous. Li Zhongyang is startled. The giants bought the act, but a real doctor sees right through it. Still, he asks to be treated, and the doctor starts healing him. As his hands pass over the wounds, they close up right away, and soon Li Zhongyang is fully healed. He thanks the doctor and then says it's an honor to meet Huada. Hearing that, the doctor goes still, then with a cold look asks if Li Zhongyang knows him, but he denies it. Huada wonders if someone named Seeing told him. Yet again, our hero says no. Instead, Li Zhongyang asks if they should get to know each other. Huada only says he's an odd man and walks off, telling Xian to follow. But before he leaves, Li Zhongyang speaks again. He says the treatment isn't finished and asks if a doctor would abandon a patient still in pain. To Huada, though, Li Zhongyang looks perfectly fine. Li Zhongyang says the problem isn't outside, so how can Huada judge without checking? With that, he holds out his hand, and Huada checks his pulse. Even then, he finds nothing wrong and leaves. That attempt fails. Li Zhongyang is left confused. He clearly sensed magic from Huada, so he's sure the man is a hunter. But since he couldn't find the black marble, he wonders if Huada hasn't gained his power yet. That idea makes him panic. There's no way it should be true. In the Demon King's autobiography, Huada is one of the few Chinese hunters who survived, and the healer who saved many heroes, including the Demon King. The Demon King also learned Mana Stream in Giant Land. During that time, he faced a surge of mana at the start of the skill, which worked a lot like Dragon's Bloodstone. The only reason he survived it was Huada's help, a man who would later be treated like a god. Back in the present, Li Zhongyang wonders if he arrived too early. Maybe Huada hasn't grown because not enough time has passed. Then Chang suddenly comes up behind him. He asks how it went. He expected trouble after the garden mess, but her quick return tells him it wasn't too bad. Chang says, "It went well. They want me to become a warrior." She explains that the frost giants, called the Nars, are building a city nearby and keep waiting for a chance to attack Ukkard. Because of that, and to defend their city from the Nars and other monsters, the giants need Korean hunters since they don't have enough fighters. Hearing this, Li Zhongyang is surprised. There are far fewer giants than he expected. The Nars are part of the reason, and with numbers this low, the giants may not be much of a threat to humanity. Chang adds that aside from this, the giants mostly asked about the outside world. Population, culture, traits, even military strength. Hearing that, Li Zhongyang praises her. When she asks what he learned, he says nothing yet and that he needs to dig deeper. They were supposed to leave after finding the right people, but since she was offered a warrior role, he asks why she chose to stay. Chang says the giants aren't actually imprisoning anyone. The problem is that if humans leave Utgard, they'll likely die outside it. That's why she wants to help them somehow. Hearing that, Li Zhongyang is shocked. His plan was just to find Huada, take the useful people, and escape Utgard. Chang is thinking about everyone. He tells her she's a better person than he is, saying he almost became the kind of person he hates. So after signing on as mercenary warriors, the Korean hunters are allowed to stay where the other humans live. But the residents keep their distance, wondering why the owner of Femur is here and calling him dangerous. At the same time, the hunters notice the locals are shut off and don't welcome outsiders. Then Xin runs over with a big smile. She thanks Li Zhongyang because what he gave her helped heal her mother. Huada also comes over and asks how he's feeling. Li Zhongyang says he's much better thanks to Huada and offers his hand. Huada shakes it and tells him to visit if he feels sick again. Then Xin and Huada leave, putting Li Zhongyang in an even tougher spot. This time he had purposely changed the flow of his magic, yet Huada still showed no reaction. Li Zhongyang figures Huada must have noticed something, which makes him wonder if he's been wrong about the old doctor. Seeing him down, Chang asks if he's okay, but he says he's not. Still, she cheers him up, and it works. After that, Li Zhongyang starts gathering information. They ask around town about how many giants live here, but there isn't a clear answer. He does learn there used to be 3 or 4 times more giants. Then the giants fought each other, and one chief left Utgard with his followers. That group became the Nars. Before that, some kind of disease had also cut their numbers down. This is all new to Li Zhongyang. He keeps digging and asks if other outsiders came here before. The residents say yes. Hearing that, Li Zhongyang wonders if they mean the Demon King. The story says he traveled into China and reached the City of Giants. Since Li Zhongyang is in the past, he might find clues about him. Still, those outsiders left long before the Korean hunters arrived. The residents never even saw them, and only know because the giants mentioned it. On the way back, Li Zhongyang thinks about how useful the search was. He learned that someone stopped the giant plague, and that same man is often called to the castle. The Huada I need must be him, he thinks, and heads to ask the giants more. So Li Zhongyang and Fenrir go to Sachi, who is glad to see the human who burned the castle garden. He thanks Li Zhongyang for helping his tribe despite being a different species, and says other races there, like dwarves and Banner, hate them. He also says he has to head out because Nara attacks have been happening more often. So he asks Lee Jong-young to come help, and the two set out to stop the attack. But they run into something unexpected. They're suddenly stopped by the Naras and their leader, Shrim. As Sachi faces Shrim, Lee Jong-young realizes this could go very badly. He can tell Shrim is strong. In fact, Shrim is clearly stronger than Sachi, probably close to the giant king Lee Jong-young met at the castle, but he has no clue what they're saying. He can't understand their language, but in a lucky break, his sponsor, Sky of Apocalypse, grants him the giant language, Shoten. Thanks to that, he finally understands Sachi and Shrim. Amid all the tension, Shrim asks Sachi to reconsider, but the giant warrior refuses, saying he won't listen to an apostate. Shrim stays calm and asks if Sachi really plans to keep following a foolish king. He says Sachi's tribe has fallen far and shamed the name of warriors. He also insists he isn't an apostate. They simply aren't the rulers of Utgard. Sachi has heard enough. He roars and powers up, ready to charge, and Shrim gets serious too. This is how giants settle things, with raw force. Then all of a sudden, Shrim notices the two strange figures with Sachi. After looking closer, he realizes one of them is special, and even more surprising, that special one seems to be under a human's control. Fenrir and Lee Jong-young catch Shrim's eye, and he says he'll deal with them next time. Sachi cuts him off and swings hard, but Shrim dodges with ease and fires back with a full-force punch. Right before it lands, Shrim stops himself from killing his old comrade. Even so, the force of the blow bursts outward as a shockwave. After that, Shrim turns to leave with his group, telling Sachi, Fenrir, and Lee Jong-young that they'll meet again soon. As the Nars pull back, Utgard soldiers ask Sachi why they're letting the enemy walk away. Sachi tells them Shrim is with them, and if they fight now, Utgard will lose warriors they can't afford to lose. He also says the chief ordered him not to fight Shrim. So the Utgard fighters head back to the city with defeat written all over their faces. On the way, Lee Jong-young agrees Sachi made the right call. The giants may love fighting, but the gap between their generals is obvious. He also suspects Sachi and Shrim were once close, maybe friends, maybe family. But then Lee Jong-young notices something, a lone man standing out in the wasteland. He wonders why no giant reacted to him if they clearly saw him. So he asks Sachi, who says the man is just a mercenary helping Utgard. When they get closer, Lee Jong-young realizes it's Quada, the doctor he had been searching for. After returning to Utgard, Lee Jong-young goes to his lodging. There, In-chang looks pleased. She says a group of attacking Nars was driven off because she was there. Lee Jong-young tells her what happened on his side, but In-chang has more news. One of the Nars was a Chinese man who blocked her attacks with a long, strange spear. Lee Jong-young then says he finally found the man he was looking for. Wanting to speak with him, he leaves after giving Merlin's necklace to In-chang and asking her to handle something. Later, he goes to Quada's clinic and is shocked by how many patients are there. Lee Jong-young gives the doctors a whole bucket of potions and tells them to use them freely. Once the patients are handled, he finally speaks with Quada, Manhwa. The first thing Manhwa does is check Lee Jong-young's pulse. He says he noticed something strange when they shook hands earlier and wants to confirm it, which convinces Lee Jong-young even more that this is the person he was after. Then Manhwa grabs Lee Jong-young's hand and starts examining it closely. His verdict is that he needs to test a few things, though it may hurt. Lee Jong-young agrees right away, so Manhwa starts pouring his mana into Lee Jong-young's body to inspect his pulse and condition. According to Lee Jong-young, this explains why In-chang suffered during mana stream training. Having someone else's mana move through you is normally a huge burden, but this time, Lee Jong-young feels nothing. Because of that, he realizes the doctor also uses mana stream and pushes back a little. Manhwa notices at once and lets go, shocked, asking if Lee Jong-young also learned internal cultivation, the Chinese form of mana stream. Then they sit down and talk about it. Manhwa says other people know this skill too, but they are with the Nars. Lee Jong-young figures that maybe one of the people In-chang fought, but for now, the black marble matters most. He asks about his condition. Manhwa says he sensed something odd, but not enough to worry him. So Lee Jong-young explains that his mana mixed with demonic energy, and now a marble is inside him. Hearing that, Manhwa decides to examine him again, properly this time. Lee Jong-young agrees despite the risk. When it's over, Manhwa praises him for enduring pain like his organs were being torn apart, but Lee Jong-young just wants the result. So Manhwa explains the marbles inside him are unusual. Most marbles drain a person's life until they die, but these black ones are actually pushing his flow. Confused, Lee Jong-young listens as Manhwa adds that they aren't damaging him inside. The pain comes from forced stimulation. Still, it's dangerous. He warns that as Lee Jong-young grows stronger, the marbles do too, and if they ever surpass him, he could become obsessed with slaughter. Luckily, Lee Jong-young has been holding it back with sheer mental strength. Still, he has more questions. He asks if the psychopaths Manhwa mentioned are the abandoned Nars, and he confirms it. Even so, the black marble is safe for now. Lee Jong-young gets dressed but keeps talking with Manhwa. There he asks why there are so many human patients who don't fight. Manhwa says it's because of the surrounding energy. Hunters can benefit from it, but normal people can't handle it. That is also why some lands became unlivable after the gates opened. Then Manhwa asks why Lee Jong-young came here, and whether a rescue team. Lee Jong-young says no. There was never any record of this, likely never will be. Hearing that, Manhwa looks crushed, but Lee Jong-young adds that rescue party. Manhwa takes it as a joke. Two people can't get everyone, but there aren't only two. Fenrir and Yunmu, there are four. Still, even that isn't enough. Lee Jong-young says he needs to learn more about the people with their help match, but Manhwa thinks that's sense. Lee Jong-young knows nothing about the Still, Lee Jong-young presses him, asking why so many hunters let guard as he had there Lee Jong-young's had pain of wild people. Still, they need those hunters if they want to save this many people and survive. So Lee Jong-young asks a favor. He wants to learn internal cultivation. This finally moves Manhwa, and Lee Jong-young adds that if he learns it, he'll get one step closer to the Demon King's power. That takes us to the outskirts of Utgard, where Lee Jong-young, Fenrir, and Manhwa begin training. Manhwa sets a barrier so no energy leaks out and no one notices. Li Zhongyang asks why that's needed, and Wenhua explains that internal cultivation means absorbing the energy around you. The changes can be so big that the giants might sense it, but Li Zhongyang says he's always absorbed ambient energy naturally, which shocks Wenhua. He can't believe Li Zhongyang can gather energy without proper training. To him, that means Li Zhongyang has huge talent for internal cultivation, far more than expected. All of this reassures Wenhua, who now sees a real way to solve their problem after hearing Li Zhongyang out. On the other side, at the Nar Hunter's camp, 3 humans talk about their recent fight. Their leader hears that the hunter he faced earlier, in Chang, is highly skilled. That makes them wonder if a rescue team has arrived, but the others doubt it. If one had come, the Nars would have noticed, so they still don't know what's going on. The leader claims he held back before, but now even he doesn't know how things will turn out. Still, he asks how their troops are doing, and learns they're growing stronger fast and bringing in funds. He tells them they need to keep getting stronger for the cause. That fires up the other 2, and they shout along with him. Meanwhile, back at Wenhua's barrier, the 2 continue training. As Wenhua sends mana into Li Zhongyang's body, Li Zhongyang is surprised by how warm someone else's mana feels. Apparently, when he first created Mana Stream, it felt like something was stabbing through him. Then Wenhua tells him to match his pace. They're almost there, though it may hurt, and he needs to stay quiet. At last, Wenhua reaches the marble and starts pulling it out of Li Zhongyang's body. But it isn't simple. The black marble is unlike anything he's ever handled. He realizes its power is far greater than expected. The demonic energy inside isn't just devouring Li Zhongyang's mana, it is eating away at his body too. The pain suddenly gets much worse. Veins bulge across Li Zhongyang's body and Wenhua's as well. Still, Wenhua says it's too late to stop. He was the one who started this, so he has to see it through. But even with all their effort, the barrier can't contain all the leaking energy. It starts escaping as a bright beam of light. Even Fenrir, who casually eats ice drakes, is stunned by that power. The shockwave even reaches Utgard and catches Sachi's attention. The energy feels familiar to him, but he knows Wenhua and Li Zhongyang couldn't produce something like this. That leaves only Shrim as the possible source. Remembering how he was humiliated before, Sachi grits his teeth. Still, his pride as a warrior wins out, and he orders every fighter in Utgard to prepare for battle. The soldiers hesitate, saying their clan leader would never allow it, but Sachi refuses to back down. He asks how long they'll keep sitting still, too scared to move because of the chief's orders and fear of enemy attacks. He calls on their pride and says he'll take full responsibility. That finally gets the soldiers on his side, and the warriors arm themselves and head for the icy land where the energy came from. Shrim senses the surge too and wonders who caused it. To him, it can only be Utgard's king. He can't understand why the king would be out on a frozen island instead of handling his duties. Shrim suspects a trap, but he also sees a chance. He gathers his troops and declares that today, they'll seize Utgard. Soon, both Utgard and the Nars arrive at the barrier, with Fenrir guarding it. Both sides are ready to fight, and when Sachi sees Shrim there, he's sure Shrim caused all this. Shrim thinks the same about Sachi and asks if the king is inside. Before they can say more, a huge wave of bloodlust hits them. It's coming from Fenrir, who growls at both commanders. Chang is there too, and once she sees Fenrir guarding the barrier, she realizes Li Zhongyang must be inside. Shrim starts powering up. He says he no longer trusts Sachi. He's done trying to make peace and wants to finish this today. Sachi doesn't flinch, and both commanders send their armies forward. The battlefield explodes into chaos, with Shrim and Sachi joining the fight themselves. Inside the barrier, the noise makes Li Zhongyang open his eyes during cultivation. He sees dark demonic energy drifting through the air. Then he notices Wenhua, aged badly, weakened, like his life has been drained away. Even so, Wenhua tries to keep going and tells him it's not over. He still has to suppress the raging energy and technique in the air, but before he can finish, Wenhua passes out and collapses. Li Zhongyang rushes over and checks him, then realizes he's still alive. He remembers the Demon King's autobiography, where Wenhua gave up his youth to save the Demon King. Back then, the Demon King saved him with an elixir, but Li Zhongyang doesn't have one. Still, he refuses to let Wenhua die here, so he pulls a golden apple from his inventory and says it's Asgrid's elixir. He got it from Odin just in case, and now it finally has a use. He tells Wenhua to take it, while he absorbs all the energy in the barrier with his technique. As he uses Mana Stream, the energy slowly starts to move. Outside, the battle keeps raging. The giants fight hard, and even Chang joins in, but the giants can't handle her. Then out of nowhere, a spear flies at her. The blow is strong, but she blocks it and steps back, seeing the same hunter she met before. Realizing this human is much stronger than the giants, she calls for Gongs and tells him to handle the other giant. She wants this hunter for herself. Gongs gladly agrees and runs off. That leaves the two hunters facing each other as Chang powers up and says, "Then let's fight." The hunter laughs, amused by her confidence. At the same time, Shrim and Sachi are going all out too. They trade attacks with full force. Shrim notes that Sachi has gotten stronger, but Sachi fires back that Shrim hasn't changed. Their heavy blows kick up a huge cloud of dust. When it clears, Sachi staggers out, badly hurt. His shoulder is torn open, but he still gets up. He realizes that even after growing much stronger since their last fight, the gap between them is still massive. Shrim really is the strongest giant warrior. As that sinks in, Sachi demands to know why such an honorable warrior betrayed his own people. Enraged, he attacks again and asks why Shrim abandoned Utgard, but Shrim knocks him back. Then he says he couldn't stand watching the king fool around as ruler anymore. Sachi may not know the truth, but according to Shrim, the king ruined everything. Sachi doesn't care. He attacks while Shrim is talking, but the blow does nothing. Furious, Shrim drops his weapon and punches Sachi hard enough to send him flying. Then Shrim reveals that the one who killed my friend and your father, Ovaldi, was him. Sachi is left stunned, and Shrim presses on, saying Loki, the one calling himself king, is the one who murdered Ovaldi. That shatters Sachi's thoughts. At that moment, the barrier Wanhwa made breaks apart, releasing all the magic energy trapped inside. The pressure is so overwhelming that everyone stops for a moment to see what's going on. As the energy fades, Lee Jong-hyung steps out. He sees Manhwa is doing better, but not nearly as much as he should be. Even with Eden's apple, a treasure said to be better than an elixir, it only barely kept the doctor alive. Lee Jong-hyung notices Manhwa's mana hasn't increased, and figures he may be the reason. He thinks he absorbed the apple's effect along with the energy inside the barrier, which explains the surge of mana in his body. He even thinks that right now he could beat Hercules. Then he looks around and realizes he's surrounded by thousands of enemies. He panics for a second, but Incheon runs over happy to see her partner is safe. The Sky of Apocalypse doesn't seem pleased with its hunter showing its contempt, but the messages tell a better story. Thanks to Manhwa, Mana Stream, Harmony, Purification, and Demonic Energy Resistance all level up. Yeonmu gets stronger too, and Fenrir's seal is loosened by 1 level. Meanwhile, once the Nars realize only a human was inside the barrier, they get even more fired up and push the fight harder. Then Lee Jong-hyung calls for his avatar, Yeonmu, who is clearly stronger now. Yeonmu tells him to leave everything to him and asks if he should wipe out the giants, but Lee Jong-hyung has another plan. He orders Yeonmu to take Manhwa somewhere safe. Yeonmu looks disappointed but obeys. Once Manhwa is secure, Lee Jong-hyung leaps into the battlefield, rushes straight to the clash between Sachi and Shrim, and lands a full-force punch that sends Shrim flying. Seeing that, Sachi is stunned. The man before him is far stronger than the Lee Jong-hyung he met before. Now free from the barrier, Lee Jong-hyung also tells Fenrir to cut loose, and Fenrir instantly transforms into his wolf form and charges into the chaos. Then Lee Jong-hyun turns to the men behind him and asks, "Shall we talk?" Behind him stand the 3 hunters from the Nars. Their leader steps forward and asks who Lee Jong-hyun is. At the same time, Lee Jong-hyun reminds himself not to underestimate them. All 3 are hero class, and the 2 behind the leader are about as strong as In Chang, so he answers by asking who they are first. The leader introduces himself as Yubi, but Lee Jong-hyun has never seen that name before. Someone this strong should have appeared in the autobiography, yet there's no mention of him. So Lee Jong-hyun asks why Yubi betrayed humanity. Was it because they weren't hunters? That sets Yubi off. He snaps, "I didn't betray them. That was the path meant for them. It was for a greater cause." He attacks at once, but Lee Jong-hyun is ready and blocks the strike. Then he knocks Yubi back and calls his words nonsense. He asks what kind of greater cause could make him abandon his own people. Yubi says Shrim promised to rebuild China after Utgard falls. That answer doesn't satisfy Lee Jong-hyun, who points out he could have made the same deal with Utgard's king and attacks. Yubi dodges and calls in the hunter Inchang had been fighting. The backup puts Lee Jong-hyun in a tight spot, but he keeps up. He avoids taking a deadly hit and strikes the other hunter's gear instead, sending him flying. Yubi keeps arguing, saying the king of Utgard can't be reasoned with. He says the king secretly killed countless people over some spreading disease, so joining hands with him was never an option. That makes Lee Jong-hyun remember what the Utgard humans told him and start connecting the pieces. Still, Yubi's logic has a flaw. If he wants to rebuild China, why abandon his own people here? That only makes Yubi snap again, yelling that he never betrayed them. By then, Yubi's subordinates have recovered and gotten back up. Lee Jong-hyun still doesn't know the full story, so first he decides to beat them down and hear the rest later. He tells them to come at him, and the clash is about to begin. Back to Sachi and Shrim, still talking. Shrim says Ulvaldi, Sachi's father, found out the king wanted to turn this land into Jotunheim, a world only for giants. Loki planned to wipe out every other race, and Ulvaldi died trying to stop him. Sachi can barely take it in. He asks why Shrim waited until now to say any of this, then moves to attack. Shrim readies himself too, and the 2 start trading bare-knuckle blows. Sachi keeps asking why he stayed silent. Shrim says he couldn't bear to lose Sachi too. He's a true giant warrior, someone who couldn't turn against the king, even if he knew that same king killed his father. And even now, after hearing the truth, Sachi still isn't the type to betray. So Shrim lands a heavy blow straight to Sachi's stomach, knocking him out and telling him to sleep until it's over. But then a voice suddenly tells him to wait. He turns and sees the Nar hunters have already been defeated. The voice is Lee Jong-hyun, now standing before the Nar leader. Seeing a human this strong and confident, Shrim gets excited and calls it amusing. Before they fight, Shrim studies him. This human is special, dangerous as Sachi, maybe even close to Loki himself. And after sizing him up, Shrim uses a special move called Gorda. He meant to save it for the king, but now he has no choice. But instead of preparing to fight, Lee Jong-hyun raises both hands and says, "I forfeit." That sudden surrender stuns Shrim, Inchang, and all the giants. Then he hands out healing potions and tells everyone to drink. Yubi is baffled and asks why. So Lee Jong-hyun says he has no reason to keep fighting. The Utgard commander is down, and he now understands why the hunters sided with the Nars. After learning that, he lost the will to fight and says he won't join the battle anymore. Shrim lowers his technique and accepts the surrender. Then the Nars start celebrating their victory, while the Utgard side is crushed. But Shrim orders his men not to kill anyone else, saying enough frost giant blood has already been spilled in this civil war. Lee Jong-hyun also tells Yubi he'll watch his cause and wants to see the results. There, the other 2 hunters introduce themselves as Wanwoo and Jambi. Then Shrim declares they will march on Utgard and kill the king. That fires the Nars up even more, and they head for Utgard. Meanwhile, messages show the Sky of Apocalypse watching with discomfort and scoffing. Lee Jong-hyun is confused about why his sponsor is reacting that way. He guesses it started when he heard the king's name. Then Shrim cuts into his thoughts, curious why he suddenly backed down and asking for the real reason. Lee Jong-hyun just says they're mercenaries. If the Nars pay well, he'll help them too. To that, Shrim agrees and moves on toward the next fight. Then Lee Jong-hyun reunites with his group. Inchang asks if he's really okay with this choice, but he says there's nothing to worry about. They were neutral from the start, and they've already achieved their goal by reaching China. This was the best move. Yubi and the other hunters will help the humans stay in Utgard safely. Hearing that, Inchang agrees it's the best outcome. So the march with the Nars goes smoothly, since most people lost the will to fight after being beaten. The force gets inside quickly, and soon Manhwa finally wakes up and meets Lee Jong-hyun. But when he sees Utgard in chaos with Nar warriors everywhere, he snaps and asks Lee Jong-hyun if he was a traitor all along. But Lee Jong-hyun tells him the rescue team came, just like like he promised. Then Yubi and the other hunters show up behind him. Lee Jongyuan orders them to gather the people of Utgard and get them out if a chance opens up. He also tells Manhwa to watch over the humans, saying things will go smoothly if he's there. Still confused, Manhwa agrees, and Lee Jongyuan says he has to handle his mercenary work. Before he leaves, Manhwa asks how he's holding up, and Lee Jongyuan says he's better than ever, thanks to the doctor. Then a message suddenly appears, saying a new mission has been created. Eliminate the impersonator. Not only that, the time limit is only 15 minutes. Anyway, the hunters and Manhwa lead the human civilians out of the burning city. There, Manhwa worries about his new ally and hopes he stays careful because the king is very strong. Meanwhile, the giant King Loki is confronted by the Nara troops in the throne room. Loki asks how a filthy apostate managed to enter his castle. But Shrim doesn't flinch. He says it's finally Loki's turn to pay. Loki stands and says he should have killed Shrim when he had the chance. Meanwhile, Inchong and Lee Jongyuan watch it all happen. Lee Jongyuan notes how calm the king is, even while surrounded by hundreds of giants. He can feel the heavy aura coming off him and wonders if Loki has a hidden trump card. Still, Shrim stays confident and mocks him, asking if he regrets not killing him like he did Ulvaldi. At that, Loki smirks. He already knew Ulvaldi was behind Shrim's rebellion. Seeing his friend's killer act so smug, Shrim gets furious and starts powering up. He then releases a technique so strong that even Loki praises it. But Loki answers with a simple hand signal, and suddenly hundreds of mutated giants rush into the throne room. They're incredibly powerful and glow red, like when Lee Jongyuan and Hercules were consumed by madness. As they pour in, Loki starts laughing again, and Shrim demands to know what he has done. Lee Jongyuan is stunned. He's never seen a giant with no mind of its own. He wonders if the story about giants dying from disease was false. Unlike his own madness, these giants aren't berserk. They're still following the king's commands. Now it clicks. The king sacrificed people to build an army for himself. Meanwhile, Loki keeps laughing as he explains. He wanted an army that obeyed only him, and now the giants have become exactly that. He even calls it honorable. Shrim can't take it anymore. Sickened by what was done to his fallen comrades, he lunges at the king with everything he has, hoping to end it fast and let the dead rest. But it isn't that simple. Loki rises from his throne and powers up, then slams into Shrim and sends him flying. The hit blasts a huge hole through the castle roof, making it look like Shrim was crushed in one strike. But Loki doesn't stop there. He orders his soldiers to tear that rebel's corpse apart, and the mutated giants charge the Nara warriors. The troops are shaken after seeing their commander overwhelmed so easily. Then Shrim comes back through the aftermath, seemingly unharmed. He orders his troops to attack and says the king has lost all honor. With their commander still standing, the Nara troops regain their spirit and charge too. As chaos erupts, Inchong is confused because she can't understand the giants' language. So Lee Jongyuan explains that the king wanted his own private army, so he sacrificed and altered the giants to make it. That leaves Inchong shaken, and she calls Loki a mad king who treats people like tools. Even so, the battle rages on. Loki's army keeps attacking without sense, feeling no pain and tearing into their enemies with hands and teeth. Even Lee Jongyung can tell the Naras can't win against these berserk giants. There is only one way left. Loki keeps taunting them, saying he'll wipe them all out. But Lee Jongyung has other plans. He pours all his power into Muspel's spear, ready to kill the king himself. Then he jumps, coming down from above for a finishing blow. But Loki isn't easy prey. He spots Lee Jongyung right away and reacts. Still, the strike does nothing. Loki throws up a barrier and blocks it cleanly. Then he blasts Lee Jongyung away and says he's been watching him. To Loki, Lee Jongyung has the most mana in the room, making him the biggest threat, so he decides to end this fast. Loki fires another deadly attack straight at Lee Jongyung. It moves so fast he can't dodge. As panic sets in, something suddenly catches his eye. It is another shield. That changes everything. Loki stares in shock, wondering who could have pulled that off. It's Sachi. Even at his limit, he saves Lee Jongyung from certain death. But that seems to be all he has left. After shielding him and entrusting the giants to his care, Sachi collapses. Even Shrim is shaken by that, while Loki looks furious. He calls Sachi pathetic for relying on a human, and says once he kills the rest, Sachi will be the first turned into one of his soldiers. Lee Jongyung refuses to let that happen. In desperation, he calls for Fenrir, who appears at once and takes wolf form before lunging at Loki. But Fenrir is far weaker than before, and Loki drops him with one hit. On top of that, Lee Jongyung only has 5 minutes left, and the Sky of Apocalypse orders him to kill the disgraceful one. Even In Chang is stunned by Loki's power. She asks Lee Jongyung what they do next, and he tells her to hold Loki off for 1 minute. Of course, In Chang knows that's insane against someone who beat Fenrir that easily. Even with Shrim fighting head-on, it won't be enough. So Lee Jongyung tells her, "I need you." And Chang blushes and agrees right away. Pretty smooth. She rushes into the fight while Lee Jongyung starts pouring mana into his spear again. Soon the weapon hits its limit, but that's still not enough. He knows this much power won't kill Loki. He needs more. So he keeps forcing mana into it, pushing past the limit. Meanwhile, Shrim and In Chang fight Loki together, but even both of them are struggling. Then a message appears. Muspel's spear has leveled up from the extreme heat Lee Jongyung poured into it. But even that still isn't enough. Just a little more. He has to end it in one hit. But there's a problem. Once the spear reaches its flame limit, it starts cracking in the middle of battle. Still, at the last second, Lee Jongyung fully charges it and hurls it at Loki with everything he has. The shockwave shakes all of Utgard. Then another message appears. Mission accomplished. The Sky of Apocalypse is pleased, and Loki is left with a huge hole through his body. Then outside the castle, the humans witness something they never expected. Sunlight returns to China, a land trapped in endless cold. Lee Jongyung also earns the achievement, the one who raises the sun, and his stats rise sharply. With Loki dead, the war ends. The king and his castle burn to ash and vanish. The Nara's warriors finish off the mutated giants, and the 4 chiefs gather where the castle once stood. But the matter still isn't over. Barrett Shrim tells Yubi he will keep his promise and orders Sachi to kill him. In his eyes, he still betrayed his own kind, no matter the reason, and deserves punishment. But he asks that the Naras who followed him be spared. Sachi agrees, and later, he and Lee Jongyung stand atop the ruined castle. There, Lee Jongyang asks if Sachi hates him, but Sachi says no. Because of Lee Jongyang, he made the right choice, and he's grateful for that. Little by little, Utgard begins to rebuild, and things go smoothly. Yubi thanks Lee Jongyang for making it possible. Then Yubi asks him for one more favor. He says normal humans can't survive here forever, so he wants to go beyond the wall and asks for help. But Lee Jongyang says that would be a bad choice because the world is about to change. He warns that going over the wall could be dangerous and says they should settle here instead, since the whole world is about to become a gate. But even then, Utgard's people still have to deal with the cold and lack of food. So Lee Jongyang gives Yubi a monster called Purimora. These creatures can be used for food. They taste bad, but they grow fast in any place, so the people won't starve. And Lee Jongyang may also have a way to handle the cold. Hearing that, Yubi is deeply thankful and promises to repay him when they meet again. After that, Lee Jongyang meets Shrim, who turns out to be alive. It turns out Sachi never killed him. He asks Shrim to become the next chief. But Shrim refuses, saying someone with giant blood on his hands can't lead the Nars. Instead, he chooses to leave. He also explains that frost giants live for battle and only grow stronger by fighting enemies. But to giants, monsters are just prey. That leaves humans as the only real enemy. So Shrim decides to create a new clan as a way to honor the species that saved the giants from ruin. To him, it's a sign of respect. But Lee Jongyang has a favor too. He wants to learn Level Out, the technique Loki used. Shrim is surprised. He agrees to teach it, though he doubts a human can use it. Level Out awakens hidden power, but it needs a crazy amount of mana. Without a giant's body, it shouldn't be possible. But Lee Jongyang shows off his massive mana reserves. A powerful aura draws Shrim's eyes, and Sachi and In-Chang notice it too. Showing his power, Lee Jongyang says, "I'm sure I have more mana than you," so Shrim agrees to teach him. Later, Lee Jongyang looks out over Utgard from a distance. He thinks back on everything that happened. Loki, the foolish king who turned his own people into test subjects and made giant warriors into mindless weapons for himself. But one question remains. How did Loki make them obey only him? Even though he was strong, that kind of control should have been beyond him. So Lee Jongyang suspects someone helped him from the shadows. Then he remembers what the human residents of Utgard told him earlier. Some people entered the giant fortress and left without doing anything. He thinks it may have been the Demon King, but if not, could it have been the Black Hood? But that's where his clues end. Who is this person, and what are they planning? Then a voice calls his name from behind. When he turns, he sees In-Chang. Smiling, she says a festival is starting and asks him to come. Before he can answer, In-Chang grabs his arm and pulls him toward Utgard, telling him to hurry because everyone is waiting. Soon they reach the city and find it decorated. People are eating, talking, and enjoying the better days they finally have. Life is still hard, but they're thankful to be alive. Seeing all that joy, In-Chang and Lee Jongyang both feel hopeful about the future, even in a world changed by gates. So Lee Jongyang says he'll handle the festival's finale. With that, he steps onto the stage. As he gets up there, the humans recognize him by the giant title meaning the one who killed Loki. They may not know his real name, but they know he's about to show them something incredible. The crowd erupts in cheers as he begins to power up. He strengthens his mana flow and raises both its level and amount inside his body. Then he unleashes Level Out, the same skill the Giant King used. That stuns everyone watching. Yubi's group, In-Chang, and even Shrim, who senses the power from far away. But Lee Jongyang isn't done. He starts gathering mana to form a core. The core looks like a tiny sun, leaving the humans speechless. Then, according to the system messages, the dragon bloodstone helps a weak dragon heart begin forming from that core. Soon, the festival comes to an end. Later, Lee Jongyang speaks with Yubi in private and is asked if he's leaving now. He says yes. He reveals that he injected heat into the metal structures using the technique he learned from Park Jae-yoon. He also used Merlin's necklace to set up a barrier, keeping the heat from leaking out. Yubi asks if Lee Jong-yoon is really leaving, saying he still wants to repay what he owes. But Lee Jong-yoon just says they'll meet again. After that, he joins back up with his team in Manhwa, where In-Chang jokes about his new title. And she asks him the same thing Yubi did, and Lee Jong-yoon explains why he has, and he tells Fenrir to transform and says goodbye to Yubi. Just like that, the team heads back. That night, they stop to rest, and In-Chang talks with Lee Jong-yoon about the trip. There, he also asks how her mana stream training is going and learns she's getting better little, but he says that isn't enough. They need to move faster. Shouldn't be much time. In his mind, he reminds himself that black marble inside him is still charging, boosting mana and growth. That isn't just happening to him. Monsters are growing much stronger too, and the whole world is about. The crisis in China is only the start. Suddenly, In-Chang notices something and panics. Clearly shaken, she points ahead, and Lee Jong-yoon turns to look, only to see Baekdu Mountain burning. On the mountain, Shi Yuan-ji-chan is being attacked by a huge group of orcs. After setting the city on fire, they charge in and start slaughtering everything. The helpless people run in terror, trying to stay alive. There, Gal helps the civilians and guides them to safety so the hunters can fight back. Then Gal and the other hunters cut down the rushing orcs, finally getting everyone evacuated. After that, another hunter says they should escape too by going down the mountain, but luck isn't with them. Out of nowhere, a mutated giant appears. The hunters freeze for a second, but they still have to fight. Even if it costs them their lives, they have no other choice. Then all of a sudden, a blue light flashes. The giant turns around and sees Fenrir charging straight at it. In one blow, Fenrir cuts off its head. Watching this, Gal starts wondering if this wolf is who he thinks it is. Then Lee Jong-yoon, In-Chang, and Wenhua arrive. Lee Jong-yoon asks if the hunters are okay, and they thank him for saving them. But there is a bigger problem. Lee Jong-yoon asks where Sangun and the chief are, saying he can't sense them. To his shock, he hears that the chief went to Chimunji to seal Sangun. Hearing that, Lee Jong-yoon panics, tells In-Chang and Wenhua to handle things here, and rushes off to find the chief. Somewhere else, Sangun and the chief are already fighting. Sangun is completely out of control, roaring and attacking wildly. Meanwhile, the chief faces him with sadness, and she looks much older now. Still, Sangun attacks again. The chief blocks him while begging him to stop. "I can't keep doing this," she says. With tears in her eyes, the chief rushes at the tiger and strikes, but at the last second, she can't bring herself to hurt the guardian of her city. So Sandgun counters and sends her flying. Even after coughing up blood, she stands again. She says that as an orphan, Sandgun was like a father to her. How could she kill someone that precious? But Sandgun isn't listening. He charges her again without a hint of reason, so the chief stops resisting. She'd rather die than kill Sandgun, and she gives up her life. Even after hearing her feelings, the crazed Sandgun doesn't stop and moves in to finish it. Right before the blow lands, Lee Jong-un appears and saves her. Seeing him, the chief is left speechless. But Sandgun still doesn't stop. Lee Jong-un notices how much the chief has aged and asks what happened. So she reveals that a man in black came to Sandgun and caused this disaster. Hearing that, Lee Jong-un is shaken. He quickly asks what happened to that man, but the chief says he vanished a few days ago. She's sure Sandgun changed because of him, but first they need to stop Sandgun. So Lee Jong-un powers up and turns to face the white tiger. The chief stops him and says they've already tried everything, sealing him, even pulling out his demonic energy. But nothing worked. Sandgun's power is too great. Hearing that, Lee Jong-un realizes the only option left is to kill Sandgun, and the chief agrees. With that, he summons his weapon and charges in. He tells Yoon-myo to rest. He might have a way. Then the fight starts. Both Sandgun and Lee Jong-un attack with everything they have, blow after blow. Their collisions send out blasts and shockwaves that tear up the area. Meanwhile, Eun-myo can only stare in shock. She can't believe Lee Jong-un became this strong in such a short time. In only a few days, he's changed so much it feels like years passed. Back in the fight, Lee Jong-un loads power into his spear and rushes in for a final strike, stabbing Sandgun through the chest. Seeing that, the chief cries out, but Lee Jong-un tells her not to worry. He isn't going to kill Sandgun. It turns out the dragon heart formed from the dragon bloodstone is at its strongest inside him. Because of that, he can sense both Sandgun's power and Baekdu Mountains through it. Also, from the energy coming out of Sandgun, Lee Jong-un plans to absorb only the madness driving him insane. But things don't go smoothly, because his spear recently gained a demonic trait. It's turning into a demonic spear and draining Sandgun's life force along with his power. But Lee Jong-un doesn't panic. Getting serious, he says he needs to return Sandgun's life force and energy. Then his purification skill activates, and he uses it to finish this once and for all. The red glow in Sandgun's eyes slowly fades, and moments later, Sandgun comes back to his senses. Seeing that, Lee Jong-un is relieved, but there's no time to celebrate. The second Sandgun regains his mind, he drops to the ground. Seeing that, the chief runs to him and starts treating him at once, begging Sandgun to hold on. She tries to heal him, but it isn't working. Even so, Eun-myo won't give up and keeps going. With tears pouring down, she does everything she can, but nothing changes. In the end, she slowly gives up and starts to accept it. But then, in a miracle, she turns and sees Femur and the miracle doctor Manhwa standing there. Manhwa says he's glad he made it in time. With that, the treatment starts right away, and Sandgun soon recovers. When he opens his eyes, he sees Lee Jong-un, who asks if he's back to normal. Sandgun says yes, but Lee Jong-un can tell something is still wrong. Even after the madness was removed, Sandgun's condition hasn't really improved, and he's still getting closer to death. So Lee Jong-un asks who the man in black is, the same one who made Sandgun like this, and why did Sandgun meet him at all? Lee Jong-un can't understand why a wise mythical beast like Sandgun would trust someone that suspicious. Sandgun says he'll explain everything slowly, but first asks if Yoon-myo is safe. Lee Jong-un says she is, though she wore herself out worrying about him. In a flashback, Manhwa explains Sandgun's state to the chief. He treated the outside injuries, but the damage inside is much worse. The internal wounds are severe, and more treatment will be needed. That news hits Yoon-myo hard. Back in the present, Sandgun asks if their promise to take Yoon-myo away from this place still stands, and Lee Jong-un says yes again. At last, the white tiger starts explaining. As he tells it, the man in black felt ominous, but his power also seemed strangely familiar. He says the man didn't come to him. Sandgun went to find him at Chi-in-ji. When Sandgun got there, he saw the man standing there, looking over the city, and slowly walked toward him. As the story builds, Lee Jong-un waits to hear what happened next. But Sandgun says he can't remember anything after that. That leaves Lee Jong-un stunned, while Sandgun repeats that everything after meeting the man in black is a blank. So because Sandgun forgot the most important part, the man's identity is still unknown. Still, that brings this whole ordeal to an end. Later, back at the village, Chang gives everyone two choices. The people of Chi-in-ji-chan can either stay and rebuild, and even though it will be hard, they can keep their home. Or they can go with her and Lee Jong-un to Korea. She promises to help them get shelter there, once the government gives permission. Then she says their group will leave in 3 days and asks everyone to decide by then. After that, Yoon-myo walks over to Lee Jong-un. Yoon-myo says she's worried about Sung-gun and asks Lee Jong-un to go with her. The two head inside to see him. What they find shocks them. Sung-gun is barely hanging on. His body lies still on the ground and Yoon-myo rushes over. She tries to heal him, but when it does nothing, she finally accepts that Sang-gun, the one who was like family to her, is gone. Crying, she says he was her friend and like a father. Then suddenly, Sang-gun's body starts glowing blue and breaks apart into the air. Outside the cave, the villagers bow to their saviors in thanks. 3 days pass quickly, and the residents choose to leave. Still, they believe they'll return someday and rebuild their home. Chang prepares a group of monster elk to make the trip faster. She calls for everyone to bundle up against the cold. Then she notices Lee Jong-un, dropping down from the sky with Yoon-myo in his arms. And in Yoon-myo's arms is a small white tiger. Chang asks what it is, and the chief excitedly says it's Sang-gun. Lee Jong-un confirms it, just like Gong's case. A sponsor called Big Mail made the dead Sang-gun into Yoon-myo's avatar, but he wasn't fully brought back, and he lost a lot of his memories and power, so the man in black is still a mystery. Even so, it's finally time to return to Korea. In Chang is clearly excited and asks what Lee Jong-yun plans to do once they're back. He says he has too much to handle. Then he pulls a sword from his inventory. In Chang is surprised by how much mana it holds, making Lee Jong-yun think Yoon Myo did well. It's revealed this is the sword he once threw into the river at Baekdu Mountain. Lee Jong-yun says it's a gift, but that only makes her angry. She says she finally gets it. Once they're back, he plans to hand out secret gifts to all his secret women. Lee Jong-yun is stunned at first, but then admits she's not exactly wrong, since he does need to give the sword to Merlin. In Chang hates that answer and storms off. After that small mess, the group keeps moving and eventually reaches the barrier. There, Lee Jong-yun remembers Sinong-hu said he'd open it every month until he came back, but it's already been over a month. Not wanting to wait longer, Lee Jong-yun decides to open it himself. He says he's much stronger now and tells everyone to stand back. He starts powering up, even using the giant's technique, level out, but it still isn't enough. He adds another skill as well, but it fails too. That leaves his last option, the dragon heart that absorbed Sanggun's power. On the other side is the northern battlefront, where two soldiers keep watch. As they scan for monsters, they talk about how attacks have become rare since Lee Jong-yun entered the gate. Monster activity has dropped a lot. The other soldier says that's just a coincidence, but his partner insists it might be real. Maybe Lee Jong-yun really wiped out the monsters in North Korea, but he's told that's impossible. Many hunters and heroes crossed the barrier before him, and none ever managed it. Then something changes. The barrier shifts color and starts glowing red. As the red light spreads, the soldiers stare in shock. The Korean hunters have returned. Later, Lee Jong-yun, In Chang, and the others are taken in by the northern soldiers. Over coffee, Lee Jong-yun explains that the people with him are North Korean citizens, and all of them are hunters. Meanwhile, at the auditorium, Eunmyo and Gal speak to the crowd. The chief asks everyone to stay calm and says life will get easier now. There, Lee Jong-yun notices Eunmyo and is glad to see her curse is gone. The curse that gave her power but kept her in a child's body has finally been broken. After her speech, Lee Jong-yun walks over and asks for a moment. She instantly starts blushing, and he pulls her away while the crowd cheers. But this leaves Gal confused, wondering why everyone is so happy to see their chief dragged off by a man. Looks like In Chang isn't the only jealous one. Elsewhere, Lee Jong-yun asks about her curse and hears it's gone, but he still wants to check her with mana. So he grabs her hand and sends mana into her body. Eunmyo quickly pulls back and asks what he's doing. Lee Jong-yun only says one thing, "You got weaker." That shocks even her, so she checks for herself and reaches the same result. Lee Jong-yun figures she was strongest near Baekdu Mountain because she could control its energy. That's also why she stayed in a child's form there. Hearing that only makes Eunmyo sad. So Lee Jong-yun comforts, promises to help her grow stronger. That makes her blush again, but she asks if that's all he wanted. Of course it is. Lee Jong-yun warns that government and association come soon and asks about Shinji. He says the North Koreans are stronger than expected, and if they join the association, it would raise the group to a whole new level. But that depends on whether the organization can be trusted. They could get kicked out of Korea or be forced into a bad contract. Worse, there's the worst case outcome. Jang Hyo-jin, the hero Odin, leader of Asgard and association president, might come after Eunmyo and the others for their power. To stop that, Lee Jong-yun has prepared a better offer for the Shinji-chan survivors, if they want it. Now curious, Eunmyo asks what it is. Later, Lee Jong-yun meets Bae Sang-soo, his old tutorial instructor. They greet each other, and Bae Sang-soo praises him for surviving such a dangerous mission, and even bringing back hunter survivors. But he also says the president already has an offer. Since the association knows the North Korean survivors are all hunters, he wants all of them to sign a contract. More specifically, a mana contract. One that can basically bind people like slaves through magical penalties. That would put the North Koreans at a huge disadvantage. But Lee Jong-yun says he's already handled it. He reveals they can't do that because the survivors already made mana contracts with him. Since he brought them back himself, he says he did it to avoid future trouble. And he reminds Bae Sang-soo that each person can only have one mana contract. That leaves Bae Sang-soo thinking. He decides to speak with Jang Hyo-jin directly, while Lee Jong-yun waits to see how Odin reacts. Back at the auditorium, the survivors receive clothes and beds. They're also served good food, which makes them happy. They talk about how they lived on potatoes back in Shinji-chang, so food like this feels like heaven. Lee Yun-chang and Lee Jong-yun eat with them. During the meal, they chat, and Yun-chang says relaxing is nice, but she already wants to get moving again. Hearing that, Lee Jong-yun praises her drive and says they'll probably be back to brutal training soon, like before fighting Hercules. That instantly makes Yun-chang regret saying anything. Careful what you wish for. Later, Lee Jong-yun steps out alone to think. He knows the world will soon turn into hell, so he should enjoy the calm while it lasts. But someone appears behind him, the chief, no longer in her child form. Lee Jong-yun is completely caught off guard. Then the chief finally tells him her name is Choi Yeon-seo. Lee Jong-hyun doesn't care about her name. Instead, he asks how she hid her presence so well. Even with his sharp senses, he never noticed her. If she had been an enemy, he could have died. Yeon-seo says it's just one of her skills. Then she gets to the real issue. She asks what he plans to do next, since everyone is nervous about the mana contracts. Lee Jong-hyun calms her down, saying he won't do anything extreme. The hunters only need to do their jobs, and because they're contracted to him, someone tied to Asgard, the security side can't interfere much. Satisfied, Yeon-seo leaves. Then a message pops up. It says the weak dragon heart has stabilized. Lee Jong-hyun starts wondering how strong this new power really is. He figures he could beat Hercules now, even in berserker mode. To himself, he admits he's definitely gotten stronger. Just then, one of the northern soldiers comes to find him and says someone from the organization is here. Lee Jong-hyun follows him and reunites with his bald friend, Seong-gu. His head somehow looks even shinier now. After greeting each other, Lee Jong-hyun asks what the association thinks about all this. Seong-gu says it's chaos. Almost all of Asgard has returned to Korea because special gates started appearing. Those gates bring monsters far stronger than normal and usually mean major trouble. And now they're showing up all over the world. That's why hunters are going back to their home countries, and Odin called in Asgard's members too. Seong-gu adds that they had a meeting a few days ago. They talked about Lee Jong-hyun there, but no one expected him to come back with such a huge prize. Even Lee Jong-hyun knows the North Korean hunters are a gold mine. Their numbers alone make them a major force. But since he owns that gold mine, he'll make enemies fast. Seong-gu warns that mana contracts exist to force loyalty, not build normal guild ties. Lee Jong-hyun just says it's fine. He's still part of Asgard, so nobody will move carelessly against him. That ends the talk, and Seong-gu hugs him, happy he made it back alive. Then they go to the auditorium, where Lee Jong-hyun tells everyone they're about to leave for their final trip. The North Koreans are glad they got to rest, but Lee Jong-hyun warns them they'll be busy again soon. Then Yeon-seo catches Seong-gu's eye, and he asks who she is, joking that maybe she's why Lee Jong-hyun went to China. Lee Jong-hyun says that's not exactly wrong, which only confuses Seong-gu more. Then In-chun steps in and denies it, saying that can't be the reason because Lee Jong-hyun already has plenty of women around him. The second she says it, In-chun gets even more depressed, wondering how many rivals she has now. Things really keep getting worse for her. Anyway, the trip starts, and everyone gets on the bus. Soon they arrive at the association headquarters in Seoul. The North Koreans are stunned by the city. The crowds and modern tech leave them speechless. Seeing that, Lee Jong-hyun tells Yeon-seo to keep an eye on her people, but she's just as amazed as they are. That was bound to happen. They'd been living on a mountain, so this is their first real look at a modern city. So he puts In-chan in charge of the Shinji Cheon group and tells her to follow the association staff. She agrees. He also tells Fenrir to stay with her, but Fenrir doesn't like this place. He stares upward and growls hard. Lee Jong-hyun pets him and realizes Fenrir senses a huge power coming from the association president, Jang Hyo-jin. That leads to a tense stare between Odin and Lee Jong-hyun tells Fenrir to stop growling. If he wants to bare his fangs when it matters, he also has to know when to hide them. Fenrir obeys. After the North Koreans are settled, Lee Jong-hyun and Seong-gu head to Hyo-jin's office, where President Odin welcomes them. Odin is pleased by everything Lee Jong-hyun brought back. Over 100 hunters, 2 hero-rank fighters, and 3 strange specimens. Yeon-seo and Manhwa are the hero-rank ones, and Fenrir and Seong-gu explain 2 of the odd specimens. So what's the third? Odin says the last one is Lee Jong-hyun himself. Of course, the man with the god complex calls people specimens. But before they discuss the China trip, Odin says there's something else to handle first. He opens a golden gate and walks through it. Seong-gu explains that today Lee Jong-hyun will be introduced to Asgard at a formal gathering. All of the organization's heroes are there, curious about the so-called underdog. Inside is a golden mansion where many hunters are already talking. Not all of them are happy about Lee Jong-hyun joining Asgard, and they openly discuss him. Then one by one, they start feeling the newcomers approach, along with Seong-gu and Handel. But unlike their earlier chatter, the moment they sense Lee Jong-hyun's power, they tense up. Korea's so-called strongest hunters start trembling just from his presence. Finally, the underdog steps in and introduces himself. Nice to meet you all. I'm the underdog, Lee Jong-hyun. After reaching Seoul, the North Koreans are put to work right away. Under Kim's command, they're sent to clear a gate, and they go in without hesitation. They come back quickly with no losses. Once they exit, the gate vanishes, and Kim congratulates everyone in the White Tiger group. Gal thanks him for waiting, glad the citizens can feel safer now. Kim also notices how polite and skilled the White Tiger group is. Still, Yeon-seo is eager to keep going and asks to head to the next gate immediately. Kim doesn't mind, but says they can rest first since they don't need to finish everything today. Yeon-seo insists they're fine and asks him to lead them to the next gate. Caught off guard by her charm, Kim blushes and quickly agrees. Meanwhile, inside a special gate, In-chang, Manhwa, and Lee Jong-hyun are leveling up too. Even Gongzi and Yeonmu join the fight, and together they crush the special gate with ease. Still, the Sky of Apocalypse doesn't seem very happy with his sponsor. Even so, they clear the gate and head outside. There, In-chang says their sponsors are clearly paying more attention now, maybe because they fought in a special gate with stronger monsters. But Lee Jong-hyun doesn't see this as fun. To him, the stronger they get, the more special gates will appear, filling the world with mana. Soon, he says, the cataclysm will begin. That grim look and warning send a chill through Manhwa and In-chang. So Lee Jong-hyun praises their work so far and says they'll need to train even harder. He turns to leave, but In-chang stops him, saying it sounds like he's going somewhere. Lee Jong-hyun says he plans to take a short trip around the world. It feels a little off to In-chang, but she decides rest matters too and accepts it. In Lee Jong-hyun's mind, though, this is just a lie. If he told In-chang the full truth, she'd worry even more, especially about him meeting other women. Instead, he tells Manhwa and In-chang to join the White Tiger group, and he leaves Fenrir behind. Even if he says he's just traveling, he sees this as his duty as someone from the future. He knows what's coming, so it's on him to change history. I need to meet with Odin, he says. A few days later, Lee Jong-hyun borrows the right to use Bifrost from Seong-gu. Seong-gu hands it over, though he's confused since Odin normally allows no one to use it. Lee Jong-hyun explains Odin had no choice because of a deal they made. After returning from China, he told Odin something he kept from the others. Information about the black-clothed man. A few days earlier, Lee Jong-hyun told Odin this man was behind terrible moves, the same one who turned China into a wasteland and destroyed Baekdu Mountain. That was enough to catch Odin's interest, and he ordered Lee Jong-hyun to learn the man's identity, promising Asgard's full support. A clean piece of manipulation. Because of that, all Asgard agreed to help the underdog however they could. Using Bifrost, Lee Jong-hyun heads to the Round Table Council headquarters. There, a man in shining armor greets him. Lee Jong-hyun is surprised to see him there. The man is Lancelot, one of the knights of the Round Table. The Round Table Council is a secret British group with a very different mindset from other world powers. While others control humanity while pretending to save it, the Round Table mostly stays on the sidelines. They have power, but they neither help nor harm. Their leader is Merlin, and even without her, the group would still be strong. That strength comes from the Order of Knights. Its members are hunters stronger than normal heroes, and they always play a big part whenever England faces a crisis. Lancelot says Merlin has taken interest in Lee Jong-hyun, so naturally the others are curious too, especially him. But Lee Jong-hyun can tell from his eyes that Lancelot is full of hostility. He figures it's because Merlin never returned Lancelot's feelings, ruining things between them. It wasn't because Lancelot was a traitor, he just took things too far. His obsession with Merlin was too much. You could call it yandere behavior. Most of the Round Table's problems are said to start with Lancelot, so Lee Jong-un realizes this could get messy. Still, he just wants to meet Merlin, but Lancelot keeps getting in the way. Soon, Lee Jong-un asks what his problem is. He's only here for official business with Merlin, yet Lancelot keeps being rude. Lancelot asks how he's being rude, and Lee Jong-un fires back that a knight too clueless to see his own disrespect doesn't deserve the title. He's provoking him on purpose, knowing Merlin is watching, and the proud knight takes the insult hard. Lancelot jumps up in rage and tries to start a fight with the underdog, but before it turns violent, Merlin finally appears. Yushi scolds Lancelot for disrespecting her guest. Burning with emotion, he challenges Lee Jong-un to a duel. Merlin objects, but Lee Jong-un accepts right away and tells Lancelot to lead the way. They head to the wildfire where all the knights gather to watch. Even Gawain and Galahad, the leaders of the Order of Knights, come to see it. The other knights clearly respect them. Then the duel begins. Gawain notes that both Lancelot and Lee Jong-un fight with spears, so this should be a clash between East and West. Just before it starts, Lancelot hypes up the crowd, so Lee Jong-un mocks him again, calling him more entertainer than knight. To him, Lancelot doesn't deserve to be called sir. He also asks if killing is allowed in a round table duel, and learns that it is. Lancelot says he planned to spare him, but Lee Jong-un keeps mocking him as the fake knight Lancelot. That pushes Lancelot over the edge, and he comes in to kill. Lee Jong-un recalls that Lancelot is known as the one-shot knight, able to pierce anything with a single strike. Even so, he calmly counters, stopping Lancelot's deadly blow with just his spear tip. The other knights are stunned, and even Lancelot is trapped, unable to move. Lee Jong-un now fully controls the fight. Then Gawain steps in and says that's enough. One day's worth of humiliation is enough. After hearing Gawain introduce himself, Lee Jong-un recognizes him as the Green Knight. When Gawain first awakened as a hunter, he cleared gates like a madman. He was always covered in his enemy's blood, which earned him that name. Since Gawain stops the duel, Lee Jong-un releases the pressure on Lancelot's spear, thinking there's no reason to fight him too. Lancelot drops to the ground, defeated. Gawain tells him to learn the gap between his own strength and his enemies. He also orders Galahad and Lancelot to clean up the arena, and they obey. Watching all this, Lee Jong-un realizes Gawain is someone to be careful with. Gawain is also clearly impressed by Lee Jong-un's skill. He says the rumor that Lee Jong-un beat Hercules was true after all. Finding out only cost a commander-level knight his pride. After the mess ends, Lee Jong-un meets Merlin again. He tells her this was the only time. He fought because he wanted to, and there won't be a second. He says Merlin controls the entire Round Table Council, even the heads of the Order of Knights, so everyone follows her orders. If she had wanted, she could have stopped the duel before it ever started. But Merlin wanted them to clash, so Lee Jong-un went along with it to repay his debt to her. Merlin calls him blunt and asks if that was really the only reason, but Lee Jong-un says he's just prideful. Truthfully, he wanted to test how much stronger he'd gotten in China, and he got his answer. At the same time, Merlin's goal was met too. She knew Lancelot would lose, but allowed it anyway. Merlin explains that Lancelot has huge potential, but he's too arrogant, and his obsession with her isn't healthy. He needed a crushing defeat to finally grow. Since Lee Jong-un gave him that, she says that debt is settled, but another debt remains, from the promise he made her. Then Merlin changes into Kid Arthur, who immediately demands Excalibur. Lee Jong-un summons the sword he had Yonsu guard at Baekdu Mountain and hands it over. That only makes Arthur furious. He asks if this is some kind of joke, but Lee Jong-un seems serious. Lee Jong-un tells him to take the sword first and complain later, but Arthur is still angry. This flashy sword packed with magic power is supposed to be Excalibur? He could tell it was fake almost instantly, and thinking Li Jianyang betrayed him, Arthur lunges, only for Merlin to appear behind him and stop him. Arthur goes speechless when he sees Merlin, starting to think this sword might really be Excalibur after all. Both Arthur and Merlin are happy because their curse seems broken, and they now stand in separate bodies. But Li Jianyang reveals this is only a fake meant to fool their sponsor, the Lady of the Lake. Merlin realizes that because Li Jianyang knew what Excalibur was, he could forge a copy. The real one lies in a lake overflowing with magic power and has stayed there for centuries. After so long, the real sword absorbed immense magic, and Li Jianyang recreated part of that power. Still, Merlin warns that once their sponsor notices the sword is fake, the curse will return. Arthur gets mad again, but Merlin calms him down, saying the fake should hold for a while, and Li Jianyang agrees. He says the curse won't return unless Arthur and Merlin leave the Round Table estate. Sponsors are arrogant. They only notice what they want, so even if she figures it out, she likely won't act right away. With that, Li Jianyang's task is finished, but Arthur still isn't satisfied. He suffered more than Merlin, trapped in a child's body. To calm him down, Li Jianyang offers one more thing, the location of the real Excalibur. Elsewhere, in a forest, explosions tear through the area. They come from Hercules' attacks. He's fighting a white-haired man who easily dodges every blow, even with Hercules still lost in madness. Hercules keeps attacking without pause, but the man calls him slow, then swings his sword. Hercules avoids it, but using the dust cloud as cover, the white-haired man slips behind him and strikes his back. The hit doesn't look strong, but Hercules screams in pain. The red glow in his eye vanishes too, bringing him back to his senses. Hercules asks what kind of sword that was, and the man says he picked it up recently. Hercules realizes that the moment the blade touched him, he lost control of his magic power and collapsed. The man says he's pleased with Hercules' progress and forgives him for breaking their pact and acting alone, but that doesn't mean everyone else will. Athena, who had been watching the whole fight, still wants punishment. Hercules turns and is shocked he never sensed her. Result: Hercules wonders if he will not have to face any disciplinary action, but that is not the case. Only this guy has forgiven Hercules, but the others still want to punish him. Someone like Athena who has been watching over the fight all this time. Hearing this, Hercules turns around and sees her standing there and freaks out at the fact he couldn't even sense her presence. There, Athena says she came to report something about the underdog. Just hearing about Li Zhongyuan gets Hercules worked up, and she continues. After returning from China, Li Zhongyuan went to the UK and is now at the Round Table Council, though his reason is still unknown. The man tells Athena to keep watching him, orders Hercules not back off in training. Both obey. The white-haired man is finally revealed to be back at the Round Table. Li Zhong yells Zeus has Felix. Arthur still doesn't. He also asks why Li Zhongyuan speaking, so Li Zhongyuan points out that Arthur then asks what the next, but Zhongyuan already did what he promised. Found an Excalibur that break the curse and he told them where one is. Now it's their turn to repay him. Arthur knows Zeus won't hand over Excalibur through simple talks, but Li Zhongyuan says Merlin will figure something out since smart. For once, Arthur agrees with him, then asks what he wants in return. Li Zhongyuan says shocks the Li Zhongyuan trust him, he'll call their debt. Merlin says the magic power across the UK has been rising fast. Li Zhongyuan blames the special gates and warns that more of them will keep appearing. Merlin asks if that's the big event he's talking about, but he says no. The real problem will be when all those special gates disappear. That's the time they need to prepare for. His tone makes it clear he isn't joking. Later that day, Li Zhongyuan joins Arthur at his private training ground. Since many people at the round table still don't know he exists, Arthur keeps the meeting hidden and asks him for a spar, saying the underdog has grown stronger since last time. Li Zhongyuan agrees, saying he's not the same as before. Before they begin, though, he asks if Arthur has ever fought Zeus. Arthur laughs a little, warning him not to ask things like that if he wants to live, but admits that he has. That only fires Li Zhongyuan up more, and the fight finally starts. Arthur wastes no time. He summons his weapon and rushes in with a slash, but Arthur easily reads it, mocks him, and knocks the attack away, forcing Li Zhongyuan back a few steps. Right then, Li Zhongyuan realizes this isn't just a simple spar. If he wants any chance to win, he'll have to use everything. So he uses his authority over fire, and with his Flame Monarch power, his strength jumps sharply. Even Arthur is impressed, and they trade attacks non-stop. Arthur moves at high speed, clashes with him again, and even lands a ranged strike, blasting Li Zhongyuan into the air. He mocks him again and asks if that's all he's got. Cornered, Li Zhongyuan still refuses to give in. He swears he'll land at least one hit on Arthur and starts pulling in the surrounding mana with his dragon heart. Arthur is surprised by the technique, and Li Zhongyuan unleashes his strongest attack. A huge cloud of steam fills the area, and when it clears, Arthur steps out with a small cut on his cheek. Curious, he asks what that attack was called, and Li Zhongyuan says it's Sunflare. Arthur praises the move, but the damage from his own attack soon catches up. A blue aura suddenly wraps around Li Zhongyuan, and he coughs up blood before collapsing. Arthur apologizes, saying he couldn't control his strength well after so long. He adds that Li Zhongyuan can't fight Zeus yet, but maybe someday he will be able to beat him. After that, we move to his room at the Round Table Manor, where Li Zhongyuan is already awake thanks to Merlin's healing. Even though he lost, he's happy he managed to hit Arthur. Grinning, he says he's really gotten stronger. Then someone knocks on the door, and Gawain steps in. He wants to talk, so they move somewhere private. There, Gawain says Merlin told him Li Zhongyuan warned them about a coming crisis in England. He apologizes for Lancelot's rude behavior and thanks him for how honestly he's acted. Li Zhongyuan says that's fine, but asks why Gawain really came. Gawain finally admits he knows about yesterday's duel with Arthur. He says he wants to fight Arthur someday too, but since he hasn't gotten that chance, he asks Li Zhongyuan for a duel instead. As he says it, Gawain lets out a strong aura and summons his weapon. Li Zhongyuan already saw this coming and accepts right away, saying he was curious about Gawain's strength too. The duel starts and ends with none of it shown. We see none of the fight at all. And while Li Zhongyuan stays at the round table, Gawain, Galahad, and even Lancelot fight him again. By the end, he's worn out. He only came to deliver a fake Excalibur, but all he's gotten is duel after duel. Finally, he's ready to leave the manor. As he heads out, Merlin gives him another necklace and says it will raise his stats, so Li Zhongyuan gladly takes it. But Merlin has one more favor. She asks him to visit the Nile if he gets the chance. She explains that Iniv, the man who helped Li Zhongyuan survive Athena's attack, personally asked for it. Hearing that name, Li Zhongyuan remembers Iniv as the one who saved him and even came to see him late at night. Because he stepped in during the Great War, Iniv was punished, and that punishment has only just ended. After hearing all this, Li Zhongyuan figures the Round Table will warn the other groups about the coming cataclysm too. That wraps up everything he came to do at the Round Table, but there's still one more thing he needs to handle in England, so he tells Merlin he'll think about it and leaves the manor. As he goes, Arthur sees him off. From there, Li Zhongyuan heads to Park Eugen's shop, but she's not there. A blonde woman is working the register instead, and he asks if Park Eugen is around. The woman starts guessing on her own. She says he doesn't look like a loan shark or an angry customer, so he must be there to buy something. But no. Li Zhongyuan just wants to see Eugen and asks where she is. The blonde tells him Eugen isn't there and that she was asked to watch the shop. Li Zhongyuan says he's here because of Eugen's brother, Jae-yoon, and asks when she'll be back. That makes the blonde remember who he is. Apparently, Eugen told her about him and left a message. Eugen has joined Olympus. That leaves Li Zhongyuan frozen in shock. He says the past has changed again. From what he knew, this wasn't supposed to happen yet, so he wonders what pushed her there so soon. Still, Li Zhongyuan heads to Egypt next. Once there, he calls in Chan, who had been relaxing at the beach, and tells her to come to Egypt with everyone except the White Tiger group. She agrees right away, saying she's been itching to do something. He also contacts Seonggu and tells him he's in Egypt. Seonggu is confused, since he thought Li Zhongyuan would come straight back. He warns that Egypt is already unstable, and Li Zhongyuan showing up could make things worse, so he tells him to stay quiet until he handles things on his side. But as usual, the underdog finds trouble first. Back in Egypt, an unarmed Li Zhongyuan is surrounded by a group of Egyptian warriors. Soon after, he's being held in a room. The warriors wonder why the underdog came here, but first they need someone to translate. Then two men with strange marks on their eyes arrive and say they're taking Li Zhongyuan with them, while the warriors reveal they're from the executive branch. The Nile is finally making its move. The two men confirm that Li Zhongyuan is the underdog, then take him away. There, he meets Yu Gyeong-tae from the Egyptian branch of the Korean Association. Gyeong-tae says headquarters contacted him and said more people will be arriving soon. Hearing that, Lee Jong-young figures it must be Incheon and the others, impressed by how fast they moved. Then he asks what's going on in Egypt. Gyeong-tae says Egypt is fully controlled by the Nile. The Nile is split into 3 branches. Memphis runs politics, Hermopolis controls business, and Heliopolis rules the hunters and the association. Those 3 are always fighting for more power, so the whole country is a mess. Before, Heliopolis was the strongest, but the recent Horus incident shook the branch. Lee Jong-young remembers Iniv was part of Heliopolis too, so he asks what happened with Horus. But even Gyeong-tae doesn't know. It's so secret that none of his sources could dig it up. The only clear part is that the trouble started during a gate attack. That makes Lee Jong-young think of the red ore Iniv mentioned, the stuff that can turn a normal ogre into an ogre mage. So he decides he needs to meet Iniv, the hero hunter, and Gyeong-tae starts arranging it. Meanwhile, at the airport, Incheon arrives with Fenrir, Gongs, and Manhwa. Lee Jong-young's group is there to receive them, but they brought someone extra. That surprise guest is Balder, one of Asgard's strongest heroes and Odin's right-hand man. Seeing him, Lee Jong-young immediately asks why he's here, clearly not happy. Balder answers with a threat of his own, warning him not to make him angry. The moment those words land, Fenrir, Incheon, and Manhwa all get ready to fight. But Balder quickly changes tone, saying Odin sent him to help with this trip. He adds that Korea's special gates have already been handled, so there is nothing to worry about there. Then he says he'll work with them until Lee Jong-young returns to Korea and turns toward Gyeong-tae. Lee Jong-young can already tell this trip is going to be awkward, and he's not wrong. The next day, Gyeong-tae says the request to meet Iniv was accepted. He also warns that something big is happening inside the Nile. Like other groups, Egypt is calling all its hunters back from overseas. Set, Heliopolis' second-in-command, has returned too. If Horus can't recover from the recent incident, Set will take his place. And right now, Set is the strongest hunter in the Nile. Hearing that, Lee Jong-young wonders if he could beat Set. Arthur took everything he had, and even then he barely scratched him. So is Set just as strong, or even stronger? Thinking that over, Lee Jong-young stands and tells Gyeong-tae to keep pushing for the meeting with Iniv. Gyeong-tae asks what he plans to do, and Lee Jong-young says he'll find his own way. Elsewhere, on top of the association building, Odin says he never asked Jong-gu much about the underdog before, but now he needs answers. Lee Jong-young keeps catching his interest, yet never gives him a clear explanation. What Odin can't understand most is Jong-gu's trust. Jong-gu was never someone who believed in people easily, so seeing him trust the underdog this much feels strange. Because of that, Odin asks what Lee Jong-young really wants. Jong-gu replies that Lee Jong-young's goal lines up with Odin's. That matches what Bae Sang-soo once told Jang Hyo-jin, that Lee Jong-young might help him reach his goal once he got stronger. Still, Jong-gu knows Lee Jong-young always keeps backup plans ready. In fact, he had already prepared Jong-gu for this exact question. So Jong-gu gives the answer Lee Jong-young left him. Their shared goal is killing his sponsors. Odin is shocked, but Jong-gu keeps going. He says hunters sponsored by the one who rules the riverside have already lost their power. Nothing like this has happened before. That means only one thing, and Odin calls it great news. Back in Egypt, Lee Jong-young calls Balder over and asks which hero in the Nile is tied to Asgard. Balder tries to dodge the question, but Lee Jong-young presses him, asking how far Odin ordered him to help. Balder admits he was told to cooperate as much as he can. So Lee Jong-young asks again which Nile hero belongs to Asgard. Balder says he'll answer later because it's a secret. Lee Jong-young accepts that for now and leaves, thinking back to what Gyeong-tae said. If a hero-class hunter is here, that may be enough. Later, he heads into the city with his team. During that outing, Incheon complains about the heat, but Manhwa says it's still better than China's freezing cold. While they walk, Manhwa asks Lee Jong-young what his final goal is. Incheon joins in, saying she doesn't know either. Manhwa says Lee Jong-young always seems to be chasing something. His short-term goals are clear, but his long-term plan is a mystery. He jokes that maybe it's world domination. Lee Jong-young suddenly stops and turns around, saying it might be something like that. He sounds like he's joking, but the way he says it leaves Manhwa and Incheon unsure. Then Femur senses a strong, dark aura heading their way. A closer look shows members of the Nile approaching them. Lee Jong-young tells his team to stay back. Then Set, the soon-to-be leader of Heliopolis, steps out from the group. Lee Jong-young instantly feels that Set is on Arthur's level. The two exchange greetings, and Set says he wants a short private talk with the underdog, so they head to a quiet rooftop. There, Set talks about Egypt's history and how it supposedly became independent from the kingdom. But in truth, Egypt is still controlled by the Nile dynasty. Lee Jong-young asks if Set wants to take over that dynasty, and Set confirms it, even praising him for catching on. Then he asks Lee Jong-young to guess why. Why does he want to replace Osiris as head of the Nile? And why does he need to do it after becoming ruler? Asked that, Lee Jong-young says he first thought Set caused the Horus incident just to grab the throne. But if it wasn't only about power, then what was driving him? Lee Jong-young wonders if Set is trying to become a king for some other reason. Before he can figure it out, their talk ends. Back with the others, Incheon asks how it went. Lee Jong-young says Set wanted him to guess his goal, but he couldn't. He first thought Set just wanted power, but that's not it. Set is dangerous, though not exactly evil. He isn't black or white, he's gray. Knowing that would only confuse Incheon, so Lee Jong-young just says he couldn't answer him. Then they hear footsteps behind them and turn to see Balder asking where Lee Jong-young went. Incheon gets irritated that Balder is cutting into her time with Lee Jong-young and snaps at him to find something else to do. But Balder has his own concern. To him, it's odd that Lee Jong-young's team is full of hero-level hunters, yet none of them joined Asgard. And outsiders knowing Asgard's secrets is dangerous. That pushes Incheon even further. She powers up, ready to fight, but Lee Jong-young cuts in and tells Balder to stop messing around. Then he asks again about the question from before. Balder repeats that he was ordered to help as much as possible, so he finally starts to reveal which Nile hunter is tied to Asgard. But both he and Lee Jong-young suddenly sense danger. Without warning, a blue light appears in the middle of the city. It's a special gate, and it opened right in the city center. As soon as it appears, its magic starts spreading. Inchan panics. If this keeps going, a lot of people could die. She tells Lee Jong-young they have to stop it before it collapses. But Lee Jong-young stays calm and tells her to settle down. Inchan can't accept that. She asks how he can stay calm when so many lives are at risk. Lee Jong-young only says it's fine. This isn't Korea. That doesn't matter to Inchan. She says helping the weak is still her duty, draws her weapon, and gets ready to charge in alone if she has to. But it turns out her panic isn't needed. She looks up and sees the Nile hunters rushing to the gate, with Set leading them. Lee Jong-young reminds her again that this isn't Korea. The Nile handles things its own way. This time she finally listens. Still, Lee Jong-young notes how unusual it is that Set entered the gate himself. Not long after, the hunters clear the special gate. That much makes sense with the second-in-command taking action himself. Even though it was a special gate, it caused no real damage. With that over, Lee Jong-young turns back to Inchan. She tells him to stop teasing her because she is already embarrassed. Lee Jong-young says there is nothing to be ashamed of. Their talk gets cut off again by a loud noise. Inchan goes to check and finds several hunters beating a regular person. Furious, she demands to know what they are doing. There is a language barrier, but thankfully Lee Jong-young comes over right after. Using Merlin's necklace, he speaks Arabic and asks why they are attacking that man. He says he cannot ignore something like this and demands an answer. He even threatens to call the association, but this clearly is not Korea. One hunter says that in Egypt, hunters can punish normal people whenever they want. The group starts laughing. Then their leader's arm is suddenly cut off and drops to the ground. As he screams in pain, Set appears. He declares that while Nile hunters may punish civilians, only the Nile can punish its hunters. Moments later, Lee Jong-young and In Chong can only watch the brutal aftermath. The smug hunters are now dead, their bodies sprawled across the blood-soaked ground. Seeing this, In Chong asks Lee Jong-young if Set is really a good person. He did save the civilian, but this went way too far. Lee Jong-young admits he was going to save the man himself, no matter what the Nile thought. Even so, Set killed hunters he did not need to kill. When In Chong asks again if Set is good, Lee Jong-young can only say he is not sure. After that, they return to their lodging. The next day, Lee Jong-young is finally allowed to meet Iniv, though both sides bring escorts. Iniv comes with Lamia Ili and Bastet, while Lee Jong-young is joined by Baldur. Both the Nile and Asgard are watching closely. After greetings, Iniv asks why he wanted this meeting, but Lee Jong-young claims he only wants to talk. In truth, he has another plan. Using magic, he creates a link between himself and Iniv. Through it, they can talk in their minds. Lee Jong-young tells him to answer positively for yes and negatively for no. Startled by the voice in his head, Iniv realizes how skilled Lee Jong-young is and agrees. So they keep up a normal, friendly conversation while Lee Jong-young secretly asks if the incident is tied to the Red Corps and Hercules' power. He also asks if the Horus incident is connected. Iniv confirms both. Lee Jong-young then asks whether Horus was affected by the Red Ore the same way Hercules was. Again, Iniv confirms it. Finally, Lee Jong-young asks if Set is the culprit. Iniv gives an unsure answer, making Lee Jong-young think even he does not know who the real culprit is. Later, Baldur complains that Lee Jong-young is wasting time and effort, warning that using Asgard like this could make Odin look bad. Lee Jong-young tells him not to worry. Odin will be pleased in the end. Baldur coldly warns him to make sure that happens, but Lee Jong-young just says to get ready. He plans to leave in 3 days because he still has some sightseeing to do. That only annoys Baldur more, but he cannot do anything. Lee Jong-young also asks who infiltrated Nihil. Baldur avoids a clear answer and only says, "You've already met them." That sparks Lee Jong-young's curiosity, but he lets it go for now. Later that night, Lee Jong-young stands by the shore, looking out at the ocean. Iniv meets him there and apologizes for being late, saying too many eyes have been on both of them. He suggests moving somewhere else, but Lee Jong-young says he already set up a barrier so no one outside can watch them. Iniv is even more impressed by his magic, but he still says that may not be enough. There is nowhere safe from the eye, leaving Lee Jong-young confused. He wonders if even Merlin's necklace cannot block it, so he gets straight to the point and asks why Iniv wanted him to come to Nihil. Iniv explains that Horus is now unconscious because of the Red Ore, and that it all began when Set brought the ore back. Hearing this, Lee Jong-young is stunned, so they already found the Red Ore, proof that the past has truly changed.